Chapter 176, Knowing the Game. Yi Chen always had a question in his mind, especially after just hearing what his wife's female classmate said. Lu Yana smiled and said, "You can just ask me, silly." Yi Chen also scratched his head and said, "I'm just afraid you'll get angry." Lu Yana said, "I'll get angry if you don't ask me." Yi Chen let out a breath and said, "I asked, so you promise not to get angry?" Lu Yana nodded with a smile. Yi Chen asked, "I knew before that you had a secret crush on me, but at the time I didn't ask you in detail why it was me." Lu Yana knew that he would ask something like this, and touched the side of Yi Chen's face. "Although you are not the most handsome one, you are one of the best men in terms of character. At the time, weren't we freshmen entering school? I found you in the crowd helping your classmates with their luggage. At the time, I just thought you were a very nice person, and you looked quite handsome and sunny, and you had a very good personality. During the years I observed you, I knew that you were a very nice person, very devoted, and not a follower. Li Yi really didn't know how to cherish you." Yi Chen finally understood, "So that's it. Wife, you started noticing me so early." Lu Yana was a little shy. "I just looked at you a little longer." Some people, just because they took one more look in a crowd, are together for life. Yi Chen hugged Lu Yana. "My dear, I will make you the happiest woman in the world." Lu Yana, "I already feel like the happiest woman in the world just being able to marry you and have children with you." After saying this, the two of them embraced tightly again. Yi Hui also drove Gu Ying back downstairs. Gu Ying tentatively asked, "Aren't you going to walk me home?" Yi Hui glanced at his watch and said, "No need, I think. You're a big girl now, I've already dropped you off downstairs, you go up by yourself. I've got a friend waiting for me." Gu Ying felt a little embarrassed. She just wanted Yi Hui to know where her home was, otherwise, the next time she met his parents, she wouldn't be able to say where her girlfriend lived. Yi Hui didn't even say goodbye to Gu Ying before driving off. Gu Ying stood on the roadside, covering her nose and mouth, and she was already cursing in her heart. "This really pisses me off." In fact, the reason Yi Hui left in such a hurry was because Lu Ming, Yi Chen's best friend, had been waiting at his doorstep for 30 minutes, so he was in such a hurry to leave. Lu Ming and Yi Hui had played games for so long that they had become good friends like brothers. And this time, it was also because Lu Ming had not yet found a job, so he came here to rely on Yi Hui. Among all his brothers, Yi Hui is the only one who lives alone. The others either live at home, share accommodation with someone else, or live with their girlfriends, so they can only trouble Yi Hui. When Yi Hui returned home, Lu Ming was sitting directly at the entrance to his apartment. Lu Ming immediately stood up when he saw Yi Hui return. "Brother, you're finally back. Do you have anything to eat?" "I haven't eaten dinner yet." Yi Hui was speechless. "Brother, there are restaurants downstairs, why didn't you go down and eat?" Lu Ming laughed. "I was afraid you wouldn't be able to find me when you got back." Yi Hui said, "You could have told me that you were going to be home when I got back." Lu Ming laughed. "Never mind that, let's go inside." Yi Hui opened the door and said, "There are instant noodles in the kitchen cupboard, make yourself some." As soon as Lu Ming entered the door, he threw his luggage on the floor and went straight to the kitchen. Yi Hui looked at his big brother in front of him and froze. He was really hungry. "Help me make one too." Yi Hui shouted into the kitchen. Lu Ming's voice came from the kitchen. "Didn't you go to a party, kid? Why are you still hungry?" Yi Hui said, "I've never liked overeating. I finished eating and didn't eat anymore. Now that the party's over, I'm hungry." Lu Ming came out with 2 bowls of instant noodles. "Hey, why did you go to the party with Gu Ying?" Yi Hui was also helpless. "My sister-in-law went too. I went to make Gu Ying look good, to be her boyfriend, so that other classmates wouldn't make fun of her. It's not like it's going to become a reality in front of everyone, is it? I've seen you guys playing games together a lot." Yi Hui shook his head. "I don't think so, I haven't thought about it in that way. Right now, I just want to make money." That said, Yi Hui also got more than 2 million from his father, and he had enough money to buy a game console a long time ago, but now he doesn't know why he's not very interested in it anymore. "But I did ask her to pretend to be my girlfriend to shut my parents up. You know, my parents are annoyed with me about my older brother Yi Chen." Lu Ming said while watching the instant noodles, "Then just let nature take its course. In case Gu Ying takes a fancy to you, it might actually work out." Yi Hui said thoughtfully. "Her? Take a fancy to me? No way." While thinking about it, he recalled what had just happened. "Oh yeah. She just asked me to walk her home." Lu Ming stared at him, chewing on instant noodles. "So why did you come back?" shouldn't you be at her place? Yi Hui gave him a disgusted look. What were you thinking? Maybe she was just scared and asked me to walk her home. And I let her go home by herself because you messaged me saying you'd been waiting outside my place for 30 minutes. Lu Ming also looked sorry. Brother, I'm really sorry, I've got you into trouble. Yi Hui, however, said, no way, I've been watching videos, maybe I'd be asked to go upstairs and do the hard work of fixing her pipes, lights, computer, etc. Luckily you let me come back. Lu Ming patted Yi Hui on the shoulder. Brother, good brother. I'm the one holding you back, don't worry, I'll help you. Yi Hui didn't understand. Help with what? Just eat your instant noodles. Obviously, Yi Hui didn't take the matter to heart. And obviously, Lu Ming took the matter to heart. And the worst thing was, the heroine, Gu Yingying, didn't mean it. As soon as Gu Yingying returned home, she took a shower and is now lying on the sofa. She ate too much today and feels a bit bloated. Suddenly, her phone rings. It's a message from Yi Hui. Let's play a game. All he knows is games. Gu Yingying glanced at the time. It was almost 10 o'clock. Forget it, I'll play a couple of games and go to bed. Chapter 177, The Straight Man is Enlightened. After playing 2 games, it was already past 11 p.m., and Gu Yingying was a little sleepy, so after saying hello to Yi Hui, she was about to log off. At that moment, Li Xian in the game sent a message to Gu Yingying. Yingying, why haven't you played games with me lately? Don't you want to form a couple? Gu Yingying gave a disgusted huff in her heart. A guy with a girlfriend still hitting on her is really a scumbag. After taking a deep breath, she replied, sorry, I already have a CP. Li Xian didn't reply for more than 10 seconds. Really? Gu Yingying didn't want to get involved with other people, so she just said, the guy who was in the 3rd row with us before is now my boyfriend. Li Xian didn't reply for a long time, and then said, oh, if you don't want to form a CP, you can still play games together, right? Gu Yingying really couldn't stand him anymore, so she confronted him directly, don't you have a CP already? Why are you still looking for one? I saw it all. The other day you said you were playing games with your sister, but you were actually playing with your CP or girlfriend, weren't you? Li Xian, how did you know? Gu Yingying couldn't help but sneer in her heart. Trying to raise fish? Don't you know who I am? Be someone else's fish? Gu Yingying simply closed the game and stopped chatting with him. On WeChat, Gu Yingying sent Yi Hui a message. Why do you keep dragging me into games? Yi Hui, who had received the message, was talking to Lu Ming about games. He picked up his phone and glanced at it. Yi Hui was so distracted that he didn't know how to reply to Gu Yingying for a while. Lu Ming glanced at the message and exclaimed, Gu Yingying sent you a message? Why didn't you reply? Yi Hui simply told him about the relationship between him and Gu Yingying. After listening, Lu Ming was even more shocked. My goodness. You guys really are destined for each other. You can meet like this. After that, he thought for a while and said, so what are you thinking? When a woman asks this, she probably already has some feelings for you, right? Or there must be some good feelings? You're not still like a block of wood, without any expression, are you? Yi Hui didn't know what he was thinking. I was thinking of getting some money from my parents in the first place, and now I'm living on my own, right? And then my monthly allowance doubled. Last time I went to the mall, my dad even transferred 2 million directly. I can buy whatever I want with this money, or even start my own business. Lu Ming, so you don't have any special feelings for her? After all, you have come to know each other, and now Gu Yingying is asking you this, probably because she wants to know what kind of attitude you have towards her. Didn't you used to say that playing games with a woman is a pit? Now that you often play games together, I haven't seen you say anything. And just now you even let Lan Buff give her a mage, which has never happened in any of your games. Yi Hui's eyes twinkled. I feel something for her, after spending so much time together. Sometimes I feel a little uncomfortable when I see other guys paying her compliments. I guess that's about it, but I don't really think about it in terms of relationships. I think it's probably because she's my fake girlfriend, so I'm still a little uncomfortable when I think about her being approached by other guys. Yi Hui finished speaking and ran a hand through his hair. At this moment, on the other end of the phone, Gu Yingying was also getting a little impatient. She sent Yi Hui another message, don't ever pull me into a game again. Yi Hui looked at the message on his phone and handed it to Lu Ming, asking, see, she's not at all what you think. Now she's telling me not to ever pull her into a game again. Humph. Women. Lu Ming laughed out loud, you idiot. You don't even know when a woman is angry. She's probably just mad at you for replying so slowly, and then she misunderstood you, right? You'd better reply to her quickly, or she might really delete you as a friend. Lu Ming was amused by Yi Hui's train of thought. Even though she is older than you, she is still a woman. When she gets angry, she can be really scary. Yi Hui couldn't help but ask, Lu Ming, you've never been in love either, so how do you know so much about women? I don't know if she is really angry, but I really haven't thought of how to reply to her either. Lu Ming laughed, although I'm single, I've eaten pork before, even if I've never seen a pig run away. You should reply to her quickly. Yi Hui scratched his head, what should I say? Lu Ming, just say what's on your mind. Yi Hui rolled on the sofa a couple of times, typed a message, and sent it. I just feel really comfortable playing games with you. I can curse when I want to, and sometimes we don't blame anyone for winning or losing a game, we just move on to the next one. Sorry, I didn't know how to reply just now. Guang Ying looked at the message Yi Hui had sent on her phone and smiled. Ha, of course. If I didn't have that mentality, I wouldn't have been able to become a king after playing over 10,000 games. It's worn down my fighting spirit, and games are just for entertainment. Therefore, my mentality is very stable, and I won't lose my temper just because I lost a game. I just didn't expect Yi Hui to think that was a good thing. Combined with the green tea girl from last time, Guang Ying couldn't help but wonder, in Yi Hui's eyes, are most girls who play games just looking for trouble? Yi Hui saw that Guang Ying hadn't replied, and couldn't help but ask Lu Ming, did I say something wrong? Lu Ming glanced at the message Yi Hui had sent, no, I don't think so. Give me your phone. Lu Ming suddenly said to Yi Hui with a smile. Yi Hui didn't think much of it and directly handed Lu Ming his phone. Lu Ming snapped out a line of text on his phone and sent it. Yi Hui couldn't help but lean in close to him and curiously asked, what did you send? Lu Ming didn't plan on showing it to Yi Hui right away and kept covering the phone. When Guang Ying received Lu Ming's message, she was stunned. This is it. How did this straight guy suddenly get it? How am I supposed to answer him? Guang Ying immediately sent a video message to Lu Yana, but Lu Yana didn't pick up. After a minute or so, Lu Yana called back with a voice message, what's wrong, Ying Ying? Just from the sound of her voice, Lu Yana seemed to be panting a little. But Guang Ying didn't pay much attention to that. She asked Lu Yana anxiously, Nana, Yi Hui just sent me a message saying that he wants to go out with me. What should I say to him? Lu Yana let out a breath and asked, did he really say that? How do you feel about him? Guang Ying, I feel pretty good about him. Sometimes when I see him playing games with other girls, it makes me feel a little upset. Lu Yana turned to Yi Chen and asked, Yi Hui has confessed to Ying Ying, what do you think? Yi Chen leaned over and closed his eyes, my brother is a nice guy and has never been in love before. If he took the initiative this time, I guess it's because he really likes her. Lu Yana said into the other end of the phone, Ying Ying, you heard it too, right? Guang Ying said shyly, oh, what should I do? Apart from the previous platonic relationship, she hasn't been in love for a long time. For the time being, she didn't know how to make a decision. Chapter 178, Got a Girlfriend? On the one hand, she was afraid that Yi Hui was not serious about her and that she would meet a scumbag. Lu Yana naturally knew what her sister was thinking, I think, if both of you really like each other, you can definitely give it a try. Just like me and Yi Chen, you know what happened between us. If you don't try, how will you know? I think you should be brave for once. As Lu Yana said this, she looked at Yi Chen, who was resting nearby, with tenderness in her eyes. Yes, is it a love that many people envy, like her and Yi Chen? Guang Ying listened to Lu Yana's words, and her eyes gradually became determined, okay, let's try. But he's my younger brother. Lu Yana Guang Ying burst out laughing at this last sentence. Guang Ying, you're only a few years older than Yi Hui? It's only about a year older, and isn't it popular to date someone younger these days? And even if you date your younger brother, you have nothing to lose, right? Right? Guang Ying was also a little hesitant, but... Lu Yana, don't but, just say yes, if you're in a relationship, you should be with someone you like, right? And Yi Hui's family is still okay. Guang Ying thought about it and finally said, let's give it a try. If Lu Yana wasn't like this, she and Yi Chen probably wouldn't have a chance to be together now. This is what Guang Ying was thinking, forget it, a younger brother is a younger brother. Yi Hui is not a bad guy, he is manly enough, although sometimes he is a bit of a straight man, but he is a good person with the right values. His parents seem like nice people too. Guang Ying thought to herself, immediately covering her face, oops, what's wrong with me, I'm just in a relationship. Why do I think so far ahead? Nana is right. You won't know unless you try. So he quickly realized that something was wrong, immediately pounced, overpowered Lu Ming, and snatched the phone away. It was only when he looked at it that he was shocked. He could only see a line of text on it, but it scared Yi Hui out of his skin. Yi Hui was so scared when he read the message on the phone that he almost lost his mind. He could only see a line of text on the phone. I think I like you, want to be my girlfriend and give it a try? Yi Hui shouted, I'll go. Why did you send such a message? Lu Ming quickly took the phone away from him. Didn't you have a crush on her? I think the girl also has a crush on you, so I sent it over. Just see what she says back. Yi Hui is still in shock, and snatches the phone from Lu Ming's hands. He mutters to himself, no, I have to explain to her, I didn't send this. Lu Ming laughs and looks at the flustered Yi Hui, just see what she says back to you. I didn't send it, it was. Yi Hui was typing away when Gu Yingying's message arrived. Yi Hui froze as he read Gu Yingying's message on his phone. That's. She said. Yi Hui was dumbfounded as he held the phone. Lu Ming jumped in, no way? I was just playing a prank. It seems that Gu Yingying has a little interest in you, right? Gu Yingying felt a little giddy after sending the message, as if she were a young girl in love. Yi Hui stared at his phone for a moment, not knowing how to react. Does this mean I have a girlfriend? Lu Ming was also happy for his buddy. Congratulations, buddy. You finally have a girlfriend. Yi Hui stared at his phone for a moment, and asked Lu Ming, so what should I say to her next? What should I say? For the time being, he hadn't yet entered the role of boyfriend. Lu Ming had never had a girlfriend either. Although he had some knowledge of dating, he had never put it into practice. For a loser like him, he probably would never have a chance to fall in love in his lifetime. Lu Ming thought about it, hey, I've never been in love either. Just chat normally, why are you asking me? Yi Hui gave Lu Ming a glare, oops, it's over, I don't know what to say either. Yi Hui thought about it for a while, and finally sent a message to Gu Yingying, let's meet tomorrow. Gu Yingying looked at her phone, happily placed it on her chest, and rolled around on the bed. It's over. It's been so long since I was in love that everything he says sounds so sweet. Hugging the quilt, Gu Yingying replied, okay. After replying to Yi Hui, Gu Yingying sent a message to Lu Yana, Nana, thank you for giving me courage. Lu Yana glanced at Yi Chen, who was driving, and said with a smile, if Yi Hui and Yingying really get together, that would be great. Yi Chen said while driving, the men in our Yi family are all very devoted. Whether it will work out depends on the karma of the two people. Lu Yana smiled and looked back at Yingying, as sisters, I also hope that you can meet someone who will cherish you. Yi Hui is someone we know, and we know what kind of person he is. You can rest assured, and so can we. Yi Chen and Lu Yana returned home around midnight. As soon as they entered the house, they heard the babies crying. Without even listening, they knew it was the eldest baby crying. Lu Yana was nervous, wondering why the baby was crying. She immediately ran upstairs, without even taking her bag off. Yi Chen parked the car and quickly went upstairs as well, still holding the milk Lu Yana had expressed. But this milk is not for feeding the baby, it is for making breast milk soap, which Lu Yana said she would use to bathe the babies, so that they can smell the milk fragrance every day. When she walked upstairs, Lu Yana was already comforting the baby in her arms. Ye's mother asked Yi Chen in a low voice, why did you guys come home so late? The babies all miss you. Yi Chen also whispered, we just encountered a situation, Mom, so don't ask. Seeing Yi Chen stammering, she glanced at Lu Yana again and glared at Yi Chen. Naturally, Ye's mother knew what her son had gotten himself into, but in front of so many people, she didn't want to say anything. Lu Yana was also very embarrassed as she comforted the baby. Lu's mother didn't say anything, but she comforted the baby. Bao was playing with the ants in bed. That's what babies are like, if one doesn't sleep, don't expect any of them to sleep. But fortunately, only Bao was crying, the other two weren't crying, they were just awakened by the noise. Yi Chen originally wanted to go over and tease Bao a bit, but was stopped by Ye's mother, you hurry up and go take a bath, come back in a bit, and let Nana go take a bath and go to sleep too. Ye's mother saw that Bao was crying no more after Lu Yana picked him up, and it seemed like he missed his mother. That's why she told Yi Chen to go take a bath first. Yi Chen nodded as he looked at the obedient babies and left the baby room. Chapter 179 Confessing to his wife. Yi Chen came out of the shower and walked into the baby room just as Lu Yana came out. Yi Chen whispered, honey, how are the babies? Lu Yana pushed Yi Chen out of the way. The babies are asleep. Now only the nanny is here. Mom is asleep, so we're going back to bed too. Lu Yana took Yi Chen's hand and walked back to the room gently. Back in the room, Yi Chen said, "Honey, I've already filled the bathtub for you, so you can go take a bath now." Lu Yana smiled and said to Yi Chen, "Thank you, honey." She stood on tiptoe and gave Yi Chen a kiss on the cheek. Yi Chen gave a wicked laugh and said, "Honey, do you want to?" Lu Yana quickly pushed him away and said, "No, I'll do it myself." After that, she ran into the bathroom as if she was escaping. Yi Chen smiled as he watched his petite wife run away. After taking a shower and drying her hair, Lu Yana lay down directly on the bed. She muttered to herself, "I hope the babies won't wake up. Oh, I'm so tired today. I didn't realize that going to a party would be so exhausting. My back is sore from sitting." Yi Chen lay down next to her, smirking, "Isn't it because you're such a capable husband?" Lu Yana paused for a moment. "Humph, you've got some nerve, you really did exhaust me." Yi Chen volunteered, "Honey, do you want me to give you a massage?" Lu Yana lay down on her stomach, "Be gentle." While massaging Lu Yana, Yi Chen asked her, "Honey, I have something I want to confess to you, it's about my business." Lu Yana enjoyed the massage while listening, without saying a word. Yi Chen saw that Lu Yana did not say anything, so he continued, "Those properties are all real, and I have other properties as well, which may shock you if I tell you." Lu Yana smiled and said, "As long as we don't steal or rob, and as long as the things we have are obtained legally, no matter what, we must be good citizens who abide by the law. As for the rest, I won't care about you either." Lu Yana feels that as long as the things are obtained legally, and she will not, like other women, demand to do things like a prenuptial or marital property notarization. Lu Yana doesn't really care about any of this. How much Yi Chen has is all down to his hard work, and it's not really her business. She's Yi Chen's wife now, and she accepts everything about him. Yi Chen said, "Wife, don't you really want to know what your husband's assets are?" Lu Yana closed her eyes and said, "If you're willing to talk about it, you can, but if you don't want to, I won't force you. And, what happened today really shocked me. I'm so proud that my husband is such a successful man. You're really amazing, honey." Yi Chen was touched by Lu Yana's words, "Honey, thank you." Then he said, "Huachang building is mine." Lu Yana immediately jumped up in her seat. "What did you say? Huachang building is yours?" Yi Chen probably expected Lu Yana to be so excited. "Yes, don't get too excited." Lu Yana stared at Yi Chen with wide eyes. "No wonder the monthly rent was so low when my father rented the place. It turns out it's yours. This really gets me excited. How much is the rent for the year? I'm really shocked. Do your parents know?" Yi Chen smiled and replied, "I don't know yet, and I don't know what to tell them either." The next thing Yi Chen said made Lu Yana unable to sleep that night. "There are also shares of my company in the security company, about 51%. There are also some shopping malls and land, that's about it." Lu Yana was so excited that she didn't know what to say. "Honey, stop it. If you keep this up, I might become a spendthrift." Yi Chen laughed at her reaction. "Buy whatever you like, the money I make is for you to spend. So don't save money for me in the future. You can use this black card. I've transferred another 500 million yuan into it." Lu Yana stared at the black card in Yi Chen's hand and shook her head. "Honey, you mustn't be like this. I'm really afraid that I won't be able to control myself." She's watched a lot of dramas and novels about domineering CEOs, but she never imagined that this kind of plot would happen to her. For a moment, she didn't know how to react to the situation. "Honey, I love you so much." After Lu Yana finished speaking, she tightly embraced Yi Chen. Yi Chen also hugged Lu Yana. "From now on, you are only allowed to be my Yi Chen spoiled woman." Lu Yana thought to herself, "No one else can give me the chance to be a spoiled woman. Who can suddenly pull out a card worth billions of dollars?" Thinking about this, Lu Yana probably won't be able to sleep tonight from excitement. However, she never doubted the source of Yi Chen's wealth, because she believed Yi Chen, she believed what Yi Chen said was true, and she also believed that Yi Chen would not do anything illegal. That was enough. At that moment, Yi Chen's system rang. "Congratulations, host, a special mission has been triggered, and the system is now upgrading. Countdown, 1%, 2%, 100%. Reporting to the host, the system upgrade is complete. The host is rewarded with an unlimited system credit card. This card only has 10 chances and can only be used on family members. Report complete." Yi Chen, who was hugging Lu Yana, was also confused. The all-purpose card and this system unlimited credit card were all rewards from the system, but he hadn't used them yet. There must be a reason for the system to reward him with these things. Just like the Huachang building and Tengli Hotel before, and June 1st baby, they were all used one after the other. It was just that Yichen felt very strange about everything that happened afterwards. He felt that his life trajectory was generally under the control of the system, and he was following the steps of the system. But then he thought about it, if life could be like this, where he became a winner in life and got everything he wanted, then even if he followed the steps of the system, so what? The system has no emotions, but people do. As long as the family is safe and healthy and together, nothing else matters. Chapter 180, in the process of running in. Probably knowing that Lu Yana and Yichen are going back to school, the little babies have been sticking to them these past 2 days, babbling and cooing wherever they go, demanding to be held by Lu Yana and Yichen. It's normal for them to cling to their mothers, because the 3 of them are still breastfeeding, but even Yichen, the father, is clinging to them. The 3 little ones really don't want their parents to go to school. But there's no way around it, they need to go to school and get their diplomas, and Lu Yana still has her own dreams to pursue. They can only ask the 2 mothers and aunts to take good care of the little ones. Yi Hui and Gu Yingying are also getting to know each other, but they haven't taken the step of living together yet. Yi Hui really thought that Gu Yingying was just an ordinary person, and now that she is unemployed, he feels that he needs to take care of her. This straight man also went online on the day they got together to find a lot of relationship tips and other things, and ran to Buddha's feet when the time came. And Lu Ming, who lives with Yi Hui, is a million regrets. He shouldn't have been so nosy and helped Yi Hui send these messages. If Yi Hui and Gu Yingying live together, then he will have to make room, and he can't keep the place on the living room sofa. But he also wishes his brother all the best with tears in his eyes. Yi Hui and Gu Yingying met and they also got tired of playing together. What touched Gu Yingying the most was that on the first day they met, Yi Hui saw that Gu Yingying didn't have a job, so he directly transferred 52,000 yuan to her. Otherwise, there didn't seem to be any substantial progress, and Lu Yana also went to school these past 2 days. Although there weren't many classes, Gu Yingying guessed that Lu Yana was very busy. On the day of the semester's start, Yichen drove his RV to the school and found a relatively remote parking space. After parking, the 2 walked hand in hand towards the school building. Not far away, many students also saw Yichen and Lu Yana. In the school, in addition to the freshmen, the sophomores and juniors all knew the name of the school flower Lu Yana. Oh my god! Did you see that? Our school flower is back with her husband. Did you see that car? It's a Mercedes-Benz. It must be worth more than 100, right? I saw the school flower and her husband profess their love for each other on the school's forum. It's really so lucky to have a beautiful wife like the school flower. I'd say it's lucky to have a husband like Yizhen. He's rich, good-looking, and treats his wife well. That's why these 2 are so enviable together. Yichen looked in the distance and pointed at them as if they were saying something. He took Lu Yana's hand and the 2 of them smiled at each other. The 2 of them were from different departments, so after Yichen dropped Lu Yana off at her classroom, he went back to his own classroom. During this time, he would send messages to Lu Yana, asking if she was thirsty, if she was hungry, and if she wanted to have a snack. Lu Yana's heart was full of sweetness, and she smiled as she replied to Yichen. She had arrived in the same classroom, but the classmates around her were different. Few people had taken time off from school to get married and have children, just like Lu Yana. In fact, if Lu Yana hadn't been pregnant with triplets, she probably wouldn't have taken time off from school either. Even if other people said things about her, she wasn't afraid. It was just that there was nothing she could do about it. The latter stages of pregnancy with triplets were really exhausting. Fortunately, Yichen was now by her side as she returned to school, and she was able to continue pursuing her dreams. Although none of her classmates know her, they know her. They are also happy to interact with the Shangda campus queen. But Macy is also back. But she came back to get her Shangda diploma, because the study abroad she told others about was just a trip abroad, because her English was not good. In other words, she, like Lu Yana, took a leave of absence. This person, who lost the title of school beauty to Lu Yana and thus went overseas to avoid it, now looked at Lu Yana sitting in front of her, and the malevolence in her eyes was no longer concealed. Because of her arrogant and domineering personality, she had no friends at school, and no one invited her to parties, so no one told her about Lu Yana's suspension from school. Of course, she also didn't tell anyone about her own suspension from school, but just told people that she went to study abroad. When she returned to school and completed the admission procedures, she learned from others that Lu Yana had also suspended her studies, and that she had done so because she got married and had a child. For a moment, she was relieved that Lu Yana had gotten married and had a child before graduating, but she was also angry. Why did she have to go to school with Lu Yana when she had already suspended her studies for a year? And even if Lu Yana got married and had a child, she would never be able to take over the title of Xiangda University's most beautiful girl. However, from other students, my Cici learned that Lu Yana married Yi Chen, the second-generation rich boy at the same school. She had heard before that Yi Chen's family was on the verge of bankruptcy, and Lu Yana's family also had some money, so she also thought that Yi Chen's family was not doing well and was relying on Lu Yana's family. Although my Cici had also mentioned Lu Yana to her classmates and asked about Lu Yana's husband Yi Chen, her classmates didn't like her and didn't tell her anything in detail, just that he was rich. Since my Cici's family also runs a business, they still have some money, otherwise they wouldn't have studied abroad. She feels that she is from a big city and has always looked down on Lu Yana and others from small cities. At the same time, she feels that the bankruptcy of Yi Chen's family is not unfounded, so she still looks down on Yi Chen. No matter how superior she feels now, she still has to be in the same department as Lu Yana. This is an unchangeable fact. After Lu Yana finished laughingly replying to Yi Chen, the schoolgirls on the side also came over to chat with Lu Yana. It was probably because they saw Lu Yana's friendly expression that the schoolgirls were actually happy to hang out with her. Lu Yana only puts on a long face when facing people who are persistent and annoying. After all, she also has a temper. In contrast, my Cici often puts on a disdainful, unapproachable long face. Not to mention boys, even girls don't want to sit with her, and everyone stays away from her. She is the only one sitting at the back of the classroom. Chapter 181, First Day of School. In the first class of the first day of school, the new students introduced themselves. When my Cici got up to introduce herself, Lu Yana also turned to look at her. Lu Yana naturally knew a lot about her as well. And when their eyes met, Lu Yana smiled at her. However, my Cici didn't seem to give her face, and gave Lu Yana a cold look in front of so many people. Lu Yana didn't care about her, and turned her head directly, no longer looking at her. Everyone now seemed to know that the two of them did not get along. The younger girl next to her asked Lu Yana, "Nana, what's wrong with this classmate?" Lu Yana just smiled, "Nothing, she's a former classmate of mine, like me, she's also suspended from school." The younger girl suddenly realized, "Oh? Really? She also suspended from school to go back and get married and have children?" The younger girl's words immediately made Lu Yana extremely embarrassed. Lu Yana smiled, "I don't know." Next, the younger girl's words made Lu Yana even more embarrassed. "Sister Nana, I really envy you. You gave birth to triplets at once, 2 boys and a girl, and you were done with it in one go. You don't have to suffer like that in the future. How can you get pregnant with triplets?" Lu Yana closed the book in her hands and said, "Actually, having triplets is even more difficult than giving birth one at a time, because your stomach gets so heavy. Hey, you know how hard it is when you're pregnant with just one, let alone 3 at once. You don't understand now, but you will when you get married." Seeing Lu Yana's actions, the younger girl knew she had asked too much, so she didn't pursue the topic. Although Lu Yana had gotten married and had children, she didn't want to talk about her pregnancy and childbirth with others, as these were personal matters. After the class, Lu Yana walked to the parking lot with her book. Halfway there, a man's voice suddenly sounded behind her. "Nana, is that you?" The man's voice was clearly tinged with surprise. Lu Yana turned her head at the sound and saw the man standing behind her. It was her former neighbor, the older brother. "Brother Siyu, why are you here?" Lu Yana recognized the man as soon as she saw him. When Siyu was still smiling gently, "I was also very surprised to see you. It's just that I've been working here as an English teacher for the past year." Lu Yana quickly walked up to him. "Brother Siyu, I really didn't realize it. You've become a college teacher. I'm really surprised to run into you here." When Siyu had some unknown emotion in his eyes, "Me too, I thought I would meet you here last year, but unexpectedly, you got married and had a child so soon." Lu Yana also laughed. "Oops, brother, don't laugh at me, I actually got married even earlier than you, which I didn't expect either." When Siyu looked around and asked, "I heard that your husband also went to the same school as you. How come he hasn't come to find you?" Lu Yana gave a sheepish smile and said, "He's waiting for me in the car. By the way, I haven't heard from you since you moved away. Where did you go?" When Siyu's expression darkened, "My family immigrated, and I went with them, but now I'm back." Lu Yana also smiled. but you did leave in a hurry, and we didn't exchange contact information. Wen Siyu was about to say something when he was suddenly interrupted by a man's voice. Wife, so you're here. Lu Yana heard the voice, smiled, turned her head and ran towards Yichen. Honey. Why are you here to pick me up? Yichen smiled and took Lu Yana's hand generously. Honey, I saw you after class and you weren't around, so I came looking for you. Yichen glanced at Wen Siyu behind Lu Yana and asked, Who is this? Lu Yana excitedly introduced, This is my neighbor from Yun City, last name Wen, first name Siyu. Brother Siyu, this is my husband, Yichen. Lu Yana introduced Wen Siyu and Yichen to each other. Yichen and Wen Siyu both extended their right hands and shook hands to say hello. 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 Lu Yana smiled and said, Now Brother Siyu has become a teacher at our school, so in the future, I'll have to call him Teacher Wen whenever I see him. After she finished speaking, Lu Yana also smiled and looked at the two of them. Wen Siyu, however, said, Nana, you can keep calling me Brother Siyu. Upon hearing this, Yichen couldn't help but take another look at Wen Siyu, and couldn't help but think more about it in his heart. It seems that this Wen Siyu is also a womanizer for his wife. You have to know that one of the reasons why he chose to take a break from school at the same time as Lu Yana was because Lu Yana was so attractive that he followed her to school. He has to protect his wife well. And at the same time, he has to put other men out of his mind. Wen Siyu felt a hint of unnaturalness when Yichen looked at him with a scrutinizing gaze. He said to Lu Yana, Since your husband is here, I won't disturb you anymore, I'll go first. After saying this, Wen Siyu walked away alone, at least that's what he was thinking. Yichen looked at Wen Siyu's back and pulled Lu Yana away as well. Lu Yana whispered to Yichen, Honey, do you not like me calling him brother? Yichen pretended to be a little angry and said, Of course I don't like it, in the future you should just call him Teacher Wen. It's fine if it makes him mad. Anyway, Yichen just doesn't like his wife calling other men brother. Yichen whispered in Lu Yana's ear, Why don't you call me Brother Chen? You call Brother Siyu so easily, why don't you try Brother Chen? Lu Yana pounded Yichen's chest, I was used to calling him that when I was little. So, I'll call him Teacher Wen or Big Brother Wen from now on? Yichen shook his head, No, just call him Teacher Wen. Come on, say Brother Chen. Yichen kissed Lu Yana. Lu Yana looked around, and fortunately, the hallway here was relatively isolated, so no one saw them. Brother Chen, Lu Yana also kissed Yichen on the cheek. Yichen pressed his face against her, Call me Brother Chen a few more times, otherwise. Lu Yana also had no choice with him, Brother Chen. Again changed his tone, Brother Chen. Yichen put his arm around Lu Yana's shoulders and whispered in her ear, Don't play with fire. Which scared Lu Yana into shutting up. She also believed that Yichen was capable of anything. Back in the small caravan, Yichen took out the breast pump and handed it to Lu Yana, saying, Do you need help? Lu Yana took it and smiled, Of course you want to, but sorry, no need. Yichen thought there was nothing to do in the afternoon, so he might as well go home early. Chapter 182, Someone Else's Husband is So Good. Honey, are you free this afternoon? It's the first day of university, so I'm free this afternoon. Lu Yana turned her back and said, squeezing, I'm free too, why don't we go home? Yichen said, However, it's rare that we get a day off, let's go out for dinner, then go shopping or something before going home? Lu Yana thought about it for a moment, nodded, and continued to milk the cow. In fact, Yichen also noticed that Lu Yana did not have a wedding ring on her finger. So, now he really couldn't hold back anymore. Honey, why don't you wear your wedding ring? Lu Yana's hand motion also paused for a moment, and she smiled and said, Honey, I didn't mean to not wear it, I just think that the diamond on the wedding ring is too big, and it doesn't seem very good if I wear it to school. Yichen didn't say anything after hearing this. After thinking for a while, he said, You're right. After dinner, let's go buy a smaller one. Lu Yana seemed to hear some unhappiness in Yichen's tone, so she agreed. After Lu Yana put the milk in the refrigerator, Yichen drove her to the financial street. There was a Harry Winston diamond brand store there, and Yichen heard that it was good, so he decided to take Lu Yana there to have a look and buy one if it was suitable. After dinner, he took Lu Yana to the store. The salesperson in the store also received the two of them very warmly. Hello sir, how may I help you? Come over here and have a look. We have rare diamonds here that are all colorless and almost flawless. You can come over here and have a look at these diamond rings. The salesperson assumed that the two young people had come in to buy wedding rings, so she promoted the diamond rings to Yichen and Lu Yana. Yichen said, I want to buy the best diamond ring for my wife. Bring out the best you have here, but don't make it too big, because it's not convenient to wear it every day, and it's too showy. The saleswoman's eyes immediately lit up. She had received many rich people, so she naturally knew what to do. So she walked inside, called the manager, and brought out the best diamond ring in the store. "Sir, please take a look. The clarity of this diamond ring is in the F grade." Yi Chen had already searched for it earlier, and a grade F was not the best. He waved his hand at the salesperson. "I don't care if it's expensive or not, but you have to show me the best one here." The salesperson took the diamond in her hand, which was over 1 million yuan for 1 carat, and looked at the manager. The manager said, "Sir, don't worry, I'll go to the safe and get the best loose diamond for you to look at. You can take a look first." With that, he walked into the back room. Yi Chen asked the salesperson, "How many carats is this?" "Sir, this is a 1 carat diamond." The saleswoman carefully held the diamond ring and introduced it. Lu Yana took the diamond ring from the saleswoman's hand and put it on her hand to look at it. "Honey, I think this one is pretty good, right?" "Yi Chen, then let's buy it." Lu Yana smiled and said, "Then let's go home after we buy it?" Yi Chen said, "Don't worry, this $1 million one is just a trinket. If you want to buy it to wear it often, you definitely have to buy a good one, and there will be more choices for different occasions, right?" The saleswoman next to her was also very surprised. Usually, even if a rich man wants to buy something, he will just look at what the woman likes and then just pay for it. She has worked here for so long, and this is the first time she has met such a man. Someone else's husband is really good. At this moment, Lu Yina's phone rang. It was Gu Yingying calling. "Hello, Nana, where are you?" Gu Yingying's voice was so loud that even Yi Chen next to her heard it. Lu Yana put the phone down and waited until Gu Yingying had finished talking before she picked it up again. "Yingying, you still haven't changed your habit of speaking loudly even after you've fallen in love. I'm afraid Yi Hui's eardrums will be worn out by your shouting." Gu Yingying was also taken aback. Although she usually speaks loudly, it's not that bad, is it? She hadn't noticed this. "I don't know, Yi Hui." "Oh, never mind, where are you now?" "I just saw it, that bad woman, Macy, is back." "Is she in your class?" Lu Yana said, "Yes, I saw her today, but we didn't speak together." Gu Yingying said in a contemptuous voice, "Look at her smug little face, she just went abroad for a study abroad, but she's so arrogant." Gu Yingying and Lu Yana naturally knew what kind of person my Cici was, but Gu Yingying was also a person who said whatever came into her head, so naturally she was not as easygoing as Lu Yana. Gu Yingying suddenly changed the subject and her tone of voice. "Deng Jia called me." Hearing this, Lu Yana also froze for a moment and asked, "When? Why didn't she call me?" "Gu Yingying, just now, she said she was going out with a few people from our dormitory to get together, and I don't know how she's been recently. She's probably afraid of facing you, I don't know. You can ask her when you meet up." "Lu Yana, when are you getting together?" "Gu Yingying, just tonight, that's why I called to ask you." Lu Yana, "Okay, I'll go, send me the location." Gu Yingying let out a breath. "I'll call her back first." Yi Chen asked Lu Yana, "Honey, what's wrong? You suddenly looked unhappy after answering Gu Yingying's call." Lu Yana didn't intend to hide anything from Yi Chen. A classmate from college said she wanted to get together with her roommates. She found out she was pregnant in her second semester of sophomore year, and she wanted to go back to her hometown with the guy to get married. I persuaded her to continue her studies and get married after graduation, and I analyzed and solved various problems for her. She sighed. "I don't know what happened later. It seems that she just dropped out of school. I called her but her phone was turned off, and she didn't reply to my WeChat messages. After that winter vacation, she just disappeared and never came back to school. If it had a happy ending, she would have married that guy and had kids. If it had a bad ending, I don't even want to imagine it. After all, not everyone is as lucky as me." Yi Chen agreed, "Yes. Not all men are as responsible as me." Lu Yana was originally depressed, but when she saw Yi Chen bragging like that, she was amused. At this time, the manager finally returned. "Sir, we have a 2.5 carat loose diamond here that is of the flawless grade, and it is currently the only one in our company. It needs to be customized, and it may take a little longer when you need it." Yi Chen asked, 2.5 carats? It's a bit small. Can it be expedited?" The manager was also screaming at the top of his lungs in his heart, but still said with great respect on his face, "Yes, it is possible, but I don't know when you can take it. Because our company's craftsmen happen to be down at the flagship store for inspection, it should be fine in the next few days." Do you want to place an order? Yi Chen asked. I want it tonight, is that possible? Immediately place an order. Female salesperson, aren't you going to ask about the price? This is a diamond that is close to 10 million. And that's not even including the cost of the craftsmanship. And it's a diamond ring that was personally crafted by a famous designer. The manager was also shocked by Yi Chen's generosity. Okay, as long as he is here, there is still so much time before nightfall, I will definitely be able to help you get it all done. Yi Chen, okay, let's swipe the card. Chapter 183, The Baby Changes by the Day. Yi Chen didn't even ask the price, and directly said, swipe the card. The female salesperson exclaimed inwardly, the boss is truly a boss. Even the manager, who has seen a lot, feels that Yi Chen is truly generous. The manager reached over with a smile and took the bank, saying, hello, sir, the cost of this custom order, including the labor fee, is 12 million. Yi Chen waved his hand, swipe. After the card was swiped, the system beeped. Ding! Congratulations, host, you have completed the first task after upgrading the system. The system will return 10 times the 12 million spent, and give you 5 extra elixirs. Note that taking the elixir can repair diseased cells in the body, even cancer can be cured. A special reminder is that the elixir does not work when you are healthy, so please decide for yourself how to use it. The elixir has been placed in the system space and can be retrieved by the host when needed. Wow! What kind of miracle medicine is this? It can even cure cancer? Doesn't that mean it can bring the dead back to life? Is it really that good? We have to make good use of it. However, it can only be used when the body is damaged. I wonder if the system has any kind of elixir that can strengthen the body? Yes, if you are healthy and eat it to prevent illness, it is still better than getting sick and then getting better. Yi Chen is not interested in money, but he is very interested in this elixir. The manager and the saleswoman both flattered him with their praise. After swiping the card, the manager and the saleswoman stood together at the door to see Yi Chen and Lu Yana off. See you off, Mr. and Mrs. Yi. The saleswoman looked at the departing backs of Yi Chen and Lu Yana and let out a soft exclamation, damn. If only I had a husband like that who would spend thousands of dollars on me, and who didn't even see the diamond before he just used his credit card to buy it. Oh, my goodness. When will such a good thing happen to me? I don't care if it costs millions, tens of millions, or even just thousands. After all, women, what's important is a man's attitude, not how much money he spends. The manager glared at her impatiently, daydreaming during work hours. Get to work. The saleswoman was instantly disheartened, okay. After that, she whispered, just thinking about it. Yi Chen took Lu Yana back to the car. Nana, it's only a little after 3, let's go back to the house and see the babies, okay? The babies are almost 4 months old now, and they're slowly starting to recognize people. Sometimes when they say mommy or daddy, they can't help but look at both Yi Chen and Lu Yana. Although they are still young, they are very smart. Lu Yana and Yi Chen have been away for a long time, so they naturally miss their babies at home. When they get home, the babies have finished feeding, and Lu's mother, Ye's mother, and the nannies are pushing the babies for a walk in the garden. The 3 babies are lying in the stroller, letting people push them around, but their heads are turning around, curious about everything around them. The babies are growing really fast, and they look different every day. When they saw Yi Chen and Lu Yana return, the babies were so excited that they raised their hands to be hugged. They are really little monsters. Yi Chen held out his hand to Debeo and said, say daddy, if you don't, I won't hug you. Lu Yana gave Yi Chen a nudge and laughed, honey, what are you thinking? The baby is so young, aren't you putting him in a difficult situation by asking him to say daddy? Baby, crying. After Lu Yana finished speaking, Debeo pouted his lips, and it looked like he was about to cry. Yi Chen quickly picked Debeo up. Debeo, don't cry, daddy's just playing with you. But in the future, when you want to call me daddy, you must say hello first, otherwise it's very rude, understand? Debeo seemed to see Yi Chen pick him up, and his pouted lips instantly made 2 sounds, as if he really understood. Ye's mother and Lu's mother looked at them and laughed. I guess Yi Chen really can't wait for the babies to start walking. After that, everyone laughed. Lu Yana also laughed at Yi Chen. When they were young, they looked forward to growing up, and when they grew up, they thought it was fun when they were young again. Yi Chen didn't agree. It's natural to find growing up fun, right? Look at how soft the babies are right now. I'm really afraid that if I use any force, I'll break their bones. Yi Chen gently placed the baby in the palm of his hand and saw his mother holding the baby upright, so he began to educate his mother. Mom, how can you hold the baby like that? The baby's neck still doesn't have much strength, so holding it like that will damage the baby's neck and spine. It's better to hold it like I do. Lu Yana was about to say something, but she thought to herself that after all, she was the daughter-in-law, and it would be inappropriate to speak so bluntly to her mother-in-law. So, after thinking about it, she ultimately didn't say anything. Unexpectedly, Yichen brought this up with Ye's mother. Ye's mother also replied, "What's so pretentious about it? When you were little, didn't your mother hold you like this?" Yichen also shook his head and said, "Mom, although the baby can lift his head and turn over, does he know how to feed him scientifically?" Lu's mother also laughed and said, "Are you trying to exercise the baby properly, dear?" Ye's mother said with a smile, "Yes, I know I was wrong. You all must not hug your babies like this in the future." Ye's mother is not unreasonable. She immediately corrected her own behavior when she saw that it was not correct. In the past, when Yichen was young, his mother also rarely hugged him. Now it's been more than 20 years, and I guess even she has forgotten. The other two babies saw Yichen hugging the eldest, and they were also babbling in their mouths, demanding to be hugged by both Yichen and Lu Yana. Lu Yana also picked up the little ones. However, it seemed that Debeo wanted Lu Yana to hold him more, and even in Yichen's arms, he still reached out to Lu Yana with his two little hands. Lu Yana couldn't help but smile when she saw this situation. "Debeo, can mommy hold your sister first? Can I hold you later?" Debeo seemed to understand, and suddenly his babbling got a little higher in pitch. Everyone laughed. Such a young baby, I don't know if he really understood. Yichen held the two babies, while Lu Yana held the little one, and they sat down together. Lu's mother quickly took out her phone to take a picture of them. "Come on, Nana, Yichen, and I will take a picture of you." Everyone smiled. When they heard this, the three babies actually smiled. You would say they understood, right? They still made noise when they should have been quiet. You would say they didn't understand, right? When you told them to smile, they did. Chapter 184, I'm jealous. They're just kids, so it's fine to raise them and play with them when they're little. But when they grow up and need help with their homework, I imagine that if the three of them come together, they'll be furious. But Yichen doesn't have such a sense of awareness. At this moment, Yichen's system also beeped. Congratulations, host, 2 tasks have been triggered within 1 day. According to the host's wish list, the system has delivered a magical potion that can strengthen the body, which is 100 milliliters in total. It is worth noting that this potion can only be mixed with water and cannot be used directly. And the effect of 1 drop is also very significant. It has now been put into the system space for the host, and can be taken out at any time when needed. Yichen couldn't help exclaiming in his heart. My goodness! So the system is not mechanical? System, shall I go then? The system is indeed an intelligent system. After the upgrade, it will decide the prize according to the needs of the host. Yichen hugged the 2 babies and looked at the 2 little babies, who were so well behaved, and his heart was so happy that it almost jumped up. At this time, Ye's mother and Lu's mother yawned. Seeing that you are back, we will go take a nap first. Seeing his parents, who personally took care of the baby every day and couldn't even get a good night's sleep, Yichen was also a little moved. I have to put some magic potion in the tea for my parents to drink later, so that they can stay healthy and not fall ill. Yichen thought to himself. Yes, although there are several maids in the family, they work in shifts, so in the evenings, Yi and Lu's mothers also have to lend a hand, otherwise it would be really difficult to take care of the 3 babies. Lu Yana is now considering slowly weaning the babies. She wants to wean them as soon as possible, in about 6 months. She hasn't had a full night's sleep since giving birth. Lu Yana said to Lu's mother and Ye's mother, Mom, you just go to bed. The nannies and we are here. Ye's mother and Lu's mother waved their hands. We'll leave it to you then. Lu Yana said, Mom, Yichen and I are going out tonight. I'm going to a party. Lu's mother couldn't help but ask, didn't you have a party before? Why are you going to another party? Mom, this time it's just a few close friends getting together. It's not a big party, Lu Yana explained to her mother. Lu's mother nodded. In that case, just come home early. Now that the kids are older, they really do miss you. Sometimes we can't really comfort them, and they won't go to sleep until they see you come home. Ye's mother also said from the side, yes, now that the baby is getting bigger and bigger, children still need their parents around as they grow up, so that they can feel secure enough. In the past, no matter how busy we were at work, we would still come home early in the evening. It's not that we don't let you go out and play, it's just that we feel that children really need your company. In the future, there may be more gatherings like this, so it would be good if you came home early. Mommy also didn't want them to come home after 12 o'clock like last time. Although she didn't say it very clearly, Yi-Chen and Lu Yana understood what she meant. Lu Yana said, "Mom, we got it. We will never come home after 10:30 again." Yi-Chen nodded with a smile. Mom Lu and Mom Yi went back to the house together. The elderly don't like young people partying every night, so it's a good thing they go home early. And it's also helpful for establishing a good parent-child relationship with their children. And it seems that the children have also begun to realize that Yi-Chen and Lu Yana are their parents. The two mothers' words have finally been heard by Yi-Chen and Lu Yana. Both of them are already parents to others, and they definitely can't go home whenever they want as they used to. Because now, there are 3 little ones waiting for them at home. Lu Yana also sighed. What the two mothers just said really makes a lot of sense, and in the future, we really have to put the family first. Yi-Chen also nodded. Yes, I will never let you run around with me again. Lu Yana's face flushed, and she glanced at the ants next to her before giving Yi-Chen's thigh a little tap. Don't talk nonsense. It was a little after 5 p.m. when Lu Yana's phone received a message. Nana, gather at the Starbucks on Financial Street at 6:30. Come early, I need to ask Deng Jie properly where she's been for the past 2 years. Lu Yana replied, don't get excited, just ask properly. Guangying, got it, I know what to do. At that moment, Lu Yana received a message on WeChat from a stranger adding her as a friend. The note read, Brother, see you. Lu Yana was also shocked, and immediately clicked to add the friend. She immediately sent a WeChat message, Teacher 1, how did you add me to WeChat? Wen Siyu was also taken aback when he saw the sentence Teacher 1 sent by Lu Yana on the other end of the phone. It took a while before he replied, I found you in the school address book. I'm your senior year English teacher. Yi-Chen and Lu Yana had also returned to the room by then. Seeing Lu Yana chatting on the phone so rarely, they came over to take a look. After all, their wife is so beautiful, and there must be a lot of suitors around. Seeing that Lu Yana was messaging someone named Teacher 1, he asked, Yo? You found your way here so quickly? When he said this, Yi-Chen's tone was a little sour. At this moment, Yi-Chen just felt that his heart was even more sour than a lemon. They had grown up together since childhood, and perhaps in that man's eyes, he had long since regarded Lu Yana as a childhood sweetheart. It's over, is this guy trying to set himself up as a deep lover? No, you have to watch your wife. Even if Lu Yana didn't have such intentions, Yi-Chen just felt very uncomfortable looking at Wen Siyu. Seeing Yi-Chen come over, Lu Yana also confessed, this is Mr. Wen Siyu adding me as a WeChat friend. He is now our senior English teacher, so he saw my number and added me. Yi-Chen nodded, then we have to call in Teacher 1 when we meet in the future. After that, he asked, how old is Teacher 1? He became a teacher at a young age? Lu Yana also answered truthfully, he should be about 4 or 5 years older than us, I don't know, we played together at the time and didn't pay much attention, in my impression, he was like an older brother. Yi-Chen, the lemon essence, also committed, oh. Lu Yana suddenly turned her head and looked at Yi-Chen, with a mysterious smile, honey, are you jealous? Yi-Chen glanced at his stunning wife by his side, my wife is so beautiful, I don't know how many people are secretly coveting her. Okay, I admit I'm jealous, I'll contact him less in the future. Chapter 185 Yi Hui has a dual personality? In the end, Yi-Chen naturally confessed directly. Lu Yana almost died of laughter when she heard Yi-Chen's last sentence, honey. You're so cute. Don't worry, I know, I'll be careful in the future. I'm a married woman now, I'll never do anything to hurt you. Yi-Chen said very domineeringly, whether it's something to do with hurting me or not, just don't contact me in the future. Lu Yana, okay. I promise, honey, let's go out and party now, but you need to wait for me outside, because we're going to be hanging out with a few girls, not like last time. Yi-Chen nodded after hearing Lu Yana's promise, it is only natural to wait for your wife, so of course there is no problem. Regarding Wen Siyu, it is not that Yi-Chen is not confident enough, he is just afraid that if Lu Yana talks to him too much, she will give others too much to think about, and that would not be good for either him or Lu Yana. Even if Lu Yana simply thinks of him as a big brotherly neighbor, who knows what other people are thinking? As the saying goes, you can never be too careful. Yi-Chen glanced at the simple Lu Yana and quickly embraced her. Lu Yana also hugged her husband tightly and did not reply to Wen Siyu. The two also arrived at the Starbucks on Financial Street half an hour early, where they saw Guangying at first glance. It was obvious that the others had not yet arrived. Guangying was also waiting anxiously. She was also impatient. When she saw Lu Yana arrive, she hurried to the entrance of the store and then pulled Lu Yana back to the table. Nana, you're here so early too? Lu Yana, I knew you'd definitely come early, so I came early too. Pausing for a moment, Xiao Jia hasn't arrived yet? Although they only spent 2 years with Deng Jia, the three of them had the deepest sisterly bond. They have been together since their freshman year, and for the past 2 years they have been supporting each other in being true and sincere sisters, unlike other people's insincere relationships. Guangying, she's not here yet. I arrived 10 minutes before you. I want to meet with her early to talk about it, and I just called her. Lu Yana, so did she say when she would arrive? Guangying glanced at the entrance to the store. She said she was on her way. Yi Chen also sat down. Guangying seemed to have remembered something. Yi Chen, your cousin Yi Hui is here, you should know him a little, right? Yi Chen naturally knew that Guangying was currently dating Yi Hui, and asked with a smile, why? Did Yi Hui bully you? Guangying, I wish he would. Guangying shook her head and said, I feel that when we are together, he is unbearably straight, but when we go home separately, he seems to become very caring. Could it be that he has a split personality? Yi Chen frowned and said immediately, no way. Although he is usually a bit straight, he doesn't have a split personality, does he? I haven't heard that he has any problems with his personality either. Yi Chen was also very puzzled. There really was nothing wrong. Guangying also couldn't figure it out. Why was it that after being together and then going home separately, they had two different faces? Lu Yana gave Guangying a tip, why don't you just ask him? It's better than guessing by yourself. Guangying said dejectedly, we've only been in love for a few days, and I just think he's a little strange. If he really has a double personality, then I'm sure I can accept it. Lu Yana, don't think about it here. I think the most important thing for two people to be together is to be honest with each other, right? Yi Hui is a man, so naturally he thinks differently from a woman. Although you haven't been in love much, these are things that people who have been there have told you. Just ask him directly. Guangying still doesn't have much experience in love. Although she is a carefree person, she is also a girl who observes very carefully. When it comes to her own emotions, she can also be apprehensive sometimes. When in a relationship, men and women naturally think differently. Women are emotional, while men are relatively more rational, but this does not include some guys who become more emotional than girls after falling in love. After listening to the analysis of the two relationship experts, Guangying immediately decided that when Yi Hui came to pick her up later, she would definitely ask him clearly. Just as the two girls were chatting, a familiar female voice came from behind them. Ying, Nana, why are you here so early? Guangying and Lu Yana turned around at the sound and looked in the direction of the voice. Xiao Jia, you're here. Guangying and Lu Yana exclaimed. They saw a pretty girl standing in the direction of the voice. Long time no see. Deng Jia said, while also looking at Yi Chen, who was sitting across from Guangying and Lu Yana. Lu Yana quickly introduced Deng Jia to Yi Chen. Xiao Jia, this is my husband, Yi Chen. Yi Chen, this is my good friend Deng Jia, I've told you about her. Yi Chen, hello. Hello. Deng Jia also greeted Yi Chen. After the two exchanged greetings, they did not exchange many words. Lu Yana and Guangying took Deng Jia and sat with them. Guangying asked, Jia, where have you been these past few years? Why did you suddenly stop contacting us? Deng Jia pursed her lips, as if she had something difficult to say. Seeing that Deng Jia didn't say anything, Lu Yana also became anxious. Xiao Jia, have you encountered any problems? If it's about money, we can help you, so you don't have to worry. Deng Jia's eyes became a little moist. She was grateful for the words of these two good college friends, but she also had a backbone. Thank you, but my problem can be said to be related to money, but it can also be said to be unrelated. Lu Yana and Guangying continued listening, but Deng Jia looked at Yi Chen, as if she didn't want to tell outsiders about her predicament. Lu Yana followed her gaze and looked at Yi Chen and said, Hubby, why don't you go for a walk outside for a while? I'll call you when the party's over. Yi Chen glanced at the three women in front of him, and it seemed that he also felt that he was indeed in the way. Okay, I'll go for a walk around here first, and you can call me when you're done. Yi Chen naturally didn't want to be the man in the group of women, and he had not yet reached the point of being so nosy. But if Lu Yana was going to say something to him at that time, he would be happy to listen. Yi Chen said hello to them and left. After Deng Jia saw Yi Chen leave, tears instantly fell from the corner of her eyes. The bitterness she had suppressed in her heart could no longer be held back. Gu Ying and Lu Yana quickly comforted her, passing her tissues while patting her back. Chapter 186, Deng Jie's Ordeal. Deng Jie didn't dare cry until she saw Yi Chen walk away. Gu Ying and Lu Yana hurriedly comforted her and asked, "What's wrong? Why are you suddenly crying? Tell us what's wrong, don't keep everything inside, silly Jie." Seeing that Deng Jie was so difficult to love, Gu Ying also felt bad. Deng Jie cried for a minute or two, and slowly her emotions calmed down. She said to Gu Ying and Lu Yana, "I'm sorry, please forgive me for leaving without saying goodbye. I also have unspeakable suffering. In fact, I dropped out of school because of my father. My father had a stroke because he was so angry about me becoming pregnant out of wedlock. Fortunately, he was saved in time and survived, but since the stroke, he has been confined to a wheelchair. And my so-called boyfriend disappeared at that time. He blocked me on WeChat and on the phone, and even if I called from someone else's phone, he wouldn't answer. I had no choice but to listen to my mother and terminate the pregnancy. Although I was reluctant to do so, I couldn't afford to raise the child." Gu Ying was so angry she wanted to hit someone at the sound of this. How dare he treat our little Jie like this? "Tell me, who is that man? I'll kill him." Deng Jie wanted to cry just thinking about this man. No matter how strong she pretended to be in front of others, all she felt for this man now was hatred. This man is really so irresponsible. Lu Yana was also furious. Deng Jie sighed, "Let bygones be bygones. From now on, I'll only live for myself." After my father became paralyzed, there was no longer a pillar to support the family. And the rescue also cost a lot of money, and the rehabilitation later also used up all the family savings. In the past, our family relied on my father to make money, but now that he can't work, I can't go to school either. The job I found in our hometown, because I have no education, I can only find those jobs that pay 2,000 or 3,000. So, I have come back to Fragrance City to find a more stable and better paid job, and I want to take my father to the best hospital for a checkup. But, as you know, with my uncompleted university degree, I probably won't be able to find a good job here, but it's still much better than in our hometown. Gu Ying and Lu Yana listened quietly to Deng Jie's story. Gu Ying immediately jumped up, "You're silly. If you need money urgently, you can ask us. We can lend you money anyway, and you don't have to pay it back right away." Lu Yana also said, "Yes, why didn't you tell us? You're really silly. We thought you were going to go home and get married to that man. We really didn't expect such a big change to happen to your family." Deng Jie said with a choked voice, I was at a loss myself at that time, and the man had disappeared. But there was nothing I could do, so I had to listen to my parents and had the baby aborted. My mother could only find odd jobs, and now I have to take care of my father and take him to the doctor. I really can't go to school anymore and can't afford the tuition fees." Lu Yana also sighed. Yes, Deng Jie was also just an 18 or 19-year-old girl. It was inevitable that she would panic when such things happened to her family and her boyfriend disappeared. Lu Yana comforted Deng Jie while saying, "So what should we do now? Even ordinary employees here need to have graduated from college. You only have a high school degree, so it's really hard to find a good job. I think you should try the adult college entrance exam and go back to school." Deng Jie also hurriedly said, "I want to take care of my father first, at least let him be able to take care of himself. Then I don't have many requirements for the job, as long as it includes room and board and pays more than 10,000 yuan, even if it's waiting tables, I'm willing." However, in Fragrance City, even the wages of people who wait tables or wash dishes are only 6,000 to 7,000 yuan, and they also have to be provided with room and board, which makes it even more difficult. Gu Ying suddenly thought of her father. Why don't I go back and ask my father if his company or his friend's company is hiring? My father had previously arranged a job for me with one of his friends, and the pay was quite good. She was also afraid to talk about salary, because it was Gu Ying's father who paid her salary. As for how much the other employees were paid, she had no idea. However, she now remembered that she had to go to work, and she would have to tell her parents about it in a few days. She was now living off the money Yi Hui had transferred to her, so this obviously wasn't going to work. Plus, although Yi Hui's family had given him money, after all, she was also a graduate, and if she didn't go out to work, but instead stayed at home and relied on her parents, it wouldn't give a good impression. After listening to this, Deng Jie also nodded, "This is the only thing we can do now. Please take care of yourself, Ying." Gu Ying, don't cry, silly, this is all we can do. If you don't have any money, you can borrow from us, okay? It's not too late to pay us back when you have money. Lu Yana asked with concern, so where are you living now? Deng Jia replied, I'm living in a small hotel, so I need to find a job as soon as possible. Gu Ying couldn't help but be surprised. What do you mean? You're even living in a small hotel and didn't call us? I've been kicked out by my parents and am now renting a room somewhere. Come over to my place tonight after you've packed your things and stop staying in those small hotels. Gu Ying didn't dare to tell Deng Jia that those small hotels were dirty, for fear of hurting Deng Jia's pride. It was bad enough to be alone in Xiangqing with no relatives and no money. After listening to this, Deng Jia said, Are you living alone? She had probably heard from the other girls that Gu Ying had a boyfriend, so she wanted to confirm it. Gu Ying said, Of course. You probably heard from someone else that I have a boyfriend, too, but I haven't gone that far with him yet. Deng Jia said, Would that be inconvenient? You know I'm a person who doesn't like to get involved in trouble. Gu Ying said, No, don't worry. Lu Yana also persuaded her, Xiao Jia, just say yes. We won't feel at ease if you live alone in a small hotel. Deng Jia hesitated for a moment and said, Okay. Gu Ying and Lu Yana both let out a sigh of relief. At this time, Liao Mini also arrived. Liao Mini saw Lu Yana, Gu Ying, and Deng Jia and couldn't help but quickly walk up to them. Hey! You guys are here too? Gu Ying also froze when she saw Liao Mini. During the previous class reunion, she had been worried that she would run into Liao Mini. Because Liao Mini had a crush on Yi Hui at Lu Yina's wedding, and she was now Yi Hui's girlfriend, she was also worried that Liao Mini would think too much about it. Chapter 187 Don't worry, we're here. However, the truth proved that Gu Ying's worries were unnecessary. Lu Yana and Deng Jia also greeted Liao Mini. After Liao Mini greeted everyone, Liao Mini saw Gu Ying and, instead of feeling awkward like she did, she sat directly next to Gu Ying and said, I heard that you're with Yi Hui. You were in contact with Yi Hui before Nana's wedding, weren't you? Gu Ying also whispered, Yes, yes. Liao Mini also said, You don't need to be nervous. I didn't have anything with him either. I just thought he was quite handsome at the time, so I had a bit of a crush on him. At the time, his mother told me he had a girlfriend, so I didn't look for him anymore. Lu Yana also asked, Is there really such a thing? I didn't even know. Liao Mini said, Yes, but we didn't talk about it much. Since you are together now, I will definitely send my blessings. Gu Ying nodded, Thank you. Gu Ying also felt that she had been thinking too much. Liao Mini laughed, What are you thanking me for? We are good sisters. By the way, Deng Jia, you disappeared after your sophomore year. Where did you go? Deng Jia whispered in response to Liao Mini's question, My father got sick, and I had to take care of him, so I stopped going to school. Liao Mini also sighed, I see. So what are you going to do now? Naturally, Liao Mini did not dare to ask any more. Deng Jia said, I'd better find a job first and then make plans. Liao Mini nodded and did not say anything more. After all, she had just graduated as well, and she didn't really have anything to do to help Deng Jia, so she simply stopped talking. Just as everyone was silent, another roommate hurriedly arrived as well. Sorry, I'm late. As she said, she took off her bag and sat across from Gu Ying and the others. Oops, I didn't expect you to arrive so early. I also invited a few close friends from the same department. Do you mind? Deng Jia paused. This was really unexpected, because she just wanted to invite a few roommates from the dormitory to get together, because they got along well, but she never expected to also invite others from her class. Seeing that everyone was silent, the roommate explained, I also thought that Deng Jia had been meaning to contact us for a long time. She didn't attend the last class reunion, so I felt that it would be more lively with more people, so I invited a few other female classmates to come along. Lu Yana came to the rescue, It's okay, let's see how many people there are and then decide where to eat. It's only 6:30. Her roommate giggled, Well, Deng Jia, everyone hasn't seen each other in a long time, so we should really get together. How have you been? Why did you suddenly drop out of school? Deng Jia replied, Actually, it's not a big deal. My father got sick, so I had to take care of him. Her roommate naturally picked up on the meaning behind the words, nodded, and said, Oh, I see. Life is really full of surprises. Just as the group was reminiscing about their good memories from college, Lu Yana and the others also saw 5 or 6 classmates walking into the entrance. The ones in front of them were on good terms, but the one in the back, when Lu Yana and Gu Ying saw her, their faces turned pale. My Cece? Why is she here? Lu Yana and Gu Ying looked at each other, and they both saw surprise in each other's eyes. 6 classmates came over. Wow, you're all here. We just gathered over there, so we're a little late. Oh, that's okay. Liao Mini naturally also noticed the difference in the complexion of the 3 girls, and her roommate was also a little embarrassed. Deng Jia had originally meant to invite her former roommates to the reunion, but she had instead asked the other 2 female classmates to come along. Looking at the surprised looks on everyone's faces, my Cici explained to herself, I'm really sorry, but I told Xiao Xin, the other female classmate, to come, because I didn't go to the previous class reunion, so I wanted to come and catch up with you all at this small gathering. Gu Yingying and Lu Yana, we don't want to catch up with you. My Cici also heard that the gathering was only attended by Gu Yingying and Lu Yana. At that time, she was also just asking the female classmate of that Xiao Xian about the recent situation of her classmates, and naturally she couldn't help but ask a few more questions about Lu Yana. And the female classmate named Xiao Xian also happened to be in the same dormitory as Deng Jia and the others, so she also received an invitation. In the end, she couldn't persuade my Cici, so she had to bring her along. In the end, the party, which was supposed to be a gathering of 5 or 6 people, turned into a full table. Has everyone not eaten yet? Why don't we go somewhere and eat first? At this time, Liao Mini broke the silence. Yes. I'm starving. My Cici, however, said, why don't we go to Lu Yina's restaurant together? Classmate Lu Yana, we haven't tried your family's restaurant in Fragrant City yet. How about going to your house? Lu Yana didn't mind, but she wasn't sure if the other students would have any objections. One of the female students said, why don't we go to the hotel owned by Lu Yina's husband? I didn't get enough to eat at the last class reunion. Yes, we can go to the restaurant any time, but the steak there costs thousands of dollars. I really want to go again. Another student chimed in. You can go to a restaurant whenever you want, but a place like Tingli Hotel is really quite rare. My Cici was a little shocked. Tingli Hotel is Lu Yina's husband's? Is he a franchisee? Or is he the hotel director? My Cici thought to herself, she must ask her classmates for clarification later. She knew that if he was just a franchisee, then she would not look down on him, but if he was the hotel director, then this would be a big problem. Unexpectedly, she hadn't returned for more than a year, and such a big change had happened. Lu Yana said, I don't care, you guys decide where to eat. The food at my dad's restaurant is also good, and it's more affordable. Deng Jia, however, sent a message on her phone to the group chat of Lu Yana, Gu Yingying, and the others. Yingying, Nana, I may have to borrow money from you later. There are suddenly a few more classmates, and I may not have enough money to pay the bill. Lu Yana glanced at Gu Yingying and then at Deng Jia. Lu Yana replied on her phone, don't worry, I'll pay the bill. My husband did the same at the last party. Gu Yingying also sent a message, don't worry, we're here for you. Deng Jia looked at the two of them with great gratitude. As for the other classmates, apart from my Cici's suggestion to go to Lu Yina's father's restaurant, the rest still wanted to go to Tingli Hotel, as everyone couldn't get the good stuff there out of their minds. So, in the end, the minority won out over the majority, and everyone unanimously decided to go to Tingli Hotel. Chapter 188, My Cici's Jealousy. Since it was a bit far from Tingli Hotel, everyone decided to take a car. My Cici had a car and helped to carry 5 classmates, while Lu Yana also asked Yi Chen to come and carry people to the hotel. Lu Yana, Gu Yingying, Deng Jia, Liao Mini, and another female classmate all rode in Yi Chen's car. Liao Mini had attended Lu Yina's wedding and naturally knew that Lu Yina's dowry was a Cullinan. But this was the first time my Cici had seen it. When she saw Yi Chen driving a Cullinan to pick up Lu Yana, her eyes sparkled. My Cici herself had only just driven a $1 million Porsche, and Lu Yina's husband was driving a Cullinan? This disparity was a bit too much for her to accept. Wow! I never thought that I would be able to ride in a luxury car worth nearly 10 million in my lifetime. And the other female classmate, even though she knew that Lu Yina's husband was rich and owned a hotel, she didn't know that he had a nearly 10 million Karina. Me too. This is my first time riding in one. Nana, your husband is really something. Yi Chen just smiled and didn't want to get involved in the girls' conversation. Deng Jia, however, sat there without saying a word, while Gu Yingying said, this is our Nana's dowry. Hearing this, Macy was even more certain that Yi Chen was just a man with an empty reputation. The car belongs to his wife, and that hotel definitely isn't in his name. The female classmate was shocked, wow. Nana, your family owns a restaurant and is so rich. Lu Yana was a little embarrassed, it's actually nothing, everyone doesn't need to be surprised. Obviously, Lu Yana didn't want to talk too much with other people about whether her family was rich or not. Seeing that Lu Yana didn't want to talk about it, everyone else also fell silent. After a few people got into the car, Macy drove off first. At this time, Gu Ying was a bit resentful of those few gossips. It was originally a gathering of a few roommates, but they had called in other people, really. Forget it, now that it's a fact, we'll just have to get together as a group of female classmates. Yichen seemed to sense the unusual atmosphere, and although he didn't know what had happened, he knew that his wife was unhappy. He thought to himself, I'll have to coax my wife a little later. Yichen drove the group to the Tingli Hotel. Lu Yana got out of the car with them, and Yichen sent her a WeChat message as he watched her back. Honey, what's wrong? You don't seem happy. Lu Yana received Yichen's message while riding in the elevator and immediately replied, I'll talk to you tonight. Yichen had no choice but to reply, don't be sad, you have a husband. At this time, the female classmate who was riding in the car with them suddenly said, Nana, your husband is quite handsome. I didn't realize that there was someone so handsome in our Shangda. Lu Yana also smiled and said, thank you for your praise. It's a good thing you didn't praise him in person, or else his tail would have been up in the air. After hearing this, the few people in the elevator also laughed. The meeting place was arranged in a private room. After Lu Yana and the others got out of the elevator, the hotel's general manager Zhu was already waiting. As soon as he saw Lu Yana, he walked up to her and said, Mrs. Yi, this way please. Lu Yana and the others arrived a little earlier than Macy, so Manager Zhu received the chairman's wife first. Lu Yana said to Manager Zhu, I have a few classmates behind me, could you please receive them as well? Xu Chuanzhou was flattered. He didn't expect the chairman's wife to be so polite. No trouble at all, it's what we should do. Xu Chuanzhou led Lu Yana to the private room and then stepped back. And my Cici and the others had already arrived on the floor by elevator. Xu Chuanzhou asked my Cici, who was walking in front of him, excuse me, are you classmates of our chairman's wife, Lu Yana? My Cici froze for a moment and said, yes. Xu Chuanzhou quickly showed them the way, our chairman's wife specifically asked me to receive you. Please follow me. The wife is already waiting in the private room. Seeing the middle-aged man in front of her being so polite, my Cici was also very shocked. Could it be that Lu Yana's husband really owns a hotel? And he's not just a kept man as she had thought? With these questions in her mind, she walked into the private room. She sat down at the round table. Lu Yana was looking through the menu while asking the waiter next to her, are the dishes served quickly here? I'm worried that since we didn't make a reservation, the dishes will be served slowly. Zhu Changsu immediately walked over to Lu Yana and said to the waiter, let me do it. The waiter immediately handed the tablet with the order to his manager, and Zhu Chuanzhou took the tablet and said to Lu Yana, Madam Chairman, our hotel will definitely give you priority and serve you first as quickly as possible. Just tell me what you want, and I'll place the order for you. Lu Yana nodded to Zhu Chuanzhou. She said to the other students, tell the manager what you want to eat and let him place the order for you. Manager Zhu, come here for a moment. Last time I had this. And this some of the wheat Cici naturally saw it in her eyes, it seems that she was wrong. Lu Yana's husband really has two brushes. After ordering, everyone was chatting. But suddenly a female classmate asked Lu Yana, hey? Nana, I heard before that your husband bought you $1 billion worth of jewelry, but today I don't see you wearing it. Everyone was wondering if it was true or not. Of course, she didn't say it out loud, but that was what the girl was thinking. Another girl said, yeah, I didn't see you wear it at the last party, and you're not wearing it today either. Everyone turned their attention to Lu Yana. Lu Yana felt a little embarrassed. The diamond ring is a bit big, so it's not very convenient for everyday wear, so I didn't wear it. Liao Mini also studied design and immediately noticed the diamond ring on Lu Yana's hand. Nana, the one you're wearing on your hand should be a Harry Winston, right? In fact, she had also been paying attention to it for a long time, and now that she had suddenly mentioned the diamond ring, she had the opportunity to ask Lu Yana. Lu Yana touched the diamond ring on her hand and said shyly, yes, just now my husband saw that I wasn't wearing a ring, because I said that the one at home wasn't suitable for daily wear, so he went with me to buy one. When my Cici heard this, she couldn't help but think to herself, $1 billion yuan in jewelry? It can't be fake, right? I'll have to ask her about it later. My Cici was originally asking her classmates about it as well, but she couldn't bring herself to ask so explicitly, and her female classmates couldn't stand the arrogant my Cici and naturally didn't talk to her much. Therefore, my Cici only had a vague idea of Lu Yana's current situation. But now, from the information she has learned, Lu Yina's husband is actually the owner of Tingley Hotel. Originally, she didn't want to believe it. But just now, she already checked on her phone, and the chairman of Tingley Hotel, and the only one at that, the information on it only says Yi Chen's name. It seems that she was hasty. The Tingley Hotel alone is already beyond her family's ability to match. But now she heard that Lu Yina's husband bought Lu Yina 1 billion yuan worth of jewelry, and the jealous look in her eyes could no longer be controlled. Chapter 189, Macy flees in disgrace. Macy secretly glared at Lu Yina with jealous eyes. Lu Yina was pretty, but that was nothing, and her husband even loved her so much. How could Macy not be jealous? Macy couldn't help but go crazy in her heart. She secretly made up her mind in her heart that she must find a husband who was even more awesome than Lu Yina. She decided to go home and accept a family matchmaking session. She would find a husband worth billions of dollars. Then she could feel proud at reunions with her classmates. Liao Mini glanced at the diamond ring on Lu Yina's hand and said, "The purity of this diamond ring on your hand is good. It should be 1 carat and relatively pure. I just saw the light of this diamond ring under the light, and it is really pure. For something this pure, it would cost more than 1 million yuan for 1 carat, right?" Lu Yina just smiled. "I don't really know much about diamond rings either, but this one is definitely 1 carat, and the price is about what you said." The reason Lu Yina didn't want to come to these gatherings was because she was afraid of running into the current situation. A few friends she knew a little better could talk about more personal matters, but now it was inconvenient for some people, such as Macy, who was there. She didn't want to be accused of showing off her wealth or anything. After all, not everyone understood her. Liao Mini naturally also heard the meaning in Lu Yina's words, so she did not continue to ask. Everyone also began to chat with the classmates around them. However, no one was chatting with my Cici, but she was also listening to what her classmates were saying. Lu Yina's husband is really rich. Just that black card he took out at the party before, no bank will issue it without 1 billion in it. I know, I was at that party too, and it's only possible if you deposit 30 million a day for 3 months in a row. Later, didn't a man surnamed Li, the manager of the Zenyadan department store, come to find Lu Yina's husband? He said he had to go to the board meeting or something. Yes, I was sitting at that table at the time, and Lu Yina's husband would rather go home to watch the kids than go. Oh my god. If I hadn't seen what happened to Hu Qingrong and Bai Yuao, I would have thought that these people were just acting. Yes. Hu Qingrong and Bai Yuao really had it bad. They offended such a big shot, and their family business was ruined by them. Their family is definitely going to fall into poverty now. I really envy Lu Yina. Her husband is the chairman of the hotel and the chairman of the department store. You know that the chairman must have more than 20% of the shares, right? Are you sure you didn't check? There is only one owner of Tingley Hotel. In other words, Lu Yina's husband is the only chairman of the hotel. The hotel is under the sole control of her husband. Just in terms of Tingley Hotel, he must have a net worth of several billion yuan, not to mention the shares of Zenyadan shopping mall? God! I really can't imagine it. If I had a husband like that, I would be willing to have as many triplets as possible. First of all, you have to be as pretty as Lu Yina. If you were half as pretty, you would also be able to marry into a wealthy family. But Lu Yina's family is not poor, right? Hearing what her classmates were saying, Cici was stunned. She never imagined that Lu Yina's husband would be so impressive. Moreover, as far as she knew, Lu Yina's husband was a student in the same class as her, which was really shocking. This gathering was really worth it. Although she knew that Lu Yina's husband was so rich, it didn't stop my Cici from envying Lu Yina and resenting her. After all, none of this had anything to do with her, my Cici. Throughout the whole party, everyone was chatting away. After eating and drinking their fill, everyone went home separately. After learning about Lu Yina's situation, my Cici was unhappy and drove away directly, citing that it wasn't on her way. She was also jealous to death. She didn't mind that she wasn't as good looking as Lu Yina, but she didn't expect Lu Yina's husband to be so rich. I guess if Macy knew about all Yi Chen's assets, she might really go crazy. Seeing that a few classmates didn't drive, Yi Chen asked the hotel shuttle to take a few classmates home, and then asked Yi Chen to help Deng Jie carry the luggage to Gu Yingying's apartment. After all this was done, Yi Chen drove Lu Yina home. Lu Yina said to Yi Chen, "Hey, these kinds of parties are really tiring. It was just supposed to be a get-together with a few of the nicer roommates, but I didn't expect so many people to come." Lu Yana didn't like to go to parties in the first place, but if it was a group gathering, it was fine, and everyone could meet up. But this time, Deng Jie also said that the roommates should get together, but that's not important now. Yi Chen also comforted Lu Yana, honey, don't sigh and grumble, it's easy to age. You're already here, so just eat dinner and leave, don't be angry. So, Yi Chen took out the ring that had already been made. Honey, look, the ring is done. Lu Yana looked at the ring box in Yi Chen's hand and immediately took it from him. When she opened it, she said, sure enough, the one with the highest purity level really reflects the light differently. It really is so shiny. Looking at the big sparkling diamond ring in her hand, Lu Yana was also very emotional. She didn't want to waste too much money, but she couldn't resist Yi Chen. As long as my wife likes it, I'll buy you something even better in the future. Yi Chen stopped and smiled at Lu Yana while waiting for the traffic light to turn green. Let me help you put it on. After helping Lu Yana put on the ring, he praised, your ring looks really good on your hand. He also touched Lu Yana's smooth hand. Lu Yana gave Yi Chen's hand a gentle slap and said with a smile, taking advantage of the situation to grope again, aren't you? Yi Chen also laughed, it's not illegal for me to grope my wife, is it? Lu Yana was at her wit's end with him, and glanced at the traffic lights, drive carefully. Yi Chen laughed and reluctantly pulled his hand back, and asked, honey, it seems like you weren't very happy at this party. Did something happen? Yi Chen also noticed when he followed them behind to carry the luggage that Lu Yana was not happy at this party. Lu Yana, however, said, hubby, you concentrate on driving, I will tell you in detail when I get home. Yi Chen nodded and concentrated on driving. As a husband, he naturally did not want to see Lu Yana with a sad face, and hoped that Lu Yana would be happy every day. Chapter 190, The Contest Between Yi Chen and His Father. It was only a little after 9 when they returned home. Yi Chen glanced at his watch and said to Lu Yana, luckily we didn't run overtime. We still have time to play with the babies for a while. The babies' sleeping and waking times are now more normal. They go to sleep between 8:30 and 9:30 p.m. and wake up once or twice to drink milk. Lu Yana wants to train the babies not to take nighttime milk, but she feels bad doing so with such young babies. Now that breastfeeding has been stopped for the night. After finishing the milk before going to sleep, she basically doesn't drink breast milk at night anymore. The 3 babies can also do without breast milk at night because they are mixed feeding. Debeo didn't wake up last night and slept soundly, but he always refuses to take a nap during the day. The 2 younger ones still sleep a bit longer during the day, and wake up once at night. If this continues, they will soon get into the good habit of not drinking night milk. When he reaches 6 months old, it's time to prepare complementary foods such as rice porridge. I have to say, this child is really growing up too fast. All of the above is in Lu Yana and Yi Chen's parenting plan. Yi Chen naturally agrees with Lu Yana's decision not to breastfeed at night, but it's a pity that Lu Yana still has to get up twice at night to breastfeed. However, for the growth and development of the child, these experiences are inevitable. Lu Yana also said that she would insist on breastfeeding until after 6 months, and then slowly wean the baby. This is also good for the baby, but it is quite easy to wean the baby, because the baby is mixed fed and does not crave breast milk as much as a baby who is exclusively breastfed. Yi Chen and Lu Yana held hands and returned to the baby's room together. They saw the 3 babies babbling and playing in the room. When they saw Yi Chen and Lu Yana walk in, the 3 babies quickly reached out their little hands towards the door, begging for a hug. The 3 babies were also very healthy. Although they had constipation or diarrhea at times, it was quickly resolved. Yi Chen and Lu Yana walked quickly towards them. Oh, my good babies, mommy and daddy are back. Come and give us a hug. To be honest, they had been busy with parties and other things the past 2 days, and they had very little time to hold the babies during the day, let alone at night. Mommy also said, since yesterday, these 3 little ones won't go to sleep unless they can see you. I just spent a long time holding them and they finished their milk, but they just won't go to sleep. From now on, you have to come home early. Yi Chen said, Mom, I know. Lu Yana also said, Mom, we know, don't worry. Mom Lu said, young people have their own things to do, and we can only help you here. Ye's mother didn't say anything more, because she also wanted her children to go to bed early, otherwise they wouldn't grow up tall. Yi Chen and Lu Yana understood their mother very well and started playing with the children. Ye's mother and Lu's mother also went back to bed, leaving Yi Chen, Lu Yana, and the nannies in charge. After Yi Chen and Lu Yana had coaxed their children to sleep, Yi Chen said to Lu Yana, you go back to your room and take a bath first, I'll take care of Debao. Lu Yana said softly, okay. After that, she left the baby's room. Yi Chen cooed softly as he held baby Big in his arms and stood up to gently rock him. He sang a lullaby in his mouth, "Little baby, sleep soundly." In fact, he had also sung while coaxing Little Cute, but perhaps Yi Chen was holding him too comfortably, because after a few words, Little Cute fell asleep. DeBeo, on the other hand, was wide-eyed in watching Yi Chen, and he let out a cute laugh. It seemed that he knew his younger siblings were sleeping, so he lowered his voice a little. Yi Chen looked at DeBeo in his arms and couldn't help but frown. "DeBeo, give me some face, I've sung you a song, so can you close your eyes and go to sleep?" DeBeo stuck his little hand in his mouth and clenched his teeth twice, then he played with his spit. Pop. 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 Yi Chen was shocked when he was sprayed in the face with saliva. "DeBeo, where did you learn that? You've even learned to mock people? Okay. I'm scared of you, so don't spray saliva at your father anymore." Yi Chen shielded his face while begging for mercy. Yi Chen quickly carried DeBeo out of the room, while the two nannies stayed in the room to take care of the two babies. Yi Chen takes personal responsibility for everything related to his children. Yi Chen took DeBeo out of the small living room and lectured him while doing so. "DeBeo, you can't spit at other people like that, do you hear me?" "DeBeo, I was only spitting at Daddy, not at other people." "Po." He spat a few more times. Yi Chen was at his wit's end and simply put DeBeo down on the sofa and pretended to scold him. "DeBeo, if you keep doing that, Daddy won't hug you anymore. When you've thought it over and stopped playing with your spit, Daddy will hug you again." DeBeo saw Yi Chen put him down, and his little face was so pained that he almost burst into tears. Seeing this, Yi Chen immediately waved his hands at DeBeo. "Hey, DeBeo, don't cry. Your younger siblings are already asleep, but you're the only little rascal who's still awake. Don't cry too loudly, or you'll wake up your younger siblings." DeBeo turned his head towards the door of the room from which he had just come out, looked at Yi Chen again, and instantly stopped crying. Although he felt a little aggrieved, he stopped playing and held out two chubby little hands towards Yi Chen. Seeing that he had stopped playing and crying, Yi Chen reached out and picked him up. "That's right. Only a good boy like this will get a pat on the bottom from his daddy later." DeBeo suddenly let out a cry. "Ah." It seemed like he was resisting. Okay, I won't spank you, as long as you go to sleep quietly, okay?" DeBeo pouted at Yi Chen, babbled a few words, and then really stopped whining. After putting his little hand in his mouth and eating a few bites, he fell asleep. Looking at his son, who was about to fall asleep in his arms, Yi Chen beamed with a fatherly smile. After taking his son's little hand out of his mouth, Yi Chen carried him back to the room. He gently placed DeBeo on the cot, covered him with a little quilt, but since it was still relatively hot and the air conditioner was on, he just draped a cloth over his stomach. But at this moment, the system beeped. The host has been intimate with the baby for more than half an hour, and the system rewards the host for his financial management skills. Once this skill is used, everything can be taught without a teacher. Yi Chen was shocked on the spot. This is his major. Does that mean he can graduate without going to school? But he didn't go to school for a diploma, he went to see his wife. He realized that the rewards the system gave him were all based on what he needed. And even the rewards he got before could be useful for the people or things he encountered later. Thinking about it like this, he felt that the system was really quite humane. Chapter 191 Louis Wei. Everything was under Yi Chen's control. Just as Yi Chen was secretly pleased with himself, his phone vibrated. He took out his phone and saw that it was a call from Bao Deli security captain Wang Lin. Yi Chen took the phone and walked to the balcony of the small living room before pressing the answer button. As soon as Yi Chen answered the call, a familiar voice came from the other end. "Mr. Yi, excuse me." Yi Chen softly nodded. Wang Lin continued, "Mr. Yi Chen, Louis Wei, the person we have been told to keep an eye on, has recently made a new move." Upon hearing this, Yi Chen could not help but perk up. Oh? What new move? He really wanted to know what Louis Wei was up to. Security team leader Wang Lin continued, "She has started targeting the restaurant, using tricks to reduce its profits significantly. But the methods are very covert. Even if she does it in a covert manner, our people have discovered it." Yi Chen nodded. "Well, keep an eye on her for me and preserve the evidence. I will make her look bad." Wang Lin said, "Yes. Mr. Yi Chen. We will definitely keep a close eye on her." Yi Chen said, "If she dares to harm my family, do it right away. Money matters are trivial, but harming his family is not allowed. Find a time to have a good talk with Lu Yana and his father-in-law, and let them be on guard against this woman Louis Wei." After all, these are their relatives, and it is up to them to decide what to do with her. Wang Lin hurriedly said after hearing this, yes, Mr. Yi Chen, we will definitely not let her do anything to harm Mr. Yi Chen's family. Joke, if Mr. Yi Chen's family is harmed in any way, he will be fired as the head of the security team. Wang Lin suddenly said to Yi Chen, we recently found that she bought prednisone acetate, a hormone, but we couldn't find out what illness she needed it for, so we suspect that she wants to use it for something. Yi Chen couldn't help but frown. Hormones? What does she want to do with hormones? Wang Lin suddenly gave Yi Chen a science lesson. This hormone was originally used to treat rheumatism and other diseases, but the dosage still needs to be consulted with a doctor. If taken in large quantities for a long time, it is likely that complications in the locomotor, digestive, endocrine, and immune systems will occur. Yi Chen's expression darkened. Get to the point. Wang Lin hurriedly said, in other words, the user is likely to experience osteoporosis, aseptic bone necrosis, muscle atrophy, etc. If a child eats it, it is also likely to stop growing. There are also other things. Eating too much may also cause damage to the gastric mucosa and cause gastrointestinal diseases such as gastric ulcers. There may also be. Yi Chen suddenly interrupted, enough. Then what's been different about her lately? Lin Wang answered truthfully, apart from her petty tricks, our people found that she has been brewing a cup of wolfberry tea for your father-in-law, Mr. Liu, every day since yesterday, and she has also added the hormone pills she bought to it. Lin Wang said, but Mr. Yi Chen can rest assured that our people have already replaced all the pills she bought in advance. They have been replaced with ordinary vitamins, and the pills are made to look the same as the original ones, so she won't notice. Yi Chen could not help but be furious. Fortunately, I was prepared. Otherwise, I would really fall for her tricks. I never thought that her target would be my father-in-law. When I think about what she has done recently, the flow of people in the shop has decreased, the cost has increased, and the profit has decreased. Is she trying to ruin Lao Fuk Qi or take it over? Now that it is clear what Louis Wei is targeting, we will protect it well. As for the issue of how much money the shop makes, it is still very easy to solve. When the time is ripe, with evidence and witnesses, do you still fear that she will not admit it? Yi Chen snorted coldly, keep an eye on her for me. As long as she doesn't do anything to harm my family, let her prance around for a few more days. When the time is right, we'll take action. Wang Lin quickly responded, yes. Mr. Yi Chen. After finishing the phone call with Wang Lin, Yi Chen also returned to his room and saw that Lu Yana had already finished showering and was blow-drying her hair. Yi Chen said to Lu Yana, Nana, I have something to tell you later, so don't go to sleep yet. Lu Yana smiled and said to Yi Chen, okay, honey. Soon, Yi Chen finished showering, blow-dried his hair, and lay down on the bed with Lu Yana. Lu Yana quickly wrapped her arms around him and said, honey, is there something important you want to tell me? Yi Chen smiled and stroked Lu Yana's head, saying, how did you know that what I want to tell you is important? Lu Yana smiled and said, I have long since understood your character. If it weren't important, why would you have asked me not to go to sleep? Yi Chen returned to the matter at hand and said with a serious expression, this matter is indeed quite important. Lu Yana looked up at Yi Chen and said, go on. Yi Chen said, your cousin Louis Wei, how much do you know about her? Lu Yana was puzzled, Louis Wei? I don't really have much contact with her, but sometimes she looks at me with a very unfriendly expression. I don't know what she really wants. Yi Chen nodded, it's good that you've noticed that there's something wrong with her. At first, I also noticed that there was something wrong with the way she looked at you. So after she came to Shangqing, I also had the security company keep an eye on her, and in these past few days, I've finally discovered something. Lu Yana couldn't help but be curious. What is it? Yi Chen continued, she is probably trying to take down Lu Fuji. According to my investigation, she has bribed a few people and should make her next move soon. In addition, my people also found out that she is going to take action against my father-in-law, which is also your real father. Lu Yana couldn't help exclaiming, what are you saying? She is going to take action against my father? What kind of action? Yi Chen, the simplest thing is that she bought $12 worth of hormones and gave them to your father to drink every day. But don't worry, my people have already replaced the medicine in advance. Lu Yana was relieved, but at the same time she was very angry. Hasn't our family been good to her? Why is she doing this to my father? And messing with my family? I used to just think that she was young and didn't know any better, and that maybe it was out of jealousy that she didn't like me. But I never imagined that she would do such a thing. Lu Yana naturally believed her husband 100%, so Louis Wei must have done something to hurt her own father. And Lu Yana, like Yi Chen, could do whatever they did to them, but if they touched their family, they definitely couldn't. Yi Chenan soothed his beloved wife in his arms while saying, "Wife, don't worry, I will definitely not let anyone else hurt our family." Chapter 192, It turns out that Nana knows everything. Lu Yana looked worried. "Honey, what really saddens me is that the person who did all this is my good cousin Louis Wei. Although we didn't have much contact after we grew up together when we were little. I liked to draw, she liked to dance, and wherever I went to learn to draw, she followed me to learn to dance there. My father also helped pay for her interest classes. Even all the tuition fees for her schooling, including living expenses and everything else, were paid by my father. And the place where their family lived, all of which was paid for by my father. Because my father knew that my uncle had given up on it, he directly inherited the family restaurant and also inherited the culinary skills, so he is also very grateful to his family. My uncle and the others were also very nice to my family, so even though I knew in the past that she was jealous of me, I didn't take it seriously." Lu Yana's voice was a little choked. "I really didn't expect her to do such a thing." Yi Chen sighed, "Honey, don't be sad. People's hearts can change, and some people's hearts can never be warmed. If she really made such an unforgivable mistake, we must punish her." Yi Chen didn't know how to comfort his young wife, so he just tightly hugged Lu Yana. Yi Chen seemed to suddenly remember something. "Right, just like the girl who drove to the party today, I also saw that her look at you was very strange. She won't do anything bad to you, will she?" Lu Yana also smiled. "You mean Macy? Although she is also jealous of me, I actually know that many people know that we don't get along. In the past, she already withdrew on her own and took a year off from school to avoid me. I don't think she would dare to do anything to hurt me." Yi Chen nodded. "It's good that you know, wife. As the saying goes, you shouldn't have a heart of harming others, but you should never be without a heart of guarding against others. Since you already know that she is like this, it's best to stay away from her in the future." Lu Yana softly nodded. Yi Chen whispered, "Leave Louis Wei's matter to your husband. After I get the evidence, I will discuss with Dad how to resolve this matter. You don't need to worry about it." Lu Yana's tone was a bit down. "Well, seeing her become like this, I'm also very sad. She wasn't like this before." Yi Chen said, "Alas, people's hearts can change. Wife, don't think about it so much. I believe Dad and I will handle this matter." Yi Chen naturally didn't want this matter to become too big. After all, they were relatives. Lu Yana seemed to suddenly remember something. "Right, honey, didn't I go to a class reunion today? One of my best friends dropped out of school in her sophomore year because her father had an accident and became paralyzed, and the whole family fell apart. Now she wants to find a job in Fragrance City to help her father recover, but she doesn't want to accept the help from Ying and me. We offered to lend her money, but she refused. I was thinking that she probably wanted to settle down in Xiangqing first and then bring her father to Xiangqing, so I wanted to help her in secret." Yi Chen asked, "So how do you want to help her?" Lu Yana said, "Naturally, I want to help her find a good job. However, she only has a high school degree, so I'm not sure if any company would be willing to take her on." Yi Chen nodded. "Yes, in today's society, if you don't have a degree or experience, it's hard to find a good job. Even if you're placed in a big company, if you can't do the work, you'll still be rejected by others." Lu Yana said, "That's why I told her to take the adult college entrance exam and get a university degree. This will be good for her future career." Yi Chen nodded. "Honey, that's a great idea. But in today's society, the most important thing is to have connections. For someone like her, who has no one to rely on in Xiangqing, it's really hard to survive." Both Yi Chen and Lu Yana understood. After discussing it, the couple finally fell asleep in each other's arms. Early the next morning, Yi Chen called Wang Lin. Yi Chen asked, "Captain Wang Lin, does our company have any positions that are suitable for girls with only a high school education?" Wang Lin was shocked. "Mr. Yi Chen, we can solve this problem for you. We happen to be short of staff at the moment, so I can guarantee that you will be satisfied." Yi Chen was thinking that a company like this could arrange for him to work as a data clerk, where no academic qualifications are needed, as long as he can learn to operate a computer. However, he had already told Wang Lin about his academic qualifications, and it was up to Wang Lin to arrange the rest. On Wang Lin's side, however, this was the request of the major shareholder, so it had to be arranged properly, and so he didn't even ask about gender or age. Yi Chen listened and said, "Then you arrange this matter. I will give you my contact information later." After finishing talking with Wang Lin, he found Lu Yana. "I guess someone will call your sister today, so give me her contact information." Lu Yana immediately replied, "Oh, just a moment, I will call you on WeChat." Yi Chen received the message and sent it directly to Wang Lin. Lu Yana found her good friend Deng Jia on WeChat and sent her a message. "Xiao Jia, someone from my husband Yi Chen's side will call you in a while, and they will arrange work for you there, so keep an eye on your phone." Deng Jia immediately sent a voice message, "Nana, you really saved me. You know, there's nothing I can do about my father's side, I can't help Deng Jia, and this message of yours really came at the right time." Of course, she didn't dare to say outright that Deng Jia's education was insufficient, for fear of hurting Deng Jia's pride. But even if she didn't say it explicitly, Deng Jia naturally knew the system in a big company. So when Lu Yana said that she could arrange a job for Deng Jia, Gu Yingying and Deng Jia were also relieved. Lu Yana said, "It's just that I don't know what kind of work my husband's people will arrange for you. If it doesn't suit you, you can refuse. We'll find another way." Deng Jia said gratefully to Lu Yana, "Nana, it's fine, as long as there is a chance for me to do it." "Thank you." Lu Yana said, "We are friends, you don't need to be polite with me, as long as I can help you." Deng Jia let out a deep breath, "As long as there is a chance, it is better than no chance at all. No matter what the work is, no matter how hard it is, she will do it. As long as she is given the opportunity." Chapter 193. This is a new beginning. After hanging up the phone with Lu Yana, Gu Yingying let out a sigh, "Xiao Jia, just wait for the phone call." Deng Jia also said, Gu Yingying took out her phone and checked WeChat. Yi Hui had sent her another message, "Yingying, what are you doing?" Gu Yingying, "At home." "What about you?" Yi Hui, "I'm free today. Want to play some points?" Gu Yingying, "Don't you have to go to school? Why do you always play games?" Yi Hui, "I saw that you lost a star again last night, so I'm helping you to get points." Gu Yingying, "I'm really angry. Can't you do something else?" Gu Yingying replied, "Okay. There's nothing I can do." Gu Yingying went offline and unexpectedly saw the autumn leaves indicating the arrival of Autumn Shinya had come online and sent her a message, "Can't we even be friends?" Gu Yingying looked at the message and thought to herself, "I can't trust anything online after all. Luckily, at the time, I only thought he was handsome, and I didn't have much contact with him. Otherwise, I would have definitely become one of his fish in a barrel. Such a man is really disgusting. But here, I should be grateful that he didn't turn off his watch, otherwise I wouldn't have found out about his girlfriend." Gu Yingying sent a message directly, "Sorry, my boyfriend said no, so we shouldn't contact each other again in the future. Before, I asked you to anger my boyfriend, and I didn't really plan to find a CP. After I sent it, I deleted the friend directly." Gu Yingying simply doesn't give a chance to some unnecessary people, and he is also the first person she added who she doesn't know except for WeChat. After deleting the friend, the connection between the two is naturally gone. In the past few days, Gu Yingying has not had any real development except playing games with Yi Hui and having a meal. However, there hasn't even been a handshake or a kiss. This made Gu Yingying a little upset. After playing 2 games, she lost her temper and refused to play anymore. Gu Yingying directly sent a WeChat message to Yi Hui, "Let's go out tonight, no dinner." Yi Hui replied, "Okay. Gu Yingying was so angry that if she hadn't taken the initiative, Yi Hui would never have done so. Although Yi Hui had mentioned meeting her parents many times, Gu Yingying felt that the relationship between the two still needed to be nurtured. Unlike before when they were just pretending to be a couple, now that they were actually a couple, they definitely had to consider this issue carefully. In the afternoon, Deng Jia received a call from Wang Lin. The two spoke at length on the phone, and Gu Yingying couldn't make out what they were talking about. Later, Deng Jia even went out onto the balcony to speak, and all Gu Yingying could hear was her nodding very affirmatively and saying, "Yes, okay. I'll do it." Wang Lin said, "Because you are a good friend of our Mr. Yi Chen, we especially respect you. We will transfer your startup capital to you first. As long as you do what we say, leave the rest to us, and don't expose yourself." Deng Jia nodded, "Okay, Mr. Wang Lin. Wang Lin, someone will meet you tonight and teach you how to operate." Deng Jia nodded firmly, "Okay." After hanging up the phone, Gu Yingying couldn't wait to come up to her. "What? What's the good job?" Deng Jia smiled secretly, "It's confidential. I may have to stay at your place for a while until I get settled down. Yingying, I'm counting on you." Gu Yingying was also full of interest in what Deng Jia had to say. "There's no problem with you staying at my place, but what kind of job have you found anyway?" Deng Jia said, "Just don't ask, I said it's confidential." When she heard about the job, she immediately decided to give it a try. It was very similar to the spy work she had seen before. Before long, she received 20,000 yuan in startup funds from Wang Lin. It was time to start a new life. Sayonara to the past. This is a new beginning. Gu Ying and Yi Hui went to the restaurant they had agreed on and finished eating. It was already past 8 p.m. after they finished eating. Gu Ying said, "Yi Hui, where do you live?" Yi Hui said, "Why do you ask? You're not going to my house." Gu Ying pounded Yi Hui, "I'm talking about where you live now. When did I say it was your parents' house?" Yi Hui said, "What's there to see in a big man's house?" Gu Ying said, "No, I want to go take a look." The two of them argued a little more. Yi Hui couldn't win against her. Okay, I'll take you there." Gu Ying was feeling happy inside, glad that her little scheme had finally worked. Yi Hui drove Gu Ying to the underground parking lot of the apartment building. Gu Ying immediately took Yi Hui's hand and smiled at him. Yi Hui also smiled at Gu Ying. In the elevator, Yi Hui suddenly said, "A few days ago, a friend of mine came to live with me. Don't be too surprised when you see him. I don't know if he's home or not." Gu Ying's heart immediately cooled by half when she heard this. What? Someone's at home? Gu Ying looked a little unhappy. A man or a woman? Yi Hui gave her a strange look. Of course it's a man, how could I possibly live with a woman? It's my brother's friend Lu Ming. He hasn't found a job yet, so he's come to stay with me. Gu Ying felt better after hearing this. But why did you bring me home if you have a friend there? It makes me so angry. So I can't do anything? At this thought, Gu Ying didn't want to go to Yi Hui's house anymore. When they reached the elevator, Yi Hui tugged on Gu Ying, "Why aren't we going? I live on this floor, just around the corner." Gu Ying was thus led by Yi Hui to the door of the apartment. When he opened the door, Yi Hui shouted inside, "Lu Ming, are you here?" Seeing that there was no answer for a while, Yi Hui said to Gu Ying outside the door, "It seems he's gone out. You can come in." Yi Hui escorted Gu Ying into the apartment and sat her down on the sofa. Yi Hui asked, "Do you want something to drink?" Gu Ying looked around and casually said, "Plain water, hot?" Yi Hui let out a sound of exclamation and immediately went to get her some boiled water. At that moment, Lu Ming returned home after opening the door. As soon as he entered the door, Lu Ming shouted, "Oh my god! It's really hot outside." "Huh? Is the air conditioning on in the house? Yi Hui, you're back? It's still comfortable to stay at home." Yi Hui took the water and handed it to Gu Ying. At this time, Lu Ming also saw Gu Ying. "Oops, did I come back too early?" Chapter 194. Success or failure also depends on Lu Ming. When Lu Ming saw Gu Ying, he was also shocked. "Am I disturbing you guys?" Gu Ying said, "It's okay, I just got here too. Although, I really didn't want you to come back so soon." Yi Hui quickly pulled Lu Ming and said, "You're back, didn't you say you were going to help me wash my clothes? You're the one who got my clothes dirty, they need to be hand washed to be clean. I saw them on the balcony and they weren't even hung up. How did you run out?" Lu Ming quickly pulled Yi Hui's hand away. Okay, I'll wash your clothes for you now, okay?" He had accidentally touched Yi Hui while they were eating late-night snacks last night and had stained his clothes. Early this morning, he had gone out to look for work and had only just returned. Lu Ming finished speaking and went into the bathroom. Soon afterwards, the sound of washing could be heard. Gu Ying asked, "What's going on? You want him to wash your clothes for you?" Yi Hui said, "Just last night, as soon as I got out of the shower, he got my clothes dirty. It was instant noodles, and there were a bunch of oil stains, so they definitely had to be hand-washed. So he promised to wash them for me." Gu Ying said, "It's just a matter of soaking the clothes and rinsing them. Why are you so lazy that you have to let someone else wash them for you?" Yi Hui said, "I don't care, he's the one who got them dirty, so he definitely has to wash them for me." Gu Ying was at her wits' end with him. A few minutes later, Lu Ming came out of the bathroom with a pair of trousers, walked to the balcony and hung up the laundry. Lu Ming went to the front door and brought in a package. "I just bought these egg pancakes from the snack bar downstairs. They're delicious, you should try them." Lu Ming placed the egg pancakes on the table and opened them to eat. Gu Ying said, "I'm going to the bathroom first." It's still a bit awkward to have an extra person in the couple's room. When she entered the bathroom, Gu Ying was really furious. "Oh, this really makes me angry. What the hell am I doing living with a guy? I was thinking, oh well. Suddenly, she noticed the couple's wash basin cups and the couple's toothbrushes on the sink. And the couple's cup can even be put together to form a heart shape. And the toothbrushes facing each other. This is it. No way. When she thought about it, Guangying's mind was filled with the image of Lu Ming and Yi Hui sleeping in the same bed, getting up together, brushing their teeth together, washing their faces together, and taking a bath together. Guangying shook her head quickly. This is impossible. I'm his girlfriend. How can this be? But before that, Yi Hui was also urgently looking for a girlfriend in the group to use to fool his parents, and then they just went with the flow and got together. It's over. I heard that some people get married just to have a child, get divorced after giving birth, and then stay with the person they like. No way. I can't believe I've run into something like this. No way. It's definitely not going to happen. I must have imagined it. Guangying let out a deep breath, opened the bathroom door and looked outside, but saw a shocking scene. Lu Mingjiang was holding a bamboo skewer and feeding Yi Hui an egg pancake. And his body was almost pressed against Yi Hui's. Lu Ming even said, "Have some, it's really delicious." Guangying immediately rushed out. "What are you doing?" Yi Hui was confused. He said it was delicious and insisted on feeding it to me. Lu Ming said, "Yes, it really is delicious. You should try some." Guangying couldn't hold back any longer. "Why are you using a couple's cup?" Lu Ming laughed and said, "Are you talking about the couple's cup in the bathroom? That was a free gift from the supermarket with the toothpaste." Guangying, "What about the towels? Why are they also a couple?" Lu Ming said, "They were also given away with the toothpaste." Yi Hui asked, "Is there a problem? Is there a problem?" Guangying shouted, "There is a problem. I am your girlfriend." Pointing at Lu Ming, she continued, "What about him? What is he? On what basis does he use a couple cup with you? Are you attracted to men?" Yi Hui was also shocked. Why is this woman's train of thought so strange? Using these things means he's a homo? Yi Hui shouted, "Ying, what are you thinking? Of course I like women. Don't get any crazy ideas." Guangying was so angry that she walked directly towards the front door. After opening the door, she realized that she had left her phone behind, so she turned back to get it. At that moment, Yi Hui came out after her, stepping on the same slipper with both feet and knocking Lu Ming onto the sofa. Just as Guangying turned around, she saw Yi Hui throw Lu Ming onto the sofa. She was furious. She walked back, picked up the phone on the table, and said, "Excuse me." Then she just left. Yi Hui quickly chased after her without even putting on his shoes, but Guangying had already closed the door. Lu Ming said in a very frustrated voice, "Bro, it's over. I might have done more harm than good. Success or failure depends on Lu Ming." Yi Hui asked, "Ying, she doesn't really think that we were pointing at Lu Ming and ourselves, right?" Lu Ming also covered his forehead and said, "Maybe the couple cup is not enough as evidence, but the scene just now when you fell on top of me, that directly showed her. I guess she is 100% sure in her mind that we are the same." Yi Hui couldn't help but exclaim in shock, "I'll be damned. How is that possible? I like women." Lu Ming, this is not a matter of whether you like it or not. I like women too. Why didn't you send me a message beforehand? If I had known that your girlfriend was coming back with you, I would have waited until she left before coming back. My reputation for life. Lu Ming covered his face and shouted. Yi Hui was also furious, "You still have the nerve. If you weren't greedy for a bargain and bought the toothpaste that came with the couple's cup and towel, I wouldn't be in this mess. You better come with me and explain to Ying." Lu Ming, "Then what are you doing here? Go after her." Without further ado, Yi Hui quickly called Guangying and sent her a WeChat message. But Guangying didn't even listen, and just took the elevator away. When Yi Hui and Lu Ming chased after her, Guangying had already disappeared. "Yi Hui, this is serious." Lu Ming, "Brother, I'm sorry. I will definitely cooperate with you to explain things to Ying. Let's just try to get through to her first." Guangying was walking along the road, and the more she thought about it, the angrier she became. So she quickly called Lu Yana, "Nana. I've fallen out of love. That damn Yi Hui is gay. I'm so angry. I want to break up with him. You don't know. I just went to his house, and there was a man there." Lu Yana was also shocked, "No way. I didn't hear Yi Chen say that Yi Hui had this problem." Did you misunderstand him? Guangying is so angry she could die. How could this be? They use a couple's cup. A couple's towel. And that Lu Ming even does Yi Hui's laundry. Isn't that what girlfriends do? And that's not all. As soon as I left, they couldn't wait to flop onto the sofa. I saw it with my own eyes. Lu Yana then persuaded Ying, you must have misunderstood. I'll ask Yi Chen and call Yi Hui to see if there's really been a misunderstanding. Guangying was so angry that she was crying while talking on the phone, which made the passers-by stare in disbelief. I was just in a relationship. Do you think it's easy for me? Why do you make me suffer like this? Chapter 195, Good things come to those who wait. It was hard to get a taxi, and even when she was in the car, the phone kept ringing, but Guangying kept hanging up. Even the driver in front of her couldn't help but take a second look at her. Guangying wiped away her tears and turned off her phone. Finally, she returned to the apartment. Deng Jia had already returned. Seeing Guangying's red eyes, Deng Jia couldn't help but ask with concern, Ying, what's wrong? Did Yi Hui bully you? Guangying cried out in distress, oh, Xiao Jia, I'm so miserable. Yi Hui he's gay. Yi Hui and Lu Ming, I heard you saying we're gay everywhere. Deng Jia was incredulous, no way? Are you sure you're not mistaken? Guangying told Deng Jia what she had seen. Deng Jia nodded. She just couldn't find the words to say, you might really have misunderstood them. Guangying sniffed, the couple mug and towels are fine. But they were falling all over each other. Don't I believe what I saw? Deng Jia was also at a loss for words and could only reassure her, forget it, don't be sad over such a man. But she also understood the pain of being hurt by a man. Guangying cried for a while before picking herself up. Right, Jia, didn't you say you had an interview tonight? Any news yet? Although men are detestable, we can't abandon our little sister. Deng Jia said, everything went quite well. Don't worry, once I've settled things here, I can move out of your place. Guangying was a little reluctant, can't I stay here? We haven't seen each other for so long, and now you're leaving after just a short while? Deng Jia said, if the company arranges accommodation, it will be more convenient to live there. Guangying gave up, okay then, you have to find me often. Deng Jia nodded, yes, I will. Didn't you say you were going to work at your father's friend's company in a few days? Don't say you're not free then. Guangying said, don't worry, I definitely won't. Even if you have to take a day off or skip work, you still have to keep your appointment. At that moment, Deng Jia's phone rang. It was Lu Yana calling. Xiao Jia, is Ying home? Deng Jia replied, yes, she is. Why? Lu Yana said, can you ask her to pick up the phone? Her phone is turned off and I can't find her. Deng Jia then handed her phone to Guangying, Nana is looking for you. Guangying took the phone and sniffled, Nana, what's wrong? Lu Yana said, Ying, you really misunderstood Yi Hui. What you said about falling over was that Yi Hui accidentally stepped on the same slipper as you when he went out to chase you, and then he fell. Oh, Yi Hui likes women. Guangying, I don't believe it, I won't listen. You have to know that after being in a relationship for so long, he has never even held my hand or kissed me. I don't believe it. Lu Yana was also stunned by what she heard, and Yi Chen, who was standing nearby, heard it too. Yi Chen burst out laughing. My cousin is really funny. He hasn't even held a girl's hand. This is not what you call being in love. I'm dying of laughter. Looks like it's time to teach him a lesson. Lu Yana looked at Yi Chen and laughed, okay, I'll pass on the message for you, but you have to turn on your phone so Yi Hui has a chance to explain. Guangying sniffed her nose, humph. I'll hang up first. If it's really like Nana said, then maybe I really misunderstood, but why did I have to see them? Yi Hui and Lu Ming fall on the sofa and look at each other deeply? I just can't forget it. It's really hard to believe that they would do that. After a while, Yi Hui finally got through to Guangying's phone. Ying, don't be angry. I really tripped accidentally just now, I really am not what you think, I like women. Guangying was still angry in her heart, and after snorting, she said, I don't believe it. Yi Hui was also anxious, Ying, let's meet. Naturally, Guangying also wanted to give everyone a way out, so she said, at the drink shop downstairs, I want to see you within 15 minutes. Yi Hui quickly said, I'm already downstairs, it won't take 15 minutes, just 1 minute. Guangying's mouth slightly curled up, okay. You're smart. Gu Ying pretended to be angry and came to the store. At this time, there were not many people in the store, and Yi Hui was sitting alone waiting for Gu Ying. When he saw Gu Ying come, he walked over and took her hand. Gu Ying struggled a little bit feebly, but then let him take her hand and sit down. Yi Hui said, Ying, don't be angry, you really misunderstood us. Lu Ming and I both like women. Look, I know you like the cappuccino at this shop, I remembered. Gu Ying looked at the cappuccino on the table, and her face brightened a little, but she didn't say anything. Yi Hui didn't know what to say either, so the two of them sat awkwardly together. At this moment, Yi Hui suddenly said to Gu Ying, I. Gu Ying turned her head to look at Yi Hui, and Yi Hui leaned towards Gu Ying's side. Seeing this, Gu Ying directly hugged Yi Hui's neck and then kissed him. After a while, Gu Ying let go of Yi Hui. I believe you now. Yi Hui muttered in his heart, and indeed the method taught by Lu Ming and his elder brother worked. Gu Ying then asked, I just have a question in my heart. When we were at your house, why did the tone of the WeChat messages you sent sometimes seem different from your usual tone? Yi Hui was flustered at this point, but he didn't hide it from Gu Ying. Sometimes, I'll ask Lu Ming. He touched his head and continued, sometimes I don't know how to reply to you, and I'm not good at comforting people. This is my first time in a relationship, so I don't know what to say. Gu Ying, forget it, don't say anything. In the future, when you send me a WeChat, don't ask anyone else. If you want to be good to your girlfriend, how could you not know how? It seems that if I'm going to get along with Yi Hui, I'd better be direct. Yi Hui let out a sigh of relief in his heart, and then he looked back at Ying, I know, I will be good to you from now on. Gu Ying held the cup in both hands, but her face was sweetly smiling. She now finally knew the skills of getting along with Yi Hui. The main thing is that she must take the initiative and speak directly about anything that is on her mind. On the other side, Yi Chen laughed out loud after finishing the phone call with Yi Hui. Lu Yana also laughed and said, my best friend has a big brain, but what Yi Hui did was really easy to misunderstand. Yi Chen laughed and said, you're right. Watching other people fall in love makes me laugh to death. Ha ha. Lu Yana laughed and said, it's called a good thing that has many obstacles. Whether it can work out depends on the karma of the two people. At that moment, Lu's mother found Yi Chen and Lu Yana. Nana, Yi Chen, is your little darling sick? He seems to have a runny nose. What? Lu's mother's words scared Yi Chen and Lu Yana. Chapter 196, My Baby is Sick. Lu Mama's words shocked Yi Chen and Lu Yana. They had just been eating melons, but now they had heard some bad news. Lu Mama continued, this morning, she sneezed a little, so I thought it was normal, but tonight she has a runny nose. I think it's because she turned on the air conditioner last night and kicked the covers off. We usually dress our babies in long-sleeved clothes, so maybe that's how she caught a cold. Yi Chen also slowly calmed down and said, if it's just a runny nose, it's fine. Drink plenty of boiled water and keep warm. As long as there's no fever, it's fine. Lu's mother also nodded, let her sleep with you tonight, don't let her infect her two brothers. It's not good to have everyone get sick. Yi Chen nodded, yes, no problem, just tonight we'll pay more attention to see if my little darling has a fever. Yi Chen quickly held her little darling over. Lu Yana looked at her and saw that she was just a few months old and already sick. The thought of her little daughter having to take injections and medicine made her feel extremely sad. Yi Chen looked at the sad Lu Yana and said reassuringly, honey, don't worry. It's probably just a cold she caught accidentally. It's normal for her to have a runny nose. I don't have class tomorrow, so I'll take the day off and stay home with her. Lu Yana followed suit and said, I'll take some time off too. There's not much class at the beginning of the semester anyway. Yi Chen nodded, you go take a shower first, I'll hold baby and put her to sleep. Lu Yana reluctantly glanced at baby before walking into the bathroom. Yi Chen held baby and soothed her gently. However, baby sometimes made gurgling sounds, as if she had phlegm in her nose. Yi Chen heard the sound and knew that her nose must be stuffed. So, he took out the nasal decongestant cream that he had prepared early in the morning and applied it to the nose of his little darling. After a while, his little darling stopped making noises. Under Yi Chen's soothing, his little darling fell asleep. Yi Chen laid his little darling on the bed on her side to prevent her from spitting up milk. When Yi Chen came out of the shower, Lu Yana exclaimed in alarm, hubby! Hurry up and drive to the hospital. Little darling just threw up, and I took her temperature with an ear thermometer and it seems she has a slight fever. Yi Chen looked at little darling, who didn't seem to be feeling well, and his face showed his pain. Okay, you tell Auntie to get some things ready, I'll go to the garage now. Lu Yana nodded, walked over to the baby room, and told Auntie Zhang, can you get some diapers, water cups and thermos cups, tissues, and so on ready for us? We need to take little darling to the hospital, she has a fever. The movements of Yi Chen and Lu Yana naturally also alerted Yi Chen's parents and Lu Yana's parents, who came down to investigate. What's wrong? Asked Ye's mother. Is little darling running a fever? Asked Lu's mother, concerned. Lu Yana said, yes, she suddenly spit up milk and is not energetic. I just took her temperature and it's a bit low-grade fever. I'm afraid it's going to get worse soon. Lu's mother said, in that case, I'll go with you. Ye's mother said, Aunt Zhang, you go with her, I'll stay here and help look after the two children. Although there were two aunts on duty, sometimes it was still necessary to have a helping hand if there wasn't enough time to prepare the milk in the evening. It had to be said that children with low resistance were prone to illness. Yi Chen, who was driving out of the garage, felt a little remorseful. Why hadn't he taken the magic potion out earlier to give to his family? Alas! Starting tomorrow, he must give the family the magic potion to drink, otherwise they would really be prone to illness. Report to the host, this potion can greatly improve resistance, but it doesn't mean that if you drink it, you won't get sick. For example, if a person gets a cold and develops a fever and an inflamed throat that prevents them from speaking, after drinking the potion, if they get a cold, they may just have a runny nose and their symptoms will be alleviated, but it won't completely block the virus from infecting them. Yi Chen, I know, it's about strengthening the body. As long as it can improve resistance, that's good enough. Lu Yana was holding her little darling, followed by Lu's mother and Auntie Zhang. Auntie Zhang was carrying a bag of baby supplies and waiting for Yi Chen at the entrance of the villa. Yi Chen immediately unlocked the car and greeted them to get in. The group went to the People's Hospital as fast as they could. They originally wanted to go to the Women and Children's Hospital, but it was closer to the People's Hospital, so they came to the Children's Emergency Department of the People's Hospital. When they arrived at the People's Hospital, Yi Chen sighed when he saw that the emergency department was full of parents and children. If only I had a hospital, or a family doctor, I wouldn't have to queue up here at night to see a doctor. Even if I had a hospital and a family doctor, the best way to improve your resistance is to take medicine. I wonder if this medicine can be mass-produced. If so, could I open a health product company? It's not impossible. After all, the potion was given to them for free by the system, so it must be effective. Although it cannot prevent illness, it can improve resistance and reduce suffering, which is not bad. Yi Chen thought to himself as he registered his baby. Since it was the first time he had visited the hospital, he also had to open a card for his baby. Fortunately, he had remembered the ID numbers of all three babies, as the card had to be opened with the ID number, otherwise he would have to make up for it next time, which would be troublesome. After everything was taken care of, Yi Chen returned and asked the nurse for a thermometer to check if the baby had a fever. Lu Yana waited with the baby in the waiting room for the number to be called, and Yi Chen returned with the thermometer to take the baby's temperature. Perhaps because the thermometer was so cold, the baby suddenly started crying when it touched her. Lu Yana held her and comforted her, saying, "Be a good girl, I'm here, don't be afraid." Perhaps because she had become accustomed to the thermometer, the baby gradually stopped crying. Yi Chen also comforted her, saying, "You're a good girl, you'll be fine soon. It's okay, mommy and daddy are here." At this moment, Yi Chen suddenly thought of Wang Lin, the head of the Protect security team. I wonder if the security company has an emergency doctor on call. Anyway, it's just a phone call away. In Yi Chen's eyes, if his child is sick, it must be an emergency. After all, children are the life of their parents, and it is most difficult for parents when their children are sick. Seeing his little darling spit out the milk he had just finished eating, Yi Chen couldn't help feeling distressed. So, Yi Chen took out his mobile phone and called the security team leader, Wang Lin. Chapter 197, The security company perfectly solves the problem of seeing a doctor. Thinking of the strength of the Protect security company, Yi Chen immediately called the security team leader Wang Lin. The call was quickly connected. "Hello, Mr. Yi Chen." Yi Chen asked directly, "My little daughter is sick, does our company have an emergency medical team or something?" Wang Lin said, "Yes, Mr. Yi Chen, the emergency medical team is always ready for Mr. Yi." Yi Chen was overjoyed. "Is it possible to have them come directly to the house?" Wang Lin said, "Yes, Mr. Yi Chen, if you need it, I will prepare it for you immediately." Yi Chen said on the other end of the phone, "I am at the People's Hospital right now. Can you prepare it for us here?" Wang Lin replied, yes, Mr. Yi Chen, we also have people at the People's Hospital. Please wait a moment, someone will come to find you in a few minutes. Yi Chen softly nodded and continued, then tell them to hurry, the child has a fever and is taking his temperature right now. Wang Lin, Roger. Mr. Yi Chen. After hanging up the phone with Wang Lin, Yi Chen walked over to his wife and child. Lu's mother asked, Yi Chen, what's wrong? Do you have something to take care of? If you really have to be busy, you can go take care of it, we can handle things here. Yi Chen smiled and said, Mom, I'm fine. It's just that a friend of mine is a doctor here, and I'm taking advantage of the relationship to have a look. Lu's mother was taken aback, really? Do you really know the doctor here? That would be great. But will it disturb others? Yi Chen said, I don't think so. It's not yet his working hours. Lu Yana was also relieved, honey, it's good that you know someone. If not, I don't know how long the queue will be. As long as the doctor is not working, it should be fine. Yi Chen said, well, the doctor is not working now. As long as the doctor is not on duty, it doesn't matter who sees them first, because some parents will definitely be angry if they see someone cutting in line. In this situation, Wang Lin, the head of the security team at Bao Deli, would definitely think of Yi Chen and definitely not arrange for a doctor on duty. Sure enough. A male doctor in a white coat rushed over to Yi Chen, followed by 2 nurses. When he reached Yi Chen, he whispered, excuse me, are you Mr. Yi Chen? Yi Chen nodded, yes. Male doctor, please follow me over here. Yi Chen called Lu Yana, who was comforting the baby, along with Lu's mother and Aunt Zhang, and the group followed the male doctor. Yi Chen handed the thermometer to the nurse, Miss Nurse, please take a look at the temperature I just took. The male doctor and the others also stopped in their tracks. The nurse took the thermometer and looked at it, 38.9 degrees, the temperature is quite high. Mr. Yi Chen, hurry up and follow us to the department. Male doctor, yes, Mr. Yi Chen, let's go to the department first. When they arrived on the 19th floor of the hospital, the male doctor led the group into a department with a lot of equipment. The male doctor sat in front of the computer and greeted Lu Yana, Mrs. Yi, hold the baby and sit over here. Mr. Yi Chen, you can sit wherever you like. 2 nurses followed the male doctor the whole time. Lu Yana sat next to the computer with her baby in her arms. The male doctor asked, when did the fever start? Lu Yana said, about an hour ago, I used an ear thermometer at home and it measured 37.3 degrees, which is a bit of a low fever, but now an hour has passed and the one I just measured is 38.9 degrees, which is a high fever, right? Today, it was just a bit of a runny nose and sneezing, so I didn't expect it to get so high so quickly. The male doctor nodded and used a flat wooden stick to press on the baby's tongue and look at the throat, frowning. Xiao Bai began to cry again when the doctor pressed his tongue and looked at his throat. Lu Yana quickly comforted Xiao Bai. The male doctor then felt Xiao Bai's hand and found it to be a little cold. The child's throat inflammation is very serious, and the tonsils are red and swollen. First, let's test the blood routine to see if it is a viral or bacterial infection, and then prescribe the right medicine. Lu Yana felt a little distressed that a few-month-old baby had to suffer like this. Yi Chen and the others looked at the baby with a sense of helplessness. The male doctor looked at the expressions on everyone's faces and hurriedly explained, the blood test is to determine the condition more accurately. It's just a few drops of blood, not a lot, and we're just afraid that the baby will cry. Lu Yana nodded in understanding, go ahead, but be gentle. The nurse smiled as she came over with the tools to draw the blood. If you go to the outpatient clinic, you have to queue up for the doctor to write the prescription, and then queue up for the blood test, and it's not until all that's done that you can go home, and it'll definitely take 3 or 4 hours. But now, Yi Chen has a doctor here to see the little darling, and someone to take the blood. The nurse carefully took the little darling's hand, and the little darling opened his eyes, looking round at the cute little nurse. The nurse smiled and said to the baby, little one, I'll be gentle, don't cry, it'll be over soon, okay? The baby just looked at the nurse with big eyes. When the nurse started, there was no avoiding a big cry. There was nothing she could do, babies this month really can't understand what adults say. She just felt pain in her hand suddenly, so she cried. The baby cried so sadly that she almost threw up. Yi Chen took the baby from Lu Yana's hands and soothed him gently. The nurse took the drawn blood sample and told Yi Chen and the others that they would know the results in about 10 minutes. The nurse took the blood sample and walked over to a piece of equipment and began to operate it very skillfully. Yi Chen couldn't help but nod repeatedly. This was a good service, at least it let people see the progress. After about 10 minutes, the nurse operated the small computer next to her and typed the results into it. After entering all the results, the male doctor got back to work at his computer, looking at the blood test report. The male doctor looked at the computer and said, "Mr. and Mrs. Yi, I can see from here that the baby has a bacterial infection and is running a fever. First, give him some fever-reducing medicine, and then he needs to take antibiotics. I'll also prescribe some fever-reducing medicine for you to take home. Bacterial infections are more troublesome. If the fever is high, you can give the baby the medicine, and just pay attention to the baby's spirits. I'll prescribe some medicine for you to take now. We still don't recommend 4 infusions for such young babies here. Just take the medicine on time." Lu Yana nodded. "So where do I pay?" Lu Yana looked at the confused male doctor and nurse in front of her, and couldn't help but look at Yi Chen. She also had a question mark on her face. The male doctor laughed and said, "Mrs. Yi, we will charge this medical fee to Mr. Yi Chen's company account, so you don't need to pay it." Lu Yana and Lu's mother and the others could not help but suddenly realize, "Oh, that's fine." The nurse took the medicine prescribed by the doctor, ground it one by one, and divided it into 1, 2, and 3. She said to Lu Yana and the others, "After you go home, divide it into 1, 2, and 3 and take it. You can feed the medicine that reduces the fever to the child first." Lu's mother quickly took it and said, "Thank you, thank you. Nurse, you're welcome, this is what I should do." After the little one had finished eating the fever-reducing medicine, Yi Chen led the group to bid farewell to the doctors. Chapter 198, The Ocean Charity Foundation. Just as Yi Chen was walking with his family down the hospital corridor, the system sounded. "Congratulations, host, you have completed a task. As a reward, you will receive one of the nationally recognized ocean charity foundations." Yi Chen could not help but be shocked. A charity foundation? Is that the kind that does good deeds? Is the system telling me to do good deeds? Is this considered a task? But even if the system didn't tell me to do good deeds, I'm a caring person anyway. After thinking about this, Yi Chen happily led his family out of the hospital lobby. Yi Chen told Lu Yana and the others, "Wait for me in front of the hospital, I'll go to the parking lot and get the car." After saying this, he glanced at Xiao Bai and then took the elevator to the underground parking lot. Lu Yana held Xiao Bai, Lu's mother carried the medicine, and Auntie Zhang carried the baby's things. The group walked together to the hospital entrance. When Lu Yana and the others reached the gate, they saw a man holding a child, a medical record bag in his hand, crouching by the side of the gate. His eyes were a little sad, and his hands kept shaking. Suddenly, the man holding the child walked up to Lu Yana and said helplessly, choking with sobs, Madam, I took my child to the doctor and spent all the money. Now I have no money for dinner. Can you give me $1 or $2? I'll go to the supermarket and buy something for the child to eat, or you can buy it for us. I really have no money for dinner, and the child is starving." After he finished speaking, the man knelt down and burst into tears. The child also started crying loudly. Lu Yana looked at the man before her with some caution, and then glanced at the medical record bag in his hand. Seeing this, the man immediately handed the medical record book to Lu Yana. Mom Lu quickly went up to take the medical record book and opened it. "Nana, this is leukemia." The man quickly said, "Yes, it was just diagnosed today, but the family really doesn't have the money to treat it, so I was thinking of taking the child home. If possible, I would rather trade my life for the child's life, but..." Lu Yana looked at the medical record book and then looked again at the father and son kneeling on the ground, and her heart was moved with compassion. "This father, you hurry up and get up. We can talk about whatever it is you need to say slowly. I'll ask the aunt to go buy you something to eat first. If they really are sick, then they must be able to find the little boy's attending doctor here, so there's no need to worry about being cheated." At this time, Yi Chen also drove over and saw Lu Yana supporting the man kneeling on the ground with one hand. "What's going on? Has my wife been cheated of her money?" So Yi Chen quickly found a safe place to park the car and walked over to the hospital entrance. At this time, Auntie Zhang also returned with some bread and milk. Auntie Zhang handed the food to the man, and the little boy immediately reached out and was slapped by the man. "How dare you?" After receiving the food from Auntie Zhang, the man immediately thanked Lu Yana and the others. "Thank you, ladies and madam, thank you so much. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't know how many days we would have to go hungry." At this time, there were also some onlookers gathered at the entrance of the hospital, discussing among themselves. "This man has been begging at the hospital entrance for 2 or 3 days, but he only asks for food and rarely asks for money. I guess he won't leave until he gets some money. You're talking nonsense. He came to the hospital to pretend to be sick, and he must be fishing for a big catch. He shouldn't have fallen for it. I saw him pay the bill at the window today. My child had a fever in the morning, and now she has a high fever again, so I remember very clearly that the father and son must have come to see a doctor. Lu Yana glanced at these people, but she was still determined in her heart. True or false, let Yi Chen's doctor friend find out when he investigates. Seeing Yi Chen walking over, Lu Yana quickly beckoned him to come over. Yi Chen quickened his pace and, after coming to Lu Yana's side, asked, "Wife, what can I do?" Lu Yana said, "This man's child has leukemia, and he says he doesn't have the money to treat it. He wants to take the child home. I feel so sorry for him. The child is so young, and he has only just come into the world." Saying this, she glanced at the little boy in her arms again. "Ever since I became a mother, I can't bear to see this," she said. Her tears could no longer be held back. The man had already collected his tears by now, but was a little choked up. "I'm sorry, sir and madam, we're fine, it's just a cheap life, but I feel sorry for the child, so young and not understanding anything yet." The man obviously didn't want to cause trouble for others, and was not at all like the people described by the bystander as trying to extort money. Yi Chen looked at the man and nodded. "Don't worry, my dear. I know a charity that provides help to people in real need. I can contact the person in charge for him. You don't need to worry about this." He was more than happy to pay for his wife's kindness. Yi Chen finally truly understood the meaning of the charitable foundation rewarded by the system. The man was instantly overwhelmed with emotion and once again wanted to kneel down. Then, thank you so much. You really are our savior. Thank you so much. Yi Chen and Lu Yana quickly went forward to help him up. "Don't get excited, let me make a phone call." Yi Chen immediately took out his phone and walked to the other side of the door to call the head of the security team. "Captain Wang Lin, I met a child with leukemia at the door, and now I have arranged for them to be admitted to the hospital, and I will take care of all the expenses." The tone was more of an order. After hanging up the phone, Wang Lin immediately went to make arrangements. Yi Chen quickly took out his phone, found the phone number of the president of the High Charity Foundation that had been edited into the system, and made a call. "Hello, Mr. Yi Chen. I'm very happy to receive your call. May I ask what you need?" When the president of the foundation, Hu Jinkang, received Yi Chen's call, he was also taken aback at first. Yi Chen said lightly, "I have something here." Yi Chen briefly explained the situation at the People's Hospital, and Hu Jinkang finally understood what Yi Chen meant. Hu Jinkang promised, "Don't worry, Mr. Yi, we'll take care of this matter. After we verify the authenticity of the matter, we will waive all of his medical expenses, as well as the hospital fees, room and board, until the child is discharged from the hospital and goes home. In addition, we will help them solve any problems they encounter in their lives. If the treatment doesn't work, there's nothing he can do about it." Yi Chen then nodded with relief and said, "Very well." After hanging up the phone with Hu Jinkang, he walked back. The man and the child had already finished eating the bread and drinking the bottle of milk. Yi Chen glanced at Lu Yana and nodded at her affirmatively to reassure her. Lu Yana nodded in response, naturally knowing that Yi Chen had already settled the matter. She also knew that Yi Chen and she did not lack money, and if it was just the money for treating leukemia, she could afford it alone. Treating this disease may cost millions, but millions is a huge burden for an ordinary family, or it is unaffordable. If something were to happen, it would really be a waste of both life and money. But millions is a breeze for her. If she hadn't met them, maybe Lu Yana wouldn't have cared. But now that she has, she still wants to give the man and child a hope. Seeing the child so small and pitiful, she really can't bear it. Chapter 199, an idea came to her. Knowing that Lu Yana is a kind person who will not just stand by and do nothing, Yi Chen also felt that he should help people to the end and arranged everything. Yi Chen said to the young father, who was full of vicissitudes, "Don't worry, we will help you solve the problem." The man said with gratitude, thank you, benefactor. Son, come here and kowtow to the benefactor." Saying this, he put the child down and knelt directly towards Yi Chen. The child was probably about 2 years old, and his timid expression on his face seemed to indicate that he knew he was sick. The child knelt down as his father instructed him, and even bowed his head. Lu Yana's eyes were moist, and she handed the child to Lu's mother to hold, and together with Yi Chen, helped the man and child who were kneeling on the ground to stand up. Lu Yana felt a little reluctant. "Hurry up and hold the child well. We parents are all for the sake of our children. Don't worry, my husband said he would help you arrange it." At that moment, the director of the inpatient department, accompanied by the head nurse and 2 nurses, came flying towards the hospital entrance. Everyone was panting when they arrived at Yi Chen. Mr. Yi Chen, I'm sorry we're late. I'm Huang Kaifeng, the director of the inpatient department. Yi Chen nodded. Hello, Director Huang, I assume my friend has explained the situation to you? The director quickly replied, Mr. Yi, we have just reviewed the medical records of this child, Lu Mingxian. Our hospital has officially admitted them to the inpatient department today and will arrange a single room for them. Tomorrow morning, we will conduct a comprehensive re-examination for them and will also arrange for them to be treated by the best doctors. Everything will be arranged properly for them. Yi Chen said indifferently, I have already arranged for a charity organization to accept them. Don't worry about the cost, everything will be given to them with the best. I hope your hospital will not let us down. The director was relieved. Yes, Mr. Yi, please ask Mr. Lu and the child Lu Mingxian to go with our nurse to be admitted to the hospital. The man was also very grateful and wanted to kneel down again, but Yi Chen quickly helped him up. The man said with tears in his eyes, Mr. Yi Chen, I can never repay your great kindness. You are really our family's great benefactor. Our Mingxian is saved. Thank you. Yi Chen said, You're welcome. He glanced at the worried Lu Yana and said, If you want to thank someone, thank my wife. It was her kindness that saved you. The man immediately said to Lu Yana, Thank you, Mrs. Yi. Lu Yana smiled and said, You're welcome. I didn't do anything to help you. Hurry up and go with the doctor to get admitted for surgery. You don't need to worry about anything else. The man thanked Yi Chen, Lu Yana, and the others repeatedly before following the nurse from the hospital department. Director Huang from the hospital department also said goodbye to Yi Chen and the others before leaving. Yi Chen looked at their backs and thought to himself, it wasn't that he didn't want to give the man the elixir, it was just that the elixir was limited. But suddenly, Yi Chen was reminded that there was still a universal card in the system space, and he couldn't help but think of a question. If he used the universal card, could he exchange it for an infinite elixir? At this time, the system rang, report to the host, the universal card cannot be exchanged for the rare elixir. Such a world-shaking elixir cannot appear in large quantities and disrupt the order of life. However, if it can be exchanged for the magic potion. After the system finished speaking, it fell silent. Although Yi Chen heard the system say something negative, he was still quite happy when he heard that the magic potion could be obtained endlessly with the universal card. Improving physical fitness will naturally reduce the number of people who fall ill. Should I start a health product company? Yi Chen thought about this and branded the idea in his heart. If the time is right, Yi Chen wants to start a conscientious health product company, not the kind that makes money by cheating the elderly. It is imperative for everyone to get fit and improve their physical fitness. So, Yi Chen asked the system, I want to use the universal card to exchange for an endless supply of magical potions. System, yes, host. If the host wants to start a health product company, just bind the company. Yi Chen said, I'll exchange it first, and then we'll see how it works. The system immediately started running. The infinite potion card has been exchanged. Please insert it into the system space and check your inbox. Yi Chen was relieved. But he wondered why the system didn't just give him a company. Was it because good things come to those who wait? He glanced at Lu Yana next to him and took her hand. Wife, you're really kind and caring. Lu Yana glanced around at the people around her and smiled, I just did what I should do. At first I also thought they were lying, but seeing that they only asked for food, I started to believe them. If you let the hospital get involved now, I'm sure I won't fall for it again. This is true. If you see someone like this and give them money without knowing anything, no one knows if they are trying to scam people for money. It's like the onlookers, who naturally also didn't dare to get involved because they were worried about being scammed. But among these people, there were naturally people who bought food for the father and son. And what just happened was naturally filmed by the onlookers in the crowd and posted on public platforms. These videos were discovered by sensitive media people, and they scrambled to report it, of course, which is a later story. Yi Chen returned home with his family. After taking the medicine, the baby's fever began to subside about 30 minutes later. But in the morning, it started to rise again, just below the high fever point. When she gave him the medicine, he struggled a little and broke out in a sweat. When a baby sweats when they have a fever, it can help bring down the temperature, but his fever never rose above 38 degrees. Yi Chen followed the doctor's advice and gave him plenty of water to drink. When they opened their social media accounts, they found that what had happened at the People's Hospital the night before had already gone viral online. Everyone on the internet was praising Yi Chen and Lu Yana. Wow! Are they a couple? They are really so in love. I'll be damned. This phone call has clearly arranged the patient's treatment. I thought rich people don't get sick because I've never seen any rich people in the hospital. My son also had a very serious illness. May I ask where I can find this charity organization? I never thought that there would be such caring rich people in our city. For a while, Yi Chen and Lu Yana were talked about on the internet. Chapter 200, Keep an Eye on Louis Wei. Yi Chen and Lu Yana's affair was uploaded to a public platform by someone else and quickly spread on the internet, with major media outlets scrambling to report on it. For a while, the ward was full of people, and the father and son of the Lu family also accepted an interview with the relatively authoritative Xiangqing satellite TV media. In front of the camera, he sincerely thanked the hospital and the charity foundation, and especially thanked Yi Chen and his wife. For other media, the father and son of the Lu family politely declined on the grounds of recuperating. Perhaps because the shooting was a bit far away and the faces of Yi Chen and Lu Yana were not clear, everyone was very curious about the real appearance of the Yi Chen couple. Judging from the couple's silhouettes, they should be handsome and beautiful. It's rare to find such a kind young couple. Such good deeds should be spread. What charity organization is it? I'm going to make a donation. It seems to be the Ocean Charity Foundation. I like charities that do practical things like this. I'll go online and donate the money for my milk tea later. Right. Me too, I won't have afternoon tea in the afternoon. In no time, the Ocean Charity Foundation received millions of dollars in donations online. At the same time, it also stated on the public platform that it would fully and continuously monitor the condition of the child Lu Mingxian. This has enhanced Yi Chen's Ocean Charity Foundation's status in society. Yi Chen naturally is willing to see this result. He now understands the true purpose of the system in giving him a charity foundation, to use the money obtained to help those who need help. This is probably the ultimate goal of the system. At least Yi Chen thinks so. First of all, he has won the favor of the school beauty because of his willingness to help others and his handsome appearance, and thus gained the love that others only dream of. Therefore, he wants to use his abilities to help more people. Now he will also use philanthropy as a driving force to make money. Originally, he was thinking of starting his career after graduation, but now, he has finally made up his mind to bring his career forward. He cannot delay his career, family, or studies. Naturally, he will not neglect Lu Yana because of this, and he believes that Lu Yana will support his decision. Lu Yana, who was resting at home, received a WeChat message from Wenxiu. Nana, why didn't you come to class? Lu Yana replied, my child is sick, so I'm taking a leave of absence. Wenxiu, do you want me to keep your notes for you? Lu Yana glanced at Yi Chen before replying, no thanks. Wenxiu didn't reply for a long time. Lu Yana was also busy taking care of her child. Yi Chen was on the balcony, talking to Wang Lin on the phone. Yi Chen, okay, let's do it that way. Keep a close eye on Louis for me. At this time, Louis was brewing a cup of tea and personally handed it to Lu's father. Uncle, the tea is ready. It's dry weather, so you should drink more water. This is the best wolfberry tea I bought for you, which is especially good for clearing the liver and nourishing the eyes. Lu's father nodded and said very satisfied, thank you, Wei Wei, for your concern. You are really considerate. You will definitely be able to marry into a good family in the future. Louis Wei smiled and said, thank you, uncle, for your praise. I don't want to get married so soon. After I learn how to manage the restaurant with you, I can help Nana in the future. Lu's father smiled happily and said, very good. It makes me feel at ease to know that you two sisters will work together to manage Lu Fuji well. Louis Wei looked at the front hall and said to her father, uncle, it's almost lunchtime. I'll go check how things are going in the kitchen. Her father nodded and smiled, okay, go. He added, you need to keep an eye on things in the kitchen. After saying that, Louis Wei turned and walked away, but the smile on her face disappeared the moment she turned around. She thought viciously, drink up, drink in peace. When you're paralyzed, the whole Lu Fuji restaurant will be mine. As long as Lu's father is in poor health, Yi Chen will naturally take over the restaurant in his place. But now is not the time, and when she has mastered the skills of running a restaurant, that will be the time for success. Louis Wei naturally knows that her cousin is devoted to painting and will never take over Lu Fuji, so all of this planning is in her hands. When she thought about this, Lu Wei's mouth curled up in a sinister smile. What she didn't know was that her every move was being monitored by Yi Chen. Yi Chen was also waiting for the right moment to expose her true colors. 3 days later, Xiao Baibai's illness was almost over. Occasionally, he would have a little cough and runny nose, but it was much better. Generally, after a child has a high fever, they will cough, so Xiao Baibai's condition was normal. Fortunately, the 2 older brothers were not infected, otherwise if the 3 of them got sick together, it would be more than they could handle. Lu Yana and Yi Chen also returned to school. Their classmates had seen the news about Yi Chen online, but they weren't sure if it was their schoolmate Yi Chen because the quality of the video was really poor, and all they could see was a human shape. For a while, the students at school started a new discussion. Could it be that he is the husband of our school beauty? His name is also Yi Chen? Can the school beauty's husband solve this problem with just one phone call? You have to know that charity organization is recognized by the state. Do you know what it means to be recognized by the state? To be recognized by the state is even more difficult than a poor student getting into a 985 or 211 university. There are only 2 charities that are recognized by the state, the Ocean Charity Fund and the Angel Charity Foundation. Both have more than 10 billion yuan in funds. These are the only 2 that are recognized by the state. You can't go wrong if you donate to these 2 foundations. My goodness! These are the only 2 recognized charities in our country, so they are really quite strong. So, do you think the school flower's husband can invite someone from this foundation? I don't know. That's all. Yi Chen didn't take it seriously, and his own people definitely knew about it. No one else mattered at all, and there was no one he knew at school, so he didn't tell anyone else about it. Chapter 201 Health Products Company. However, since Yi Chen had already decided to set up a health products company, naturally he would also bring this up early, because this is a long and arduous task. With the help of the Protect Security Company, Yi Chen quickly found a pharmaceutical company. This pharmaceutical company is not very well known, and it is only because it is not a large factory that it cannot receive large orders. Earlier, it also made some money during the boom, but now it has lost a lot of money in a row and is on the verge of going out of business. Unexpectedly, Yi Chen discovered this pharmaceutical company and wanted to acquire the small but well-equipped pharmaceutical company. Now, Chen Xuegue, the person in charge of the pharmaceutical company and its legal representative, is waiting for the buyer to come over. Once he has taken a good look, they can sign the contract and he can just go. This pharmaceutical factory has taken 10 years of his hard work. Although there is an old brand supporting the company, it is far from enough. You have to know that in the new era, there are endless high-quality products. His old-fashioned packaged drugs have already been replaced by others. Older people may still buy them, but the younger generation rarely buys them. Therefore, income is not proportional to expenditure. Without investors investing in the pharmaceutical factory, it is naturally declining. He was sitting in his office, wondering what kind of person the buyer was. The sound of knocking on the door interrupted his thoughts. A male voice came from outside the door. "Mr. Chen, there is a young man outside with an open Koran who is looking for you." "Okay, I got it." However, Chen Xuegue initially thought that the person who came to acquire the pharmaceutical factory would be a pot-bellied, greasy middle-aged man, but unexpectedly, it was a young man? However, since he had the strength to acquire a factory, he naturally could not be underestimated, so he did not dare to be negligent and quickly opened the door to go downstairs to meet him. Yi Chen also came to the waiting room and sat down after being greeted by the security guard. Yi Chen also saw Chen Xuegue, who was about 50 years old and relatively thin. "Hello, you must be Mr. Yi? I am the legal representative of this pharmaceutical factory. My name is Chen Xuegue." Yi Chen extended his right hand. "Hello, my name is Yi Chen." After the two shook hands, they also sat down. "Mr. Chen, I am here to acquire your pharmaceutical factory. Can I take a look at your factory first?" Yi Chen naturally didn't say much to the other party either, and first took a tour of the entire factory. Although he had already read the investigation by the Protect Security Company, he still wanted to see for himself. He wanted to see the research and development team at the pharmaceutical factory and see the general strength of those people. In this way, the magical potion in Yi Chen's hands could be put to use. Otherwise, if such a product with outstanding effects for boosting resistance appeared out of nowhere, it would definitely attract the attention of others. Yi Chen was thinking of promoting it under the banner of being 100% effective. After all, if this formula came out, it would definitely cause a sensation in the industry. Yi Chen didn't want to be disturbed by too many people in his life, so he decided to keep a low profile. At first, Chen Shuigue thought that Yi Chen was just a playboy who was more or less having fun when he bought his factory. However, after accompanying Yi Chen on a tour of the factory and answering his many questions, Chen Shuigue felt that Yi Chen was actually quite sincere. Although he plans to sell the factory, he does not want to hand it over to someone who is incapable of running it. He still wants to see the factory survive and provide stable jobs for its employees. Although Yi Chen had already looked at the entire factory's information under Wang Lin's investigation, he was still shocked when he came to visit the entire factory. The entire factory covers an area of only a few thousand square meters, but unfortunately the factory building is only rented. This is the first problem Yi Chen needs to solve in taking over the pharmaceutical factory, which is to take over the entire factory building and the land nearby, so that it will be more convenient to build a new factory in the future. While in the production area, Yi Chen also saw that there were quite a few workers chatting and smiling innocently when they saw Yi Chen and the others coming. Chen Shuigue said, "If you want to buy the entire factory, I hope that the workers here will also take it over. They have been here for almost 10 years and are all veteran employees. They are also very skilled at operating the machines, and you will definitely be satisfied with them." Yi Chen looked at Chen Shuigue in front of him and couldn't help but praise, "President Chen is really a good boss." I didn't expect that at this point, he would still be thinking about finding a way out for his old employees. Just now, Yi Chen had tested Chen Shuigue with his insightful people skills and found that this person is also very honest and trustworthy, someone who is worth trusting. Chen Shuigue sighed and said, 10 years ago, they accompanied me from the small factory to the present. They are all my most loyal employees. It's just that I'm not good at marketing. But none of that matters anymore. I hope Mr. Yi can treat them well." Yi Chen laughed and said, "Of course. What about your RD staff? Are they still here?" Chen Shuigue couldn't help but sneer at this question. He said, "Actually, I'm the only one left in the RD team. In the past, I had a group of like-minded people working together, and we made a lot of money. But once the factory started losing money, they all left because they had to make a living. After all, no one could stick with it. I guess I really wasn't cut out for running a factory. I worked as a doctor in a top-tier hospital for more than 10 years and received a medical doctorate. At the time, I also worked in pharmaceutical research at the hospital for almost 10 years, specializing in research and development of drugs for hospitals. Later, I just went out on my own and started this pharmaceutical factory." Chen Shuigue told Yi Chen a lot about his past experiences, and Yi Chen listened carefully. "Don't worry, I'm not good at anything else, but I can keep my mouth shut. After the factory is sold, I'll be out of a job too. If you need me to do research here, I'm fine with that. We can sign a contract, and everything will be based on the contract." Chen Shuigue naturally also wanted to stay at the factory and witness its glory. He just didn't know if Yi Chen was willing. Yi Chen also didn't expect that the skinny middle-aged man in front of him could be so flexible, and that he didn't mind being reduced from a pharmaceutical factory owner to a laborer. Moreover, he was indeed a talent. You have to understand that a medical doctor from more than 20 years ago was very rare. Yi Chen had also heard from others that anyone studying medicine would have to memorize at least one room's worth of books, and what about a medical doctor? That would be terrifying. Yi Chen instantly felt a good impression towards this learned medical doctor in front of him. He really admired people with such perseverance. Even if Yi Chen had the skill of never forgetting a face, it would still give him a headache if he had to read a whole room's worth of books. That's really amazing. Chapter 202, Just set up a pharmaceutical factory. At that moment, Yi Chen made up his mind. "President Chen, you're a medical doctor. You know, in this society, it's really rare to find a medical doctor." After praising Chen Shuigue, he got to the point, "How about this, I won't buy the factory." Upon hearing this, Chen Shuigue was anxious. "Mr. Yi Chen, this is not acceptable." I was interrupted by Yi Chen's words. "Mr. Chen, please let me finish. I said, I will not buy the pharmaceutical factory, but I will invest in a different way. I will divide the factory into shares and redraft the share contract. I will invest 100% and start operating directly on the basis of your factory's original foundation. You will continue to hold your original position, and I will be the largest shareholder of the pharmaceutical factory. You can have a 10% share of the factory's dividends and an annual salary of 3 million. What do you think?" Finally, Yi Chen added, "I will leave the internal management of the pharmaceutical factory in your hands. After all, these employees have been with you for a long time. As for product marketing, I will leave it to me. Is that okay? In fact, this is just changing the packaging without changing the contents. This is more or less the same as buying a factory, but it sounds better when you say it. However, in this way, Yi Chen's healthcare product company will be directly operating a pharmaceutical factory. If Chen Shuigue is in charge of research and development for him, and coupled with the fact that the system will reward high technology in the future, it will be quite convenient to have a pharmaceutical factory. Chen Shuigue also did not expect Yi Chen to be so generous. While having an annual salary of 3 million, he actually gave himself a 10% share dividend. Not only does he not have to leave the pharmaceutical factory, but he can also stay here to do research and development. And the annual salary of several million yuan is already more than the money he has earned over the years running the pharmaceutical factory, not to mention the dividends. Although he no longer has any shares in the pharmaceutical factory, logically speaking, this 10% dividend is already considered a share. This is a very satisfactory outcome for him. After thinking about it for a moment, Chen Shuigue directly agreed to Yi Chen's request. After Chen Shuigue agreed, Yi Chen directly injected capital and then directly saved the money to buy the pharmaceutical factory, which can be described as a happy ending for everyone. Yi Chen's first priority was to ask the landlord here to buy the land and the several plots of land next door. The contract still had to be prepared by the company's lawyer on behalf of the company, and a notary was required to sign the contract. Therefore, on that day, Yi Chen was unable to complete the entire procedure, but a temporary agreement was signed. The agreement clearly stated that Yi Chen would invest 5 billion in capital for the development of the pharmaceutical factory, as well as some agreed upon issues regarding the distribution of shares. Another time was scheduled for tomorrow to sign all the documents and change the name. From then on, the name of the pharmaceutical factory would have to be changed from Tianyi Pharmaceutical Factory to Chinyi Pharmaceutical. Yi Chen also considered whether to let Chen Shuigue study the Miraculous potion, but he estimated that humans could not study something sent by the system. After all the things were done, Yi Chen sent his potion here. This matter was not finished until after 3 p.m., and Yi Chen returned home. It happened to be Sunday, and Lu Yina was invited out by Gu Yingying, who wanted to learn from her how to fall in love. This was only a reason. In fact, Gu Yingying wanted to go out shopping. Lu Yina has mainly worn sportswear since giving birth because it is more convenient for her to take care of her child. Gu Yingying has also fallen in love with Yi Hui, and after the misunderstanding, their relationship has warmed up. The two of them have also started wearing matching outfits, and they are just waiting to move in together. Deng Jia has also moved out of Gu Yingying's apartment to the company's side due to work reasons, which makes it more convenient for the two of them to come and go. The two of them entered a shoe store together wearing some more casual clothes. Gu Yingying kept complaining about Yi Hui's straight man behavior. The two of them walked into a shoe store while talking. Gu Yingying looked at the name of the store and glanced inside. Huh? This store is new? How come I haven't seen it before? The salesperson at the door said to the two of them, "Hello, our shoes are designed by our own designers and produced in our own factory. If you like them, come inside and have a look." Gu Yingying and Lu Yina looked at each other and decided to go inside. "Nana, what do you want to do after you graduate?" Gu Yingying couldn't help but ask. Lu Yina thought for a moment. "I think I told you before, I want to hold an art exhibition at the World Pavilion. I have kept all the works I have created before and those that are interesting." Gu Yingying, "And after that? After all, you're married, haven't you thought about it? Or do you want to be a full-time housewife? Yi Chen is such a good man, he shouldn't fool around, so you don't have to worry." Lu Yana couldn't help smiling when she mentioned Yi Chen. "Yes, I really don't worry about him. But I haven't really thought about what I want to do." Gu Yingying's eyes lit up. "Why don't you open a clothing store with me, design your own favorite things, like here, and set up your own small factory, specializing in the things you design?" Lu Yana glanced around the place and nodded. "Well, that's something to think about." Gu Yingying smiled and said, "Okay, I'll ask my dad. It's better to prepare for some things early." Lu Yana laughed. "I haven't agreed yet." Gu Yingying and Lu Yana had been chatting for a few minutes after entering the store, and no one had come to serve them. Lu Yana was admiring a pair of black high heels at the moment, so she rushed over to a salesperson at the cash register and asked, "Excuse me. Salesperson 1? Without coming over, she said loudly, "I'm really sorry, but these only come in a size 35, and they won't fit you." Salesperson 1 said this while walking over here. Lu Yana picked up another pair of shoes next to her and asked, "What about these?" Saleswoman 1 said nonchalantly, "If you're sure about these, I can check the inventory for you." Gu Yingying found this funny. How would I know if they fit if I don't try them on? If they fit, I'll definitely want them. Saleswoman 1 also laughed lightly. If I go to the warehouse to get them for you, and then you don't want them, then I've made a wasted trip, haven't I? Guing Ying also laughed. Isn't that what you're supposed to do as a salesperson? At this time, a woman dressed in exquisite clothes walked in through the door, and at this time, another saleswoman 2 also came over and surrounded the woman. When saleswoman 1 saw this, she naturally wanted to go and serve her as well. At this time, a saleswoman 3 came out from the warehouse. Saleswoman 1 immediately called out to saleswoman 3, "Hey, come here and serve her for a while, I need to go and get busy." After saying this, she walked away without looking back. When she got to the exquisite woman, she quickly helped to get the shoes from the warehouse. Guing Ying immediately wanted to scold when she saw this. Lu Yana immediately pulled her back. "Forget it, isn't someone here to serve us?" Guing Ying was also so angry that she couldn't help it. What kind of people are these? Do they really think we can't afford it? Glancing at the few people, Guing Ying continued, "Nana, which pair do you like? You paid for my clothes before, this time I'll pay for you. If you like something, just take it, don't be polite with me." Chapter 203 Buy whatever you like. Guing Ying had never been treated like this before. She said to Lu Yana on the spot, "Nana, buy whatever you like. I'll pay for it. We won't put up with this." Guing Ying glanced at saleswoman 3, who was standing on the side and didn't dare to speak, and asked in a low voice, "Don't be afraid, that's just how my sisters are. You're new here, aren't you?" After all, that salesperson was only doing what the more senior staff would have done. Although Guing Ying had only been working for a short time, she had long since grown accustomed to these snobs. Saleswoman 3 whispered, "Yes, ladies, I just had a baby and brought him up until he was 2 years old before I started working. So if there is anything you are not satisfied with, just point it out and I will change it." Lu Yana heard this and turned to saleswoman 3 and said, "Your child is already 2 years old?" Saleswoman 3, "Yes, I waited until my child started kindergarten before going back to work." "Which pair do you like? I'll go check if they're in stock. None of the shoes here are your size." Guing Ying and Lu Yana are both over 165 centimeters tall. The shoes on display are mostly 35 or 36, and there are also a very few 37s. At this time, all you can hear from the other side is the female salesperson 1 speaking loudly. "These 2 pairs are new products that just came in this morning. You can try them on, miss. There are 3 colors in total, white, black, and red. And there's a sale going on right now, miss. You can take a look." Lu Yana and Guing Ying glanced over there and looked at the shoes on their own. Lu Yana picked up a pair of white flat shoes and asked, "Do you have these in a size 37.5? Guing Ying leaned over and asked, "Nana, didn't you used to wear a size 37? Lu Yana said, "Yes, it was in the past, but now it's the present. After I got pregnant, I don't know if I carried a particularly heavy baby, but the load on my feet was so great that even my feet grew bigger. You have no idea, when I was pregnant, all I wore were Yichin slippers, and my feet were so swollen that I couldn't even wear my own slippers anymore." Guing Ying, "No way, after pregnancy, will the feet still get bigger? This is amazing." Lu Yana laughed, "You'll know when you get pregnant, but if you're not pregnant with twins or triplets, you probably don't need to worry about your feet getting bigger." Saleswoman 3 on the side smiled and said, "What are your names, ladies?" Guing Ying, "My surname is Gu, and my sister's surname is Lu. But you can call her Mrs. Yi." Saleswoman 3 says, "Miss Gu, what Miss Lu said is true, because after I gave birth, my feet also got bigger." Guing Ying looks at her own size 38 feet and exclaims, "No way. I don't want to wear size 39. Lu Yana laughs, "It's possible that you have a different body type." Lu Yana says to saleswoman 3, "I'll take these and these in size 37.5, if they're not available, that's fine." Guing Ying also quickly reported the shoes she liked, "Just as your classmate said, I'll take a pair of size 38 for the new product, and this, that, all of them." "Humph. How dare you look down on me? You're dead." Saleswoman 3 quickly took out her notebook and explained, "Sorry, I need to write this down, I can't remember it all at once." Lu Yana smiled, "It's okay, take your time, we can wait." Saleswoman 3 kept saying as she wrote down the information, "Just a moment, I'll get you a glass of water." Once she had finished copying the information, saleswoman 3 immediately went over to the cash register, poured a glass of water for Lu Yana and Guing Ying, and then went back to the warehouse to look for shoes. After about 5 or 6 minutes, the young lady in the next stall was still trying on shoes and taking pictures, and the area around her was already full of shoes. Finally, the delicate young lady pointed at the half-discounted high heels at her feet and said, "I'll take these." Gu Ying looked over and couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. Lu Yana gave Gu Ying a little tap to indicate that she should stop. Gu Ying couldn't help but snort, humph. I hate people who look down on others the most. Lu Yana was about to say something when saleswoman 3 returned with 5 or 6 pairs of shoes. Sorry, young ladies, I kept you waiting. These are the shoes you wanted. These 2 pairs are for Ms. Lu, these 3 pairs are for Ms. Gu, and there are 6 more pairs behind you, so please wait a moment. After saying that, she immediately walked over to the warehouse. Lu Yana picked up the pair of white flat shoes and put them on. What do you think? They should be good for carrying the baby in the future, and high heels are not suitable. Gu Ying also felt a sense of emotion. My goodness. The former high-heeled shoe diva is now wearing white sneakers for her child. It seems that children really have a lot of power. Lu Yana smiled. You'll know when you have a child. Your own children are different. They will evoke the motherly instinct in you and make you love them unconditionally. Gu Ying seemed to be looking forward to it as well. Maybe, but I'm also scared. Scared of giving birth, scared of the pain of natural childbirth, scared of the pain of a cesarean section. At this time, saleswoman 3 returned. I'm sorry, Ms. Gu, the white pair in size 38 is out of stock, but the black pair is available in this size. I'll bring it over for you to try on. Lu Yana took off the shoes she was trying on and put them back in the box. This action, however, was seen by saleswoman 1, who couldn't help but smile lightly at the corner of her mouth. And this sneer was seen by Gu Ying. Gu Ying waved her hand. No need to try them on, I'll take them all. Saleswoman 3 couldn't help but be shocked. Ms. Gu, I think you should try these shoes on to see if they are comfortable. Gu Ying waved her hand and said to Lu Yana, Nana, which other pair do you like? Lu Yana said, none, I like these 2 pairs of flats. Gu Ying said, then wrap them up. Saleswoman 3 didn't dare to breathe a word, so she said, yes, Ms. Gu, please follow me over here. The saleswoman, carrying 6 pairs of shoes, led Lu Yana and Gu Ying to the checkout counter. Gu Ying and Lu Yana helped carry the other 5 pairs of shoes and walked towards the checkout counter. At this time, the previous saleswoman 1 came over again and said to the trainee saleswoman 3 with a smile, you've only been here a few days and are not familiar with the system, so let me help you with the checkout. It was obvious that she was taking advantage of her status as an old employee to try to take saleswoman 3's sales. However, Gu Ying refused outright. Sorry, I don't need your help. I want this salesperson to help me with the checkout. Lu Yana also said, it's okay, take your time. We have time, we can wait. Salesperson 1 was speechless, forced a smile and awkwardly walked over to the side and watched. Salesperson 3 looked at Gu Ying and Lu Yana gratefully. Gu Ying and Lu Yana smiled and nodded at her. After a few minutes, saleswoman 3 said to Gu Ying, hello, Miss Gu, that'll be 93,800 yuan, and the discount has already been taken into account. Gu Ying handed over her card. Scan it. Chapter 204, In the Face of True Love, It Doesn't Matter Who Makes the First Move. Gu Ying handed her card to saleswoman 3, scan it. Just 100,000 yuan, and I can see saleswoman 1's face fall. It's so satisfying. After taking back her card, Gu Ying asked saleswoman 3, push your WeChat to us, and if there are any new models, send them to us first. Saleswoman 3 quickly handed over her card. This is my card, with the WeChat QR code on it. Scan it to add me. Thank you, ladies. Saleswoman 3 was really especially grateful to Gu Ying and Lu Yana. In the past few days, she had also had a lot of orders taken by the older employees. And this order from Gu Ying and the others was the first order she had taken in the past few days. As a mother who has been out of the workforce for 2 years after giving birth, she has had a particularly difficult time. She was afraid to say anything when she faced being snubbed for the order. But this order today has given her courage, and she will stand up for herself in the future. Lu Yana naturally understands the difficulties of a new mother, and naturally takes extra care of this saleswoman 3. If she likes a pair of shoes in the future, she will still come to her to buy it. Gu Ying and Lu Yana walked out of the shop carrying a dozen shopping bags. Saleswoman 1, however, let out a deep sigh and seemed to be regretting it. Gu Ying, it's too late to regret it now. Carrying the shopping bags, Gu Ying asked Lu Yana with a smile, Nana, did you see that? The face of that saleswoman earlier was as long as a bitter melon, huh, it was so funny. Lu Yana glanced back, then turned to Gu Ying and said, forget it, why bother with people like that? Gu Ying laughed twice, and she said to Lu Yana, if people don't provoke me, I won't provoke them. Then she asked Lu Yana, oh my god. I didn't know that I was so strong. I bought 11 pairs of shoes in one go. Lu Yana, so do you want to keep shopping now? Guiying, let's put the things back in your car first, and then we can continue shopping. Lu Yana had no choice but to let her have her way. Guiying got into the elevator and saw that there were only 2 people, so she asked Lu Yana, Nana, although Yi Hui and I have warmed up to each other, we haven't taken it to the next step. Lu Yana coughed twice. Hey, what do you want? If you really want to do something, why don't you just come right out and say it? I think Yi Hui is also straightforward, so if you choose to hint at it or do something indirect, I don't think Yi Hui will necessarily understand. Guiying nodded, you're right. I know his character, too, but you also know that I'm a girl, so naturally I have to be a little reserved. Lu Yana also laughed, if you're reserved, I guess that's about it. Guiying, ouch, that's really annoying. Can't a man take the initiative? Lu Yana said, take the initiative when you should, like me, isn't that great? After saying this, Lu Yana also lowered her head and smiled. Guiying, seems like it. That's fine. Yes, Lu Yana and Yi Chen were also like that. Lu Yana took the initiative first, which is why they have such a happy family. For 2 people in love, it doesn't matter who takes the initiative. In the evening, Lu Yana didn't have dinner with Guiying, but went home instead. Yi Chen looked at Lu Yana unloading the groceries at the door and hurried over. Wow! Did my wife go on a shopping spree today? Lu Yana laughed and said, yes. Today Ying said she'd treat, because last time we paid, so this time she's coming. Look, I bought a lot of things, but she bought quite a lot too. Yi Chen hurriedly went up to carry the goods, and asked with a smile, honey, is there anything for me? Lu Yana laughed and said, how could there not be anything for my husband? Don't worry, honey, I haven't forgotten to buy you anything. Yi Chen laughed and asked, wow. Thanks, honey, you're the best. To repay my wife for her kindness, I have prepared nutritious meals for you, made by your husband with his own hands. Lu Yana immediately embraced Yi Chen's strong and powerful arm. Thank you, husband. The 2 walked while holding hands. Lu Yana suddenly said, husband, have you ever thought about making nutritious meals a success? After all, you designed this good thing, and I don't think I should be the only one to enjoy it. Yi Chen looked at his wife with a smile. Designed for my wife, naturally it is only for my wife. But I have taken my wife's suggestion to heart, and I accept my wife's suggestion. Lu Yana said excitedly, yes. Our family has a restaurant, and I think we can make use of it. Yi Chen said, let me think about it first, and then discuss it with you and Dad. Lu Yana said with a smile, okay. Yi Chen thought to himself, his wife's suggestion is not bad. Modern people's diets are very irregular, and they like to eat junk food, and this healthy and nutritious meal does have development prospects. There are also some niche groups, such as diabetics, those trying to lose fat and gain muscle, etc., which are all good development directions. If it were him running the restaurant, this wouldn't be a bad plan. Yi Chen thought about this and said to Lu Yana, what I want to do most right now is set up a pharmaceutical factory. I've already contacted the one for sale, visited it today, and expect to be ready to sign the contract tomorrow. I brought back some things that can enhance physical fitness. You can give some to Dad later, we all need it. It's 100% effective at boosting the immune system. Lu Yana couldn't help but wonder, is it really 100% effective? That would be great, I don't want to see the babies get sick again. Naturally, Lu Yana believed Yi Chen, so she didn't question what he said. If he said it was 100% effective, then it must be. Yi Chen carried a bunch of shopping bags and went back to the room with Lu Yana. Lu's mother then came out. Nana, why didn't you have dinner with Ying before coming back? Yi Chen had already walked into the room with the shopping bags, and Lu Yana said to Lu's mother at the door, Mom, Ying has a boyfriend, so of course she's with her boyfriend, and I'm not going to be someone's third wheel, am I? Lu's mother also smiled, that girl Ying is finally in love. After she finished, she walked back into the room. After Lu Yana returned to her room, she asked Yi Chen, why did my mom ask about Ying? Yi Chen smiled and said, I don't know. It seems that she told my mom that a relative of hers has a crush on Ying. It's your cousin Lon, right? Your cousin seemed to have come to our wedding last time. Lu Yana couldn't help but frown. My cousin Lon? When I got married, his father, my second uncle, gave me 20 caddies of gold. Yi Chen couldn't help but be shocked, no way. So powerful, I didn't even know about these things. Lu Yana said, that's natural, my 3 uncles only have 1 sister, my mother, and all of my uncles are quite wealthy. In the past, when my father first got rich, my uncles helped a lot, otherwise there would be no me and my father would not be as successful as he is today. Yi Chen nodded as well. Chapter 205, The Idea of Selling the June 1st Baby moved. After Lu Yana folded her things into shopping bags and put them away, she asked Yi Chen, "Honey, didn't you just say that you brought some health products back and wanted our whole family to try them?" Yi Chen took out a few small transparent glass bottles from his pocket. "These are them. We haven't designed the packaging yet. This is the original liquid. Later, we should add some other designs, so we'll just drink the original liquid. Just pour the original liquid into the water. Once the design is finalized, it should be ready for consumption." Yi Chen handed it to Lu Yana while saying this. "Honey, you're amazing. How did you come up with the idea of starting a pharmaceutical company?" Yi Chen said, "You know about our little one's illness. My husband also thinks that if everyone's immune system is stronger, then they won't catch a cold and have a fever and cough." Lu Yana nodded, "Yes. It's really a suffering to watch such a young child take medicine, get injections, and have blood drawn." Yi Chen nodded, "This can definitely improve resistance and immunity. If it can be done, then we parents will definitely be willing to buy it for our children and elderly to take." Lu Yana also nodded, "MMM. Although I don't know where you know about these things, I know that you, my dear, have always put the family first, thinking about our family, whether it's about making money or not, but your starting point is for this family." Yi Chen hugged Lu Yana and said, "That's natural. I want to make money so that our family can live better, so that we don't have to worry about money anymore, so that you and the family can eat whatever you want and buy whatever you want, and so that the children can receive the best education. For me, I still need to work hard. In case the child wants a castle or a playground in the future, his current financial resources are not enough to buy it, so he can only rely on the power of the system. For example, right now, if you want to set up a pharmaceutical company, you have to borrow the system's 10 unlimited credit cards." At this moment, the system's harsh voice suddenly sounded, "Hello, host, this unlimited credit card can only be used on family members." Report complete. Yi Chen hurriedly asked the system, "I want to set up a pharmaceutical factory that is used to improve the resistance of children. Can I use one card?" "Hello, host, all profit-making activities are not allowed." Report complete. Yi Chen frowned and thought again, "What if I buy it and then sell it?" Report to the host, "No problem, as long as it is unwanted by the baby, it can be sold." Here is a reminder to the host, all system rewards can be used at the host's discretion. Yi Chen let out a deep breath, "That'll work." Lu Yana asked Yi Chen, "Honey, what's wrong?" Yi Chen confessed, "I want to sell my shares in June 1st Baby and use the money to invest in a pharmaceutical factory. I'm going to make a big splash." Lu Yana leaned against Yi Chen's chest and said, "Honey, no matter what you want to do, I'll support you." She took out a black card from her bag and said, "Honey, I haven't touched the more than 1 billion in this card, so you can use it first." Yi Chen took the black card from Lu Yana's hand and solemnly promised, "Wife, thank you for your support. After the pharmaceutical company makes a profit, I will pay you back double." Lu Yana smiled, "Between husband and wife, where is the difference between yours and mine? You don't have to pay me back." Yi Chen was deeply moved. His wife supported his career so much, and she was such a good wife. This was enough for him for the rest of his life. Yi Chen said with emotion, "Wife, thank you. You're so good." Lu Yana hugged Yi Chen and said, "Love is mutual. You're so good to me, how could I bear to see you frown?" When Lu Yana heard Yi Chen say that he wanted to sell his shares in June 1st Baby, she knew that Yi Chen had run into financial problems. She happened to have the black card Yi Chen had given her, which was worth more than 1 billion yuan. So while Yi Chen was thinking about money, and she didn't lack money, how could she just stand by and do nothing? Yi Chen was also very touched by Lu Yana's unconditional devotion, and at the same time, he was determined in his entrepreneurial direction. Although Yi Chen now owns Huachang Building, as well as a hotel, security company, shopping mall, etc., he cannot gather enough investment capital of 5 billion at once. Among these industries, Yi Chen feels that Liui Baby is an industry that can be sold. After discussing it with his wife, Yi Chen took the black card handed over to him by Lu Yana, and his heart was full of mixed emotions. Lu Yana also quietly reassured Yi Chen, "Everything is fine, and things will work out naturally. There may be an unexpected surprise." Yi Chen suddenly felt enlightened, his wife was right, "Dinner is ready, please enjoy your meal." Lu Yana sweetly said, "Thank you, my dear." The two of them went to dinner together. Morning. After breakfast, Lu Yana went to entertain the children, while Yi Chen went back to his room, thinking about what to do with the shares of June 1st baby. Bank information, 32,634,890 yuan has been received. Note, Huacheng Building Property Management Company. While Yi Chen was counting the number of zeros on his phone, the phone of Lu Quanzheng, the property manager of Huacheng Building, rang. On the phone, Lu Chuanjing's voice was very excited as he said, "Hello, Mr. Yi Chen, I'm sorry to disturb you, did you just receive the bank deposit information? 5 minutes ago, our company's finance department transferred the first half of your rent to your account. This rent has deducted all expenses, and the total amount deposited was 326,348,900 yuan. Please check." Yi Chen could not help but be shocked. More than 300 million yuan was received in the first half of the year? Lu Quanzhang was puzzled. "Mr. Yi Chen, is there a problem?" Yi Chen quickly said, "It's fine, I'll check the message and count the money." Lu Quanzhang hung up the phone sourly, thinking to himself, if I could do what he did, sitting at home and earning 500 to 600 million yuan a year, that would be great. Not to mention 500 to 600 million yuan, 500,000 to 600,000 yuan a year would be enough to get by very well. I really envy him. Yi Chen opened the message immediately after hanging up the phone, counting the digits after the 3 while exclaiming, "This time I was given more than 300 million, is this so strong?" Before Yi Chen finished exclaiming, he received another bank deposit message. Chapter 206, A wife who loses money means no money coming in. Before Yi Chen could finish his exclamation, he received another bank account arrival message. The bank account arrived at 40,283,879,980 yuan, with a note saying Tingli Hotel. This time, just like before, Yi Chen couldn't count the number of zeros clearly, and the phone call from Zhu Chuanzhou, the general manager of Tingli Hotel, came in. After Yi Chen turned off the ringtone, he counted while saying, 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 10 billion, more than 40 billion? No way. At this time, Yi Chen quickly answered the phone from the hotel's Zhu Chuanzhou. Zhu Chuanzhou's tone was apologetic. "I'm sorry, Mr. Yi Chen, for disturbing you so early. The finance department has just transferred the profits from the past 6 months from the 35 Tingli hotels to your account. The total is 4,283,879,980 yuan. Please check." Yi Chen was still in shock and did not respond. Zhu Chuanzhou was beside himself with worry when he heard Yi Chen's lack of response. "I'm sorry, Mr. Yi Chen, the profit for the past 6 months is more than 100 million less than the profit for the previous 6 months. It's mainly my problem." Yi Chen finally reacted, hastily saying, it's fine. More than 100 million is just a trivial matter. You're done here, hang up." On the other end of the line, Zhu Chuanzhou was left alone, holding the phone in disarray in the wind. More than 100 million is just a trivial matter? He had been struggling for more than 10 years, and even though he had more than 100 million in this city of fragrant flowers, he could only afford to buy a mortgage. He was still paying off the mortgage. The world of the rich. He was so jealous. Yi Chen was shocked and could not speak when he saw the 4 billion in his phone. But there was a bigger surprise waiting for Yi Chen. The bank account received 302,322,349 yuan, with the note, half-yearly dividend from Baodeli Security Company. Bank transfer of 139,990,399 yuan, memo, half-year profit from Demingfa Shopping Mall. Bank transfer of 203,888,900 yuan, memo, half-year dividend from the shares of the new shopping mall. Yi Chen stared at the information on his phone. My goodness. This can't be. How many billions of dollars has this suddenly given me? Let's see how many billions. As soon as Yi Chen reacted, he immediately picked up his phone and glanced at the balance. Holy cow. This has given Yi Chen almost 6 billion yuan. The ancients were not lying. As the saying goes, if you lose your wife, you will lose all your wealth. Be good to your wife and you will have good luck. Being a man with responsibility is the way to go. Looking at the balance on the card, Yi Chen thought a lot. Now, Yi Chen doesn't have to sell the shares of June 1st baby. Thinking about this, Yi Chen put the black card back in the bag that Lu Yana always carried. Yi Chen had already received his wife's goodwill, and now that he was rich, naturally he didn't need his wife's money. To be honest, Yi Chen really felt a bit sorry for Lu Yana. He had given her money, and then asked her to take it out for him in an emergency. After thinking about it, Yi Chen transferred another 500 million to Lu Yina's black card and 10 million to each of their parents. When they arrived in the living room downstairs, Lu's mother asked Yi Chen, I heard Nana say that you were going to set up a pharmaceutical factory or something, so why are you transferring money to us? We don't need money right now, so you don't need to transfer any to us. Yi Chen smiled and said to Lu's mother, Mom, don't worry, I've received the money from my other investments, so I have enough money now. Lu Yana looked at Yi Chen and pulled him aside and asked in a low voice, Honey, is your money really enough? How can you say that? Your investments are worth billions. Yi Chen whispered in Lu Yana's ear, Honey, don't worry, the profits from my hotel, shopping mall, and other investments all arrived today. There are billions of dollars, and I also transferred 500 million to your black card. Lu Yana exclaimed in surprise, No way? That much? Yi Chen laughed and said, Yeah, that's just the profit for the past 6 months, and it's only just arrived because I had to file taxes and stuff. So really, don't worry about it, honey. Yi Chen reassured Lu Yana again, afraid that she wouldn't believe him. From the doorway came the loud voice of Ye's mother shouting, Yi Chen, come out and help. Hurry! Yi Chen responded loudly, Oh, I'm coming, Mom. Yi Chen took Lu Yana with him to the front door of the villa. They saw that Ye's mother had bought a lot of things, and the car was now full inside and out. Ye's father asked Yi Chen to come and help carry the things to the small room next to the baby's room. That small room was used to store the baby's clothes, and these things were obviously what Ye's mother and father had bought for the babies. Yi Chen couldn't help shaking his head, Mom, why did you buy so many things? Mom seems to be very excited, if only the car could carry more, I would have kept buying. The baby clothes there are really so pretty. I bought one of each color, and bought them one size bigger, so they can be worn when they grow up a bit. I almost bought the whole store. Not bad. Mom is very satisfied with her spoils. Lu Yana smiles and says, As long as you like it, Mom. It's good that the baby is growing fast, so if you buy it now, it will be ready to wear by then. Ye's mother said with a smile, Nana is right. I'm being very forward-thinking. Hurry up and carry them upstairs, I still need to sort them out one by one, and I also bought a little cart. Yi Chen, don't you have a few at home already? Ye's mother, if the baby gets dirty playing with them, we can just change them. What if they get dirty when eating, then we'll have to wash them and wait for them to dry. Besides, the stroller won't be used until the baby is a year old. So, women have a reason for everything they buy. Yi Chen also helplessly shook his head and helped carry the dozens of bags of shopping bags upstairs. Back in the room, Ye's mother looked at the pile of her spoils and couldn't stop smiling. Tomorrow, wash all this and the babies can wear it the day after tomorrow or in the evening. Lu's mother also helped organize it, wow. Mother-in-law, you've really gone all out. Look at the quality of these clothes, they're really good. Pure cotton. Ye's mother said, Of course, I like the pure cotton, it's gentle on the skin, so soft and comfortable to the touch. Yi Chen carried the things upstairs and then withdrew directly. Lu Yana followed and sorted while tidying up inside. The three women chatted away inside while Ye's father and aunts took care of the children. Chapter 207, Claiming Sovereignty. The next morning, Yi Chen had no classes in the morning, so he went directly to Chen Xuegue. Chen Xuegue had also prepared everything for the contract and had also invited a representative lawyer to come and notarize it. The two quickly signed the contract. Chen Xuegue would be the director of research and development at Chini Pharmaceutical in the future, and he would also serve as the factory manager. All employees could continue to keep their jobs. And Tianyi Pharmaceutical would also be renamed Chini Pharmaceutical Company, Limited from today onwards. Yi Chen quickly transferred 5 billion to the factory's public account, to be controlled by Chen Xuegue. The money was to be used for hiring R&D personnel and so on, and Chen Xuegue was in charge of all this. Yi Chen's only request was that Chen Xuegue first develop a health product to improve children's immunity. After everything was done, Yi Chen set off back to school. While sitting in the car, Yi Chen called Wang Lin and asked him to find someone to keep an eye on things here. As for the magic potion, Yi Chen still planned to see who was recruited, and he would have to look over them again before finally deciding on these people, and then give the magic potion to Chen Xuegue to develop. Originally, Yi Chen planned to go straight back to school to find Lu Yana, but as soon as he looked at the hair on his head, it seemed to be too long. After eating something casually, he found a relatively large barber shop, found a Tony teacher to cut his hair, and then went back to school. School. Lu Yana was walking on the school path. She had another class in the afternoon, but there was still plenty of time before that, so she thought she would walk to the caravan and take a nap in the air conditioning. Yi Chen had gone out early in the morning, so she would have to drive the small caravan back to school. At that moment, a woman blocked Lu Yina's way. The woman blocking the way was a sweet-looking girl. The girl's skin was in excellent condition, and it was clear that she was not old. She had put on a light makeup, which made her features look more three-dimensional. She was wearing a long, tight red dress and a pair of small black high heels, which directly lengthened the proportion of her height and made her look a little more attractive. However, compared to Lu Yina, she was still inferior. Lu Yina looked at the girl in front of her, who had stopped her in her tracks, with confusion. "You are Lu Yina, right?" The young girl stared at Lu Yina with a scrutinizing look and suddenly said in a tone of declaration of war, "I am a freshman. I am after a guy named my Juanluan, and he has been paying frequent attention to you recently. I advise you to appear less in front of him in the future. So, you should not walk on this school road anymore in the future. Don't think I don't know, you are a married woman, and you are still strutting around here seducing people, aren't you ashamed?" Lu Yina looked at the girl in front of her in surprise. Before she could retort, she saw a shadow fall from above, instantly covering both Lu Yina and the girl. Lu Yina's hand was suddenly taken by a large hand, the fingers strong and powerful. The school bag on Lu Yina's shoulder was also taken by the man, and it directly fell on his shoulders. Lu Yina and the man crossed their fingers together. "This beauty, ah no, you woman, you are really unreasonable. You know she is a married woman, are you that unconfident?" The man laughed softly and gave the girl who had stopped him a cold look. "I am her husband." Lu Yina looked up at the man. The man's short hair swayed in the wind, and the few strands of hair by his ears were gently blown up by the wind. The man looked down at his delicate wife beside him, smiled at the corner of his mouth, and gave Lu Yina an inexplicable sense of security. Lu Yina knew that it was her husband. It was just that the short haircut gave him a more energetic appearance. Yi Chen had now gone from being a father to a student. Yi Chen watched Lu Yina's reaction and couldn't help but praise Tony's skills. He decided to go to him for haircuts in the future. Lu Yina said softly, "Honey, you're here." And turned to the girl and said, "This beautiful lady, you know I have a husband, and I'm only interested in my husband, but whether other people like me or not, whether they will like me, I have no control over that at all. If you say that I can't walk down this school road, I'm sorry, I can't do that. This is a public place, and you don't have the right to do that. And I'll remind you, don't be a fish in someone else's pond." The girl looked at the couple in front of her, who were oblivious to everyone else and showing off their love for each other, and she just felt so embarrassed. Just anyone who sees their favored man actually paying attention to a girl who is prettier than they are will feel an uncontrollable urge to go up and lecture the girl as soon as they see her. So now she's embarrassed and wants to just dive into the ground and die. After Yi Chen and Lu Yina had finished saying all that, they just walked away right in front of her. It just left the girl all alone in the wind. At this time, quite a few people also gathered to watch, and there was a lot of discussion. "Hey! Isn't that Yuan Jiai, a freshman majoring in dance?" "Yes, why is she arguing with the school beauty queen?" "It seems that the guy she likes praised the school beauty queen a little too much, and then she went looking for trouble." "No way. Yuan Jiai is not bad looking, and isn't it common knowledge that the school beauty queen is already married? Why is she looking for trouble with her? Who knows? The school beauty queen is with her husband every day, where does she have time to care about these crazy bees and fluttering butterflies?" Yuan Jiai felt so ashamed. Although she had already confessed her love to my Juanluan, he had not yet clearly expressed his intention to be her boyfriend. And now this news had spread. She was already regretting her impulsiveness. Moreover, she wondered if my Juanluan was watching her make a fool of herself. After all, this was the path he took every day after lunch. Yuan Jiai fled from the crowd's gossip. When she got a little further away, Lu Yina looked at her husband, who had a short haircut, and saw that his lips were tightly closed and his face was very dissatisfied. She knew that the girl had just annoyed him. "Why are you back so early? Have you finished everything at the pharmaceutical factory?" Lu Yina suddenly asked. "Well, because I didn't have time to say good morning to you this morning, I miss you now." Upon hearing this, Lu Yina's mouth corners rose. At that moment, they encountered a small pit dug out on the school road in front of them. Lu Yina quickly took Yi Chen's arm, thinking of going around from the side. Unexpectedly, she was directly picked up in a princess carry by some overbearing CEO, and her long legs directly stepped over. After passing by, Yi Chen let Lu Yina down and reclasped her fingers. Lu Yina couldn't help but glance at the busy school road, and when she saw that many people were looking over at them, she blushed. "Brother Chen, where are we going now?" Yi Chen accepted the stares of the crowd, and was very pleased with Lu Yina's brother Chen. He smiled and replied, "Since we have some time, let's take a stroll on campus as a couple. Let these people take a good look. I, Yi Chen, am your husband, Lu Yina." Chapter 208, A Couple's Campus Time. Because it was afternoon, there was still a lot of time before the first class started, and the school path was full of students walking slowly to class. Yi Chen did this in full view of the public, generously walking hand in hand with his beautiful wife Lu Yina on this school path. Ignoring the shocked and gossipy stares of the crowd, the two walked leisurely forward. However, Lu Yina was a little shy, but she found Yi Chen's actions amusing. The campus of Xiangqing was very large. After walking halfway, the two finally walked back and found a shady place with a stone bench to sit and rest for a while. Now that classes had already started, there were not many people around. Yi Chen directly asked Lu Yina to sit in his lap. However, the position of the leg made Lu Yina feel a little uncomfortable. Lu Yina quickly looked around. "Brother Chen, if someone suddenly walks out now, this position will be seen if they see it. Everyone is an adult. Besides, we're not doing anything. I'm just afraid that others will misunderstand what they're doing." After all, Lu Yina is now wearing a skirt. Although it is a long skirt, it still arouses endless imagination. Lu Yina, however, directly exposed Yi Chen's intentions. "I knew it, you definitely wanted people to see." "No way. I just saw that there was no one here, so I wanted to hug you and kiss you." Yi Chen finished and hugged Lu Yina and kissed her. This kiss was as passionate as the weather, and Lu Yina felt dizzy and her eyes were blurred. Lu Yina was really worried that Yi Chen would do something out of line. It was just that Yi Chen didn't take the next step beyond the kiss. If they weren't in a public place, she might have taken the initiative and kissed him back. Perhaps it was because the couple had interacted more recently, but Lu Yina was now extremely cooperative in these matters, and sometimes even took the initiative. Yi Chen was naturally very happy about Lu Yina's change. Yi Chen said, "In the future, if you encounter something like that again, tell your husband. My woman, Yi Chen's woman, can't stand this kind of treatment." Lu Yina asked in Yi Chen's arms, "I know, honey. Did you take care of the pharmaceutical factory?" Yi Chen nodded. "Yes, the contract was signed and the money transferred." Lu Yina continued, "Is the one that improves resistance really effective? If it really works, it would be really good. After all, no parent wants their child to get sick. No matter how much it costs, they would buy it. For example, if I didn't have much money, I would scrimp and save to buy it for my child to try." Yi Chen nodded. "Originally, I only planned to let my family eat it, but after seeing the little child suffering from leukemia and the scene of the needle injections, I made up my mind and decided to get this project started. I don't say that everyone will benefit, but at least most people will benefit. This will also reduce the number of children getting sick." After saying this, Yi Chen suddenly leaned down and said in his damn deep bass voice, "Nana, we are in a relationship now, so let's enjoy the time we have together, okay?" Saying this, Yi Chen grabbed Lu Yina's right hand. "Look, you didn't wear the ring today? I knew it." Saying this, he took out a 2.5-carat diamond ring from his pocket and put it on Lu Yina's finger. Lu Yina pulled her hand back and looked at the diamond ring on her hand. She recognized that it was a $10 million diamond ring bought at the Harry Winston Diamond brand store. He didn't even wear the box, and just put it in his pocket? What if it goes missing? You have to remember, this is a diamond ring worth tens of millions of dollars. Yi Chen glanced at Lu Yina, who was staring at him. "What? Why are you staring at me like that? Does this short hairdo look handsome? Are you charmed by me?" Lu Yina laughed and pounded Yi Chen's chest. "Yes. I don't know how many girls have fallen for your charm." Yi Chen suddenly said seriously to Lu Yina, "I don't know about other people, but I'm 10,000% serious about you. I only love you." The two embraced and whispered sweet nothings to each other. Suddenly, Lu Yina seemed to sense something, as if someone was walking this way. She was scared and quickly tried to get up. Yi Chen quickly reached out and held her waist, so that Lu Yina couldn't move no matter what. "I heard footsteps, it seems like there are quite a few people. Let me go." Lu Yina was also very anxious, her face turning red. Although this place is relatively hidden, it is still on campus, so it is impossible that no one will pass by here. Lu Yina is also thinking that someone will come here at any time, so she is always on her guard. "Humph. No wonder I always feel that your mind is not here with me. It turns out that you are always paying attention to whether anyone is coming. If others want to watch, let them watch. Could it be that you think your husband is ugly and don't want others to see? After saying this, Yichen coughed twice, and although he was holding Lu Yina's hands, he squeezed them even harder. Lu Yina was also at a loss for words at Yi Chen's actions. Seeing that she could not break free, she simply buried her head in Yi Chen's arms, so that no one could see her face. The two people walking towards them were also a couple. Seeing that someone else had already occupied the spot, they tactfully walked away. Yi Chen laughed and said, "See, I told you there was no need to rush." Lu Yina just pounded Yi Chen's chest with her little pink fists. Yi Chen pretended to be in pain and let out a cry of pain. Lu Yina glared at Yi Chen and pretended to be angry as well. Yi Chen saw that Lu Yina's hair was messed up, so he reached out and helped her smooth out her messy hair. "Are you going home for dinner tonight?" Yi Chen suddenly asked. Lu Yina said, "Of course I'm going home. I want to eat the nutritious low-fat meal you make. I always feel that the food I ate in the school cafeteria today was a bit greasy, and it feels like I'm going to gain a few pounds after eating it." Yi Chen hugged Lu Yina. Okay, if my wife wants to eat, I'll cook it for you." Lu Yina also said sweetly, "Thank you, honey, you're the best." "Yi Chen, you're my wife, I should be nice to you, but I also want to hear you call me Brother Chen, come on, say it twice." Lu Yina really had no choice but to call out in a small voice, "Brother Chen." Yi Chen really enjoyed it. Nana is really good. After spending some time together, Yi Chen and Lu Yina had to go back to class. Chapter 209, Putting Out the Fire. In the afternoon, Lu Yina had an extracurricular sketching class. All the students followed their teacher to a park not far from the school to sketch outdoors. Lu Yina followed the students on foot, and they arrived at the park in about 15 minutes. The teacher told everyone to go at their own pace, and that they could go back to the next class after finishing their drawings, and they would be collected the next morning. These drawings must be handed in, as they affect the final grade. If it's time to graduate, the teacher will return the drawings to the students. At this time, there were still almost 2 hours until the next class, which meant that they had to finish in an hour and a half. Lu Yina sat on a bench in the park, watching the people come and go. There were old people playing chess in the shade of the trees, children playing, and couples making love. Lu Yina observed everyone here. She had come this time to draw portraits. After her careful observation, Lu Yina had already locked onto an elderly couple. This is an elderly couple. Like young lovers, they walk hand in hand along the leaf-strewn park path, stopping every now and then to point at the children running on the grass and laugh. It seems that they are remembering their grandchildren. The two of them are talking and laughing there, and everything is so warm and beautiful, which makes Lu Yina envious. Lu Yina is most envious of the kind of love that lasts forever and grows old together, just like this elderly couple. What a good kind of love it is. While Lu Yina was envious, the sketch pen in her hand had already started rustling on the paper. In the course of more than an hour, Lu Yina drew 2 sketches. One was a picture of the elderly couple holding hands walking on the park path, while the other was the elderly man watching a few children playing on the grass. Lu Yina planned to hand in the first sketch to her teacher, while the second one she would take home to create a second version, color it, and give it colors, to show it to her husband. She was imagining the scene when she and Yi Chen were old and took their grandchildren to the park to play. When she thought about it, Lu Yina also smiled at the corner of her mouth. After finishing the painting, Lu Yina looked at the time and it had been more than an hour. Lu Yina packed up her things and hurried back. On the way, she passed a kindergarten. The bell rang to signal the end of class, and the children all ran out like birds to play on the slides in the open space outside the school. The kindergarten was not large, just one building, and there were similar buildings all around it. In front of this building there was an open space of about 200 square meters for the children to play in. Lu Yina looked at these cute children outside the school gate and couldn't help but laugh out loud. At that moment, Wen Siyu suddenly appeared next to Lu Yina. Lu Yina was startled by the person next to her and turned to look at him. She couldn't help exclaiming, "Teacher Wen, why are you here?" Hearing Lu Yina's words, Wen Siyu's expression became a little unnatural as he said, "I went out to buy some things, and I didn't expect to run into you here." Lu Yina smiled and said, "Oh, I'm also here for a sketching class. I'll go back after I finish my homework." Wen Siyu nodded and said, "I just saw you looking so intently at the children playing, and I didn't want to disturb you, but since I ran into you, I came over to say hello. I hope I didn't scare you." Lu Yina smiled and said, "No, Mr. Wen. My family has 3 children, so I find children cute and I just looked at them a little longer." Wen Siyu smiled and said, "It seems that you really like children. I looked at your circle of friends, and the child looks a lot like you. She's really pretty. Lu Yana smiled awkwardly and said, "Thank you, Mr. Wen, for your praise." In fact, in the past, it may have been that Lu Yana was too simple-minded. After talking to Yi Chen about Wen Siyu's problems, she also felt that Wen Siyu still had some different feelings for her, and it wasn't just as simple as a neighbor's sister. Now, listening to Wen Siyu's praise, Lu Yana also felt a little embarrassed. Just as the two of them fell silent, a security guard shouted across the school gate at the two of them outside the gate, "What are you doing here? Are you here to look at the school? After all, this is a kindergarten, and Lu Yana and Wen Siyu are a man and a woman, so the security guard thought that Lu Yana and Wen Siyu were a couple and had come to look at the school for their child." Lu Yana said awkwardly, "No, I just want to take a look." The security guard saw that Lu Yana was so kind, and Wen Siyu was wearing glasses and looked very gentle, so they didn't seem like bad people. So he opened the door and said, "Please fill out a registration form. I can inform the principal and show you around our school. Although our school is not big, we have very good teaching in all aspects. You can take a look first." Seeing the security guard's enthusiasm, Lu Yana glanced at the children on the playground and thought about her 3 children who would also have to go to kindergarten in the future, so she was tempted. Wen Siyu also followed her into the kindergarten. He also heard that the security guard had mistaken him for Lu Yana's husband, so he was secretly delighted. Just as Lu Yana picked up the pen, there was suddenly a burst of screams from the kindergarten. The security guard was quick to respond. Without a moment's thought for Lu Yana and the others, he grabbed his tools, left an apologetic message, and rushed in. In no time, many teachers and children came out of the schoolyard. The children were crying from fear, and smoke and shouts could be heard from all the windows on the second floor. Everyone, including the children in the playground, were scared and huddled together. Lu Yana and Wen Siyu saw this and immediately ran up to ask, "Teacher, what's going on?" The teacher was also gasping for breath in fear. Someone set fire to the inside. Lu Yana couldn't help but be shocked when she heard this. "What? Someone set fire to the classroom?" "Yes, it was one of our teachers. She's gone mad. We couldn't catch her. She lit a bottle of kerosene on fire and threw it into our classroom. I don't know if there are any children in the classroom. The security guard has already gone up there and called the police. The fireman said they'll be there in 15 minutes. After she finished speaking, the teacher was still patting her chest in shock. Lu Yana heard this and, thinking of these lovely children, quickly made a decision. "Teacher 1, let's help put out the fire." Wen Siyu didn't say anything and went straight into the security room to get 2 fire extinguishers. Lu Yana took them and, also without saying a word, rushed straight back into the school building. Chapter 210, Help Catch the Murderer. Hearing the teacher's words, even if there were no children in the classroom, the fire still had to be put out, and the thick smoke was suffocating. Moreover, the golden time for firefighting was short, and they had to be quick. So, Lu Yana and Wen Siyu rushed in with the fire extinguishers. It had to be said that Lu Yana had become much braver after becoming a mother. Looking at the gusts of thick smoke coming from the building, she wasn't even afraid. As Lu Yana and Wen Siyu walked to the stairwell with the fire extinguisher, they heard shouting coming from upstairs, "Catch that woman! Don't let her get away!" Lu Yana and Wen Siyu couldn't help but freeze in their tracks. A woman came rushing down the stairs, and when she saw Lu Yana and Wen Siyu, she paused for a moment. But it was only for a second, and then the woman reacted, swinging the wooden stick she was holding at Lu Yana. Lu Yana was quick-eyed and quick-handed, and she grabbed the fire extinguisher and used it to block the woman's attack. Wen Siyu saw what was happening and immediately stepped forward to grab the woman's wooden club. He turned it in his hands, and the woman let go in pain and released her grip. Wen Siyu was quick, and he threw the fire extinguisher away and grabbed the woman. The woman glared at Wen Siyu viciously, and grabbed Wen Siyu's arm with her other hand. Immediately, several bloody streaks appeared on Wen Siyu's right arm, which made Lu Yana feel very worried. Although there was a tingling pain in his arm, Wen Siyu immediately used his other hand to restrain both of her hands and threw the woman to the ground. At this time, several security guards also caught up and helped subdue the woman on the ground. Wen Siyu ignored the pain and quickly grabbed the fire extinguisher on the ground and called out to the stunned Lu Yana, "Nana, let's go put out the fire. It's important to put out the fire first." When Lu Yana and Wen Siyu arrived, there was a security guard at the scene using a fire extinguisher to put out the fire. However, one person alone is always less powerful, and the arsonist also threw the kerosene bottle into the child's sleeping bedding, so for a while the fire was also trending upward. The classroom here is quite large, as it is where the children sleep and where they have their lessons. During lessons, the beds are placed in the corner and only put down for sleeping. This is the case in many kindergartens. After the security guard had sprayed one fire extinguisher, there were no more to spray, and he was planning to retreat, covering his mouth and turning around to walk out of the classroom. At this time, he saw Lu Yana and Wenxiu holding two fire extinguishers and waved at them. "You're here, I'll go to the fire hydrant and see if I can get water." At that moment, the sound of children crying came from the classroom on fire, and there was more than one man. Lu Yana, Wenxiu, and the security guard were all shocked. There are children inside. Perhaps the fire was too intense and the children couldn't bear it, so they were crying. If the children were not rescued, they would probably be burned or suffocated to death inside. Lu Yana said to the security guard, "Hurry up. We have fire extinguishers, let's see if we can save the children." After saying this, Lu Yana and Wenxiu quickly opened the fire extinguishers and rushed in. Here is a friendly reminder, please do not imitate the plot of the novel. Water and fire are ruthless, and rescuing people is dangerous. Please recognize your own situation and abilities before rescuing people. The voices of the two children came from the side of the teaching platform. Fortunately, the children were not near the source of the fire. Lu Yana saw that the two children were not in danger, so she walked over and picked them up, one on each side. Wenxiu, on the other hand, rushed over with the two fire extinguishers in his hands, trying to put out the fire, but it was too strong. Seeing this, Lu Yana immediately shouted at Wenxiu, "Mr. One, there's no way to put out the fire. Let's wait for the security guard to pull the hose over here. Let's get the children out first." At first, they thought the fire wasn't too serious, but then the arsonist teacher threw a kerosene bottle onto the children's bed. How despicable. When they found the two children, they were hugging each other and crying, not sure if they were just smoky or scared. Lu Yana coughed while comforting the two children. "Don't be afraid, I'm here to save you and get you out." Lu Yana, a woman holding two children weighing about 30 pounds each, immediately rushed out of the classroom, while Wenxiu could not care less, put the fire extinguisher on the ground and followed her out. After Wenxiu came out, he walked up and took one of the children from Lu Yana's hands. The two of them rushed out the door to the playground, each holding a child. At this time, all the teachers and students had gathered in the playground. Fortunately, the playground was big enough, and there was a lot of crying in the playground. At that moment, the sound of a fire engine came from nearby. The teachers on the playground were also shocked and happy when they saw Lu Yana and Wenxiu come out with the children in their arms. They hurriedly went up to them to comfort the crying children. After all, if it wasn't for the two of them, it is estimated that someone's life would have been lost. Wenxiu had several bloody scratches on his arm, and the wounds kept bleeding, which looked painful to outsiders. Lu Yana was shocked when she looked at his arm. "Teacher One, your hand." The female teacher next to her quickly said, "I'll get the first aid kit." The security room is equipped with an emergency first aid kit. Usually, when children have bumps and bruises on the playground, they come here to get disinfectant. The female teacher quickly returned with the first aid kit. At this time, the firefighters also arrived. The children saw the real fire engine and instantly stopped crying. They all shouted in amazement, "Look! It's a fire engine! What innocent children!" When the two children trapped in the fire were asked why they were in the classroom, they replied that they had gone back to sleep. Perhaps because they didn't get enough sleep during their nap, they fell asleep on their desks during recess. Fortunately, the fire didn't break out while they were sleeping. When the woman, who was tied up by several men, saw the two children, she was so scared that her face turned green. She knew that the class was only started when the teacher took them to the playground. Unexpectedly, the two children had sneaked back. Now she understood that she was finished. The female teacher returned with a first aid kit and directly handed it to Lu Yana. Apparently, the female teacher also misunderstood Lu Yana and Wenxiu. However, Lu Yana didn't think much about it and quickly opened the first aid kit to treat Wenxiu's wound. Wenxiu looked at Lu Yana, who had become a mother, in front of him. Disinfectant had already been applied to her hands. His mouth was tightly pursed, but in his heart, he remembered when he was a child and Lu Yana fell and he treated her wound. However, the past had become a memory, and in the blink of an eye, Lu Yana was already the mother of 3 children. While treating the wound, Lu Yana said gently, "Mr. One, this may hurt a little, so bear with it, I'll be done soon." Hearing this, Wenxiu felt a little relieved. Perhaps, he should let go too. As long as Lu Yana is happy, nothing else matters. Wenxiu smiled faintly at the young girl in front of him. "It doesn't hurt, so take your time." At this time, the police also arrived and quickly evacuated the crowd with the firefighters. The two children were also taken to the hospital by ambulance for further examination. Wen Shiyu also said that the wound was not serious and there was no need to go to the hospital. The security guard at the scene of the fire also rushed out after hearing the ambulance arrive. The fire was quickly extinguished by the firefighters. However, Liu Yana and Wen Shiyu were the key figures in this incident and also helped catch the murderer, so they also had to go with the people from the kindergarten to cooperate with the police and return to the police station to make a statement.